hand and said, "No, this is what I should do." "What do you mean by should? This kid just walked away without doing a bunch of work. He made me so tired," said the barbecue chef next to him. Nan Shu said, "Thank you too." "Don't thank me, thank the boss instead. He even lied to the police for you. Luckily, there was someone soliciting prostitution, otherwise the boss would be in big trouble." When Chuji was mentioned, Nan Shu's cheeks turned red again. "Why should I thank him? At most I can help him work for 2 more years." Nan Shu was discharged from the hospital at noon that day. Then she went to the police station because there was something waiting for her there. Her so-called best friend was arrested. When Nan Shu arrived at the holding room, she asked her best friend why. The friend replied, "What for? Nan Shu, you are just a wild girl from the countryside. How can you be better off than us? Not only did you find a good boss, but you also became the store manager. Do you know that the posts you make every day on WeChat Moments are a great irony to me? Why do you have a better life than me? Why do you have a boss who values you so much?" Nan Shu looked at her best friend in surprise and said, "This is why you framed me." "Not entirely, I just want the money. If someone offers me money, why wouldn't I do it?" The bestie looked at Nan Shu sarcastically. "I might as well tell you that the person who contacted me was just a small fry. The real boss will do something to you." Nan Shu walked out of the confinement room with a gloomy face. According to information obtained by the police, the minion ran away as soon as the incident was exposed. Even if they are caught, they will probably shirk their responsibilities, so it will be very difficult to catch the ultimate mastermind. Yue was talking to Chu Ji at this time. "Your suspicion is ultimately your suspicion, and everything must be based on evidence." The guy was very alert. If this matter was taken seriously, it would be drug trafficking, and he would be subject to execution. "But don't worry, we will get to the bottom of this matter. When it comes to drugs, the police won't let this go." Not getting any meaningful clues was within Chu Ji's expectations, so he was not too frustrated, because he could also guess a little bit of the truth. But guessing is just guessing after all, and there is not much point in speaking out something without evidence. Chu Ji and Nan Shu left the police station together. Nan Shu looked extremely lonely. She really couldn't imagine that the person who attacked her was the person she thought was closest to her. Chu Ji noticed Nan Shu's depressed mood. He patted Nan Shu's shoulder but didn't know how to comfort her. "Boss, I won't let this matter go," Nan Shu suddenly said. Do you have any ideas?" "I want to bring down the Zhang family. I want to let them know that there are some people who cannot be provoked," Nan Shu said firmly. "What are you going to do?" "Boss, if you trust me, you can let me manage all your chain stores. I promise that within 1 year our brand will become the best in Jinghai. It may not be enough to bring down the Zhang family with just 1 chain store." Chu Ji shook his head. "Boss, opportunities are created by yourself. If there are no opportunities, create them. As long as I am nailed down, as long as the opponent makes the slightest mistake, I can seize the opportunity to tear a piece of flesh from him." Many years later, the Zhang family would never have imagined that the one who would kick them into the abyss was Nan Shu, the woman who looks easy to bully now. Chu Ji shook his head, but seeing Nan Shu was full of energy, he should feel happy too. "Okay, from now on all the stores in Jinghai area will be managed by you." Chu Ji was also happy to have some free time. When Nan Shu saw Chu Ji agreed, he asked, "Do you trust me so much?" "I just feel that you won't let me down," Chu Ji replied. Nan Shu revealed a charming smile when he heard this. A few more days passed, and Nan Shu began to manage the new store developed by Chuj. To this end, she called on her friends and fully demonstrated her social skills. We recruited everyone from accounting to management. The prototype of a company was soon formed, and Chu Ji was appointed chairman. And Nan Shu considers herself the president. Under the organization and leadership of this group of people, all the stores soon got back on track. In addition, Chu Ji also applied for a patent for the special seasoning that he originally conceived, which is called Sanwei Yadang. And I also wanted to open a seasoning manufacturer. But there are many things involved here, the most important of which is money. Nan Shu can handle everything else, but without money, everything is just wishful thinking. This matter had to be postponed, and they could only cooperate with others to start the production of seasonings. The new year is coming soon after all the busyness. Nan Shu had no plans to go home, but Chu Ji felt a little homesick. "I thought I could have a good new year, but unexpectedly trouble came suddenly. The owners of several shops that he had taken over changed their minds and wanted to take the shops back and no longer rent them to Chu Ji. Chu Ji was curious. He had signed the agreement in the beginning. Why would the other party ask him to withdraw at this time? I spent a lot of money to renovate and upgrade the store, and now people are jealous of me because the business is just getting better. Chuji met the owners of those shops. Chuji said, "Boss, we signed the transfer agreement at the beginning. If one party violates it, they will have to pay liquidated damages. Do you know this? We won't rent to you even if you pay the penalty." Chuji frowned. "I want to know the reason. Why do you have so many reasons? If you don't want to rent it, then you should move out of the store as soon as possible." Chuji also had a headache looking at the unreasonable shop owner. Nanshu said at this time, "We have carefully renovated these shops. You said you don't want to rent them just after they opened. This is unacceptable in any way. If you insist on doing it, we can only see you in court." Several shop owners said, "Okay, go ahead and sue us. You can sue us any way you want, but if you don't move out, we will get people to block the door. You decide what to do." Chapter 65, Isn't This Too Good? Just then Nanshu received a call and his face darkened. "Boss, they really sent people to block the door. If this continues, our reputation will be affected." Chuji frowned and thought for a while, then looked at the bosses and said, "He can get you guys to come together to put pressure on me. This person must be quite powerful. Is he from the Zhang family?" One of the bosses' face changed. "You've been talking so much nonsense, I just want to ask you whether you will move or not." Chuji said, "What if I don't move? Then don't blame us for being rude. It's probably impossible for you to keep your store here," a store owner said sinisterly. What Chuji fears most is that these people will act like scoundrels and arrange for a few old ladies to stand in front of your store. How will you still do business? "Everyone, even if we have to move, you have to give me some time to prepare. I can't just move whenever I say so, right?" "Okay, 2 days. If you don't move out after 2 days, don't blame us for not reminding you." Several bosses left. "Boss, what should we do?" Nanshu was a little anxious. Chuji said, "Even if we look for another place, we will be chased out. The loss here is not a matter of money, but a matter of time and brand reputation. Don't we have any other good ideas?" "Not yet, we are too weak. The other party would rather pay for the losses than let us continue. It is obvious that someone wants to suppress us." "That guy named Zhang, he's so abominable." Nanshu looked a little angry. "I'm sorry, boss. It seems that this is all my fault. If it weren't for me, he wouldn't have targeted you like this." Chuji looked at the regretful Nanshu and suddenly smiled. His eyes were calm and deep. "You are totally wrong to think so." "What?" Nanshu raised his head curiously. Chuji said, "Everything in the world is about interests. My opening of a chain store to some extent conflicted with the interests of the Zhang family, which was the reason why he suppressed me. Everything else is secondary. Even without you, Nanshu might have someone else. Once they target you, it's only a matter of time before you get into trouble. It's better to be early than late. Even if we close all these chain stores now, we won't lose money, right?" Nanshu thought about it and felt a little better. "Okay, I'll figure out a way to deal with this. If it doesn't work, we can just close the shop and open another one somewhere else. Don't let your imagination run wild." Chuz's words were calm and firm, giving people a sense of security and tranquility. Nanshu's originally anxious heart calmed down. "Yes, we can still make a name for ourselves after leaving Jinghai. Of course, this is the worst plan, and Chuji will not be willing to give up like this. It would be difficult to make the Zhang family bow their heads, unless you are a wealthy family like the Su family. Should I go and ask Su Ruoxuan for help? No, what if the other party asks not to divorce?" Just when Chuji was thinking about how to break the impasse, Zhu Wongking's housekeeper came to Zhu Wongking and said, "It seems that something went wrong with the son-in-law." "What's the problem?" Zhu Wongking's eyes became sharp. "The Zhang family is using their connections to secretly stop the development of Uncle's chain stores. Miss, do you want to help Uncle? Last time I wanted to buy a house and a car for my brother-in-law, but I didn't have a good reason, so it has been put on hold. Now is a good opportunity to get closer to my son-in-law as soon as possible." "Okay, you go and handle it," Zhu Wongking said. If it was a fair competition, she would really not take action, but if the other party used crooked ideas, she would not be polite. The butler nodded, but before the butler could give any orders, someone called his cell phone. "Butler Wang, a gentleman named Chuji found me." "Chuji?" Steward Wang's eyes gleamed. "Did he say what it was?" "It seems to be because of the shop. Mr. Chuj has several leased shops that belong to our Zhu family. Mr. Chuj wants to discuss the transfer of shop leases with you." The old butler smiled. "I have to say that Chuji is very smart. He keenly discovered that those former bosses were not all landlords. They contracted the store from someone else and sublet it to him. Since these bosses were instructed by others, they would no longer sublease to him. So can he skip these bosses and negotiate directly with the landlord? He can pay the penalty for breach of contract, which would be better than moving. I didn't expect that my son-in-law would think of this so quickly. He is a teachable boy. Wang Fu nodded in appreciation. Call him and agree to Mr. Chu's request. Rent the store to him at the original price for any number of years. Also, you guys need to settle the liquidated damages with those bosses. We won't pay a penny. Okay, the person on the other end of the phone agreed immediately. Chu Ji was also anxiously waiting for the results. This was his last attempt, and he had already consulted a lawyer. The other party is willing to terminate the contract with him, even at the risk of paying liquidated damages. It would be useless to take this matter to court. What's more, the other party may do something like blocking the door. And when the police come, they can only persuade them to leave and let them reconcile. They cannot arrest anyone. So now he can only focus on the original landlords of these shops. As long as he could reach an agreement with the landlord and get the landlord to terminate the contract with those bosses, they would have no reason to kick him out. He was also willing to pay the penalty for breach of contract that the landlord had to pay. Although you will lose some money, it is much better than finding a new store and redecorating it. But he didn't know that the landlord was actually from the Zhu family. Nan Shu also came in from the door at this time. Boss, tomorrow is the deadline. Have you found a solution? Chu Ji looked solemn and said nothing. He was already planning to withdraw. Just then the phone rang. Chu Ji's eyes lit up and he quickly answered it. Okay, that's great. Yes, I can go there now. Okay, please wait a moment. I'll be there right away. Chu Ji put down the phone with excitement in his eyes. Nan Shu said, is there any solution? Great, come on, let's go sign the contract. Chu Ji strode out of the office. This is an office they rented in the business building. If Wang Fu were here, he would recognize that this business building is also their Zhu family's property. After leaving the office, Chu Ji and Nan Shu took a taxi to the agreed location. A middle-aged man had been waiting there for a long time, which made Chu Ji feel flattered. The middle-aged man looked at Chu Ji with a gleam in his eyes and said, Mr. Chu is indeed a handsome man. Nan Shu next to him raised his head proudly. This was his boss. After some polite exchanges, both parties went into a nearby cafe. Mr. Chu, the shops you mentioned are indeed mine. In fact, the lease period has expired, so you don't have to worry about the penalty. I will lease the shops to you now. I wonder how many years Mr. Chu wants to lease it for. Of course, the longer the better, Nan Shu beside him quickly replied. 10 years, how about that? Sure, the rent can also be paid in installments. The middle-aged man agreed without hesitation. Chu Ji was a little surprised. This was too easy to talk to. You still have to collect this deposit. Haha, no need. I didn't ask for a deposit when I rented the house to those people. The same goes for you. I believe in Mr. Chu's character, said the middle-aged man. This, Chu Ji looked at the middle-aged man opposite him suspiciously. This was too good to be true. Chapter 66, Chu Ji's counterattack. The other party took out the contract. Nan Shu looked at it carefully twice and made sure there was no problem. Even if Chu Ji suddenly stops doing it, he doesn't have to pay any penalty for breach of contract. Even Nan Shu felt that the situation was going so smoothly that it seemed a little unreal. She looked at Chu Ji suspiciously. Could it be that Chu Ji was the illegitimate son of some big boss? If the middle-aged man knew Nan Shu's idea, he would definitely sneer. The person in front of him is much more important than the illegitimate child. Maybe the Zhu family will change their surname to Chu in the future. It would be fine if Chu Ji was just a vase, but Chu Ji has brains and abilities. To turn a restaurant that was on the verge of bankruptcy into a chain of more than 10 stores is not something that can be achieved just by having help from others. What is needed here is more ability and the public's recognition of their restaurant. In the end, Chu Ji signed the contract. With this contract, those bosses will have nothing to do with those stores. This is called removing the fuel from under the cauldron. If they continue to make trouble, then there will be sufficient reason to arrest them. At this time, in a private room of a bar, Zhang Bo smashed the wine glass in his hand away with a bang. He grabbed the woman who was busy beneath him by her hair and lifted her up. Get lost. The two women hurried out. Zhang Bo pulled up his trousers and looked at the people across from him and said, a bunch of losers who can't even do such a small thing. Mr. Zhang, what should we do now? Zhang Bo's eyes were cold. He thought he could kill this peasant just by raising his hand, but he actually did this to him. He underestimated Chu Ji. Not to mention that while Zhang Bo was planning how to deal with Chu Ji Chu Ji was also talking to Nan Shu. I'm afraid that person won't give up after this incident. Nan Shu, you'd better pay attention to your safety, Chu Ji said in a deep voice. Nan Shu nodded and said, or I can just sleep in the company. No, the company is not safe either. You'd better go to get off work and back home with someone else, or you can share a rent with someone, Chu Ji made a suggestion. Nan Shu said, okay, I'll go to Yiao for now. Yiao, who also works for Chuz's company, was recruited by Nan Shu to do financial work. Yiao is a black belt in Taekwondo. With her around, who would dare to challenge me? Nan Shu said. Chu Ji nodded. There was nothing he could do about it. I still have to find a new house for Nan Shu when I have time. At this time, the phone rang and Chu Ji answered it. A slightly tired voice came from the other end of the phone. When will you be back? It's Su Ruoxuan. Boss Su. Seeing this, Nan Shu, who was standing next to him, stood up and left Chu Ji's office. Mr. Su, I don't think there is any need for me to go back. If you want a divorce any time, please call me, Chu Ji said and hung up the phone. He was already tired of his relationship with Su Ruoxuan. On the other end of the phone, Su Ruoxuan's fingers holding the phone turned slightly white. Butler, what has the uncle been doing recently? Miss, it seems that my uncle is busy with the chain store business recently. Are there any troubles with the chain? It seems a bit. What's going on? The housekeeper told Su Ruoxuan all the information he had found out. Zhang family? Su Ruoxuan looked cold. Suddenly, Su Ruoxian's mind moved and said, are we competing with the Zhang family for a piece of land recently? The old housekeeper said, yes, the Zhang family is determined to win this time. I heard that they have mobilized a lot of funds just for this piece of land. With this piece of land, the Zhang family can build the first 6-star hotel in Jinghai and establish their position in Jinghai. In fact, whether it is a 5-star or 6-star hotel, it does not make money because most people cannot afford it. However, the purpose of building a hotel is not to make money, but the added value behind the hotel. For example, the appreciation of surrounding land, the influence of the brand, government subsidy policies, and enhanced political interests are what the big bosses are flocking to. The Zhang family did not become one of the 4 major wealthy families because they lacked influence. Once they get this piece of land, they will be able to make up for this shortcoming and be qualified to become the 5th largest family in Jinghai. Su Ruoxian snorted coldly and said, old housekeeper, let's join in the fun and don't let the Zhang family get that piece of land so easily. Of course, it would be even better if our Su family could get it. The old housekeeper said, that depends on whether the Zhu family is willing. Why don't you talk to the Zhu family? Su Ruoxian frowned and said, Sister Wongking won't act on impulse on such a big matter, but I can give it a try. The old butler remained silent. If the man from the Zhu family was so easy to talk to, the Zhao family wouldn't have disappeared for no reason. Now all of the Zhao family's assets have been swallowed up by the Zhu family. Of course, other wealthy families have also gained some benefits, but not as much as the Zhu family. If the Zhang family wants to win the bid, then they must make the Zhu family give in. In Zhu Wongking's luxurious manner, the housekeeper came to Zhu Wongking. Miss, the head of the Zhang family wants to see you. Do you want to meet him? Zhu Wongking was lazily lying on the bed. She stretched out her charming and slender figure and asked, is it still because of the land? Probably. That piece of land is nothing to us, but it is very important to the Zhang family. It is an important step for them to move forward. Haha, I might have raised my hand before, but now. Zhu Wongking's face turned cold. The head of the Zhang family would never have known that such a rare opportunity would be ruined by his own son. Zhang Bo was still racking his brains to plot against Chu Ji. When Chu Ji heard someone report that there was something wrong with his food, he decisively called the police. Yue personally supervised the work, and we invited the most authoritative testing agency to conduct the testing. No one expected that all of Chuz's stores had cameras monitoring the various procedures of food, which were completely traceable. The person who falsely accused Chuz Hotel of having problems was taken into custody. This time, Yue found out that the person who instructed this person seemed to be related to Zhang Bo from the Zhang family. It really proves the old saying, if you stand by the river often, you will get your feet wet. Chu Ji decisively demanded a thorough investigation at all costs. At this time in the office, Su Wan, who had not been seen for a long time, came back. Chu Ji didn't ask about Su Wan's whereabouts for the past month, and Su Wan didn't say anything either. Su Wan sat next to Chu Ji and asked, are you going to fight the Zhang family head-on? Chu Ji shook his head and said, I was forced to do it. There is a saying that you can steal for 1,000 days, but you can't guard against thieves for 1,000 days. Some people also say that it is better to strike the first blow to prevent 100 blows. If we just keep giving in, people will think we are easy to bully. The proper counterattack is to tell them that we are not pushovers, so that they will think twice before dealing with us again. Chapter 67, Return Home. Su-won said at this time, "Okay, I will let the Su family's lawyer personally monitor this matter." Chu-ji nodded. He was really not interested in the outcome. He just wanted to teach the Zhang family a lesson, and he believed that someone from the Zhang family should come to see him. In the final analysis, how far you can investigate this matter depends on whether you persist. If you forgive it and say it was a misunderstanding, then it won't be a big deal. "I'm going back to my hometown," Chu-ji suddenly said. Su-won was suddenly stunned and asked, "Don't you want to see the Zhang family? For this reason, it's okay to let them worry. The new year is coming anyway, and we can deal with anything after the new year," Chu-ji chuckled. Su-won nodded, looking at Chu-ji with a slightly absent-minded look. "What's wrong? Why have you been looking at me like this since you came in?" Chu-ji looked at Su-won curiously. Because the distance was very close, Chu-ji could smell the faint fragrance on Su-won. Su-won looked at Chu-ji's slightly red ears, with a hint of cunning and shyness in her eyes. "Are you blushing?" Chu-ji cleared his throat. To be honest, Su-won seemed to be born with a charming physique. Her every move, smile, and frown could make people's heart beat faster. "Aren't you curious about where I've been for the past month? Would you mind telling me?" "Of course, as long as you ask," Su-won continued. "Actually, it was my mother who arranged the blind date for me." "Blind date?" Chu-ji was stunned. He didn't know what he was thinking, but he was not happy. Chu-ji was also a little surprised when he realized this. When did he care so much about Su-won? "Are you unhappy?" Chu-ji was slightly embarrassed. "Really?" A smile appeared in the depths of Su-won's eyes. "The other party is from the Chin family, Chin Wanchu's brother," Su-won said. Chu-ji said, "He's a nice guy, right?" "Not bad," Su-won said. Chu-ji nodded and said, "That's good." "Do you think I should agree or not?" Su-won asked. Chu-ji was slightly stunned when he heard this and said, "It depends on what you want to do. I'm afraid I can't help you." There was a hint of disappointment in Su-won's eyes. "Actually, as long as you ask me, I can refuse," Su-won whispered softly. "What?" Chu-ji looked at Su-won suspiciously. Su-won shook her head slightly. Chu-ji said, "I will be back in 2 days. We will see each other next year." Su-won nodded. At this time, Nanshu walked in. Now that everything was on track, Nanshu also became busy. "Nanshu, are you really not going home for the new year?" Chu-ji confirmed again. "No, my home is too far away. Besides, I won't be welcomed if I go back. I might as well stay here and work. Boss, remember to double my salary." Chu-ji nodded and said, "Of course." "Second boss, why don't you follow the big boss back to his hometown and visit the beautiful scenery as a trip?" Nanshu said to Su-won. Su-won's eyes lit up and she looked at Chu-ji. Chu-ji said, "Of course you can, but aren't you spending the new year at home?" "Don't worry about it." Su-won's previous loss disappeared in an instant, as if she was resurrected. On the third day, Chu-ji and Su-won boarded the train back together. During this period, Chu-ji never returned to Su Ryukshuan's villa once. He had done what he was supposed to do, and there was no need for him to be there anymore. On the train, Chu-ji looked at Su-won, who seemed to be full of life, and asked, "Are you so happy?" "What? You're not going to make me happy." "That's not what I meant. I feel like you become a different person," Chu-ji said. A smile flashed in Su-won's eyes. Chu-ji arranged this trip, and the speed of the high-speed train is much faster than that of the car. It took more than an hour to reach the city where Chu-ji was. Here Su-won started her shopping spree. If Chu-ji hadn't stopped them, they would probably have called a tow truck to go home. "Why did you buy so many things?" "The first time we meet, the more gifts the better." "First, shouldn't the first meeting with parents be more formal?" "Meet the parents," Chu-ji raised his voice. "It's the first time you meet your parents, so don't think too much about it," Su-won said. Chu-ji scratched his head, feeling that something was wrong. At this time, the phone rang. It was Su-won. Su-won answered, "Sister, have you seen what I gave you? What do you think? Are you sure what you said is true? Believe it or not, the photos are right in front of you. If you don't believe it, what else can I say?" Su-won looked at Chu-ji, who was waving at her in front of the bus, and said, "Okay, I won't talk to you anymore. Chu-ji and I are going to get on the bus." "What, you and Chuj, where did you go?" Bang, Su-won hung up the phone. "This woman is hopeless. Was Bai Yueguang so lethal back then? So is Chu-ji my white moonlight. If so, if he does something excessive and then comes to beg me, will I forgive him?" Su-wan imagined the scene of Chu-ji begging her and quickly shook her head. She felt that she had no resistance at all. Sure enough, Bai Yueguang's lethality is really great. Su-wan came to Chu-ji and rolled her eyes at him. Scumbag. Chu-ji was a little confused and touched his nose. Scumbag. How did I become a scumbag in the blink of an eye? At this moment, Su Ryuakshuan from Jinghai broke the pen in her hand with a snap. You scumbag, you actually brought my sister home? You have guts, Su Ryuakshuan said in a cold tone. Chu-ji's parents were a little dumbfounded that their son suddenly brought such a charming beauty. Isn't this the same one as last time? Sister Chu-zu pulled Chu-ji aside and said, Brother, are you in love with someone else? What's the connection? She is just my friend and business partner, Chu-ji explained quickly. Chu-ji's parents breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this. We are not only friends, but also business partners, so coming here before the new year is no big deal. Su-wan didn't care about Chu-ji's explanation. She just called Chu's father and mother uncle and aunt. Mother Chu responded quickly, took Su-wan's hand and went into the house. The room was fairly warm. Su-wan was not at all stage frightened and had a very happy chat with Chu's mother. When she was happy, Chu's mother told Chu-ji everything about wearing open-crotch pants. Su-wan blushed when she heard this. Su-wan seemed to enjoy the local customs and culture here, and took Chu-ji around for several days. The new year is approaching, but Su-wan has no intention of leaving. If she celebrates the new year here, the nature of the matter will change. A pure and innocent girl will celebrate the new year in a man's house. What will others think if she makes this known to others? However, Chu's father and mother had no other intentions and left everything to Chu-ji. Chu-ji finally said, Su-wan, you've had enough fun these past few days, let me take you back. Su-wan said, it's the peak season for the new year now and I can't buy a ticket. You won't let a little girl like me go back alone, right? What if something unexpected happens on the way? What will you do? Chu-ji had a lot to say, but was stuck in his stomach by this sentence. Finally, Chu's mother asked Su-wan to stay for the new year, and it would not be too late to go back after the new year. Su-wan was happy and Chu-ji was depressed. But the next day, another person came to the Chu family's gate. It was Su Ryuakshuan. Chapter 68, Two Wives. It was Chu-zu who opened the door. Seeing Su Ryuakshuan appear in front of her, Chu-zu screamed, sister-in-law. The anger in Su Ryuakshuan's heart was somewhat reduced by the call of sister-in-law. Sister-in-law, come quickly. Chu-zu hurriedly invited Su Ryuakshuan into the house. Chu-ji was a little surprised to see Su Ryuakshuan coming over, but he still asked, Boss Su, why are you here? Su Ryuakshuan asked, why shouldn't I come? Before Chu-ji could say anything, Su Ryuakshuan actually took out 2 marriage certificates. Then it was placed in front of Chu's father and mother. Chu-ji was a little dumbfounded. However, Su-wan next to her didn't express anything except a cold snort. Chu's father and mother took the marriage certificate and looked at it carefully. Here it's stamped, are you really married? Mother Chu looked at Chu-ji. Chu-ji seemed unable to say anything except nodding. Who dared to say that this was fake? Oh, you little brat, how come you didn't reveal any information about such a big thing? Chu's mother slapped Chu-ji's shoulders twice. Father Chu simply picked up the carrying pole leaning against the door. Chu-ji was so scared that he ran out of the house. Su Ryuakshuan and Su-wan were also startled and hurried forward to stop them. Looking at Mr. and Mrs. Chu with serious faces, Su Ryuakshuan felt a little regretful. Now she thought Chu-ji would probably blame her again, and it seemed difficult to repair the relationship. Chu-zu went to find Chu-ji. Su Ryuakshuan and Su-wan came to Chu-ji's room. Su-wan chuckled and said, Why? Are you afraid that I will eat him? Why are you so eager to claim your sovereignty? Su Ryuakshuan said, Humph, my things are mine, you can't touch them. Su-wan asked, Aren't you afraid that he and I will have a done deal? You dare? Su Ryuakshuan raised her eyebrows. Su-wan sneered, If you want me to not do it, you have to help me. Su Ryuakshuan looked at Su-wan coldly. Have you thought it through? Tisk, I Su-wan always do whatever I want. What do I need to think about? Su-wan said. Su Ryuakshuan said, Sure. A smile appeared on Su-wan's lips. Chu-ji finally came back. Kneel down, Chu's father said while standing in front of the tablets of his ancestors. Baji, Chu-ji knelt down. We in the Chu family have always been above board in our work. Tell me about you. You actually concealed your engagement and let a woman chase you home. What do you want to do? Do you want to have sex with her and then abandon her? Or do you want to have 2 relationships at the same time? Chu-ji said, I didn't, things are not what you think. You're still trying to argue now that people have found your doorstep. I'm going to beat you to death. Father Chu untied his belt. At this time, Su Ryuakshuan hurried over and said, It's not Aji's fault. I asked him to keep it secret. Father Chu was stunned. Chu's mother was also stunned. Chu's mother said, "Girl, I know our Chu Ji is not worthy of you, but you have already obtained the marriage certificate. Is it necessary to hide it?" Su Ruoxian said, "This is because there are some misunderstandings between Chu Ji and me, and it is hard to explain it for the time being. Anyway, this matter is not Chu Ji's responsibility, so you two elders should stop blaming him." Father Chu sighed and said, "Since there is a misunderstanding, just talk it out. It's up to you two to live together anyway." Chu's father walked away with his hands behind his back. Chu's mother looked at the situation and left. Only Su Ruoxian and Chu Ji were left on the field. Chu Ji was not very angry. After all, it was his fault for not telling his family about this matter. According to his thoughts, he should have divorced Su Ruoxian long ago, but he didn't expect it to be delayed until here. "I didn't expect things to turn out like this. Who told you to leave without telling me?" Su Ruoxian muttered at this time. Chu Ji stood up speechlessly and said, "I don't mean to blame you, Mr. Su. Tomorrow is the new year. It's a bit inappropriate for you to stay here. After all, we are a fake couple." Su Ruoxian asked, "Who said it was fake?" Chu Ji's tone paused and he stopped talking. Suddenly he thought of Su Wan. His eyes lit up and he said, "Well, it's not right for Su Wan to stay here for the new year. Mr. Su should take Su Wan back. The Su family is a big family, and there must be a lot of rules at home. What's the point of staying with me?" Su Ruoxian looked at Chu Ji quietly. After a while he said, "Okay, I'm leaving." A smile appeared on Chu's face. "But you must go back with me," Su Ruoxian said. "How can this be possible? Even if I want to go back, I have to wait until the new year." Chu Ji immediately refused. "Going back with Su Ruoxian, this must be a joke." Su Ruoxian said, "It's okay if you don't go back. I'll stay for the new year. I've already thought of an excuse." "What's the excuse?" "It's just an excuse to meet my parents-in-law. Our Su family is not the unreasonable type. No one can say anything if we spend the new year at my parents-in-law's house." Su Ruoxian chuckled. Chu Ji wanted to struggle a bit more and said, "Then President Su Wan should go back, right? That's your business, I don't care." At this time, in another direction, Chu Zhu was talking to Su Wan. "Are you really my sister-in-law's biological sister?" "Yeah," Su Wan nodded. "Tusk tusk, my brother is really a scumbag." Chu Zhu shook her head. Su Wan chuckled. "What's the matter with your brother? He's married to my sister-in-law, and he even tricked you into marrying him. Isn't he a scumbag?" Chu Zhu said. "What kind of lie is that? Am I that easy to fool?" Su Wan pinched Chu Zhu's nose. Chu Zhu nodded. "You were tricked back home by my brother, and you still say you're not easy to trick." Su Wan said, "Then why don't you just think of yourself as having two sisters-in-law?" "Yes, sister-in-law." Chu Zhu called Su Wan sister-in-law. Su Wan was overjoyed and gave a big red envelope out of joy. Without mentioning Su Wan and Chu Zhu whispering to each other, Mother Chu looked at Father Chu and said, "Old man, what should we do now? How should I know what to do? This kid is usually very worry-free. What happened this time?" "Oh, don't blame my son. He is definitely not the kind of person who changes his mind frequently. There must be something going on here." Mother Chu still protected her son. Seeing that Su Ruoxian and Su Wan were not leaving either, Chu Ji had no choice but to let them stay for the new year. The news that Chu Ji had a wife also spread. However, these neighbors couldn't tell which one of Su Ruoxian and Su Wan was Chu Ji's wife, and they all called each other Chu Ji's wife. Chu Ji discovered these past 2 days that Su Wan and Su Ruoxian particularly liked to go out for a stroll, and he wondered what there is to see in such a remote area. However, it is necessary to visit relatives and friends during the Chinese New Year. It was fine for Chu Ji to be alone before, but it would be unreasonable not to take his wife out to see her this time when she came back. Under the pressure from Chu's father and mother, Chu Ji took Su Ruoxian out to pay New Year's greetings. Su Ruoxian also received a lot of red envelopes. Although the value of these red envelopes was less than 1% of what she gave out, she was still very happy. Looking at these red envelopes, Su Wan was extremely jealous, but she could do nothing about it. Finally, in the 3rd year of junior high school, Chu Ji fled with Su Ruoxian and Su Wan. Chapter 69, Inviting a Son-in-Law. Along the way, Chu Ji had a gloomy face. This time, both his family and Su Ruoxian's family knew about their affairs. This will inevitably lead to a lot of trouble in the divorce process, which is a bit troublesome just thinking about it. Chu Ji was driving, and the two women, Su Ruoxian and Su Wan, actually opened and counted the money in the red envelopes they received. It's like opening a blind box. I shout and scream every time I open one, but I don't know what there is to be happy about. After returning to Jinghai, Chu Ji returned to the villa as Su Ryukshuan requested. The old butler was overjoyed to see Chu Ji coming back. Now the old housekeeper realized that the villa of the son-in-law is a good place. My young lady will no longer be moody and lose her temper randomly. The next morning, Su Ryukshuan took Chu Ji out early. Today happens to be the day of the Su family gathering, so of course Su Ryukshuan has to bring Chu Ji over to show his face. Because this is an authentic family New Year gathering, and because Grandpa Su was the oldest, all the direct descendants of the Su family rushed to the Su manor. Of course, married women will also bring their husbands back to wish the old man a happy new year. In the countryside, this is called inviting a son-in-law. When Chu Ji and Su Ryukshuan arrived here, there were already quite a few people here. Chu Ji also wore a men's suit of the Hongai brand. Chu Ji didn't ask the price, but when he was a model for the Su family, he knew that this type was the latest one. Su Ryukshuan was also wearing new women's clothing, which happened to be a couple's outfit with his. As soon as they appeared, they caused a burst of admiration. Whether it is sincere or false, at this moment we have to admire how talented this man is and how beautiful she is. Chu Ji's temperament seems to be quite free and easy. No matter what he does, he always feels calm, as if failure is not a big deal. To put it nicely, this is calmness. But in fact, only Chu Ji himself knows that he has become so numb because he has failed too many times and suffered too much hurt. When Su's father saw Chu Ji, he snorted coldly. He was still upset about Chu Ji leaving without saying goodbye at the last party. At this time, Su Ryukshuan said, "Dad, what do you mean?" Seeing Su Ryukshuan like this, Su's father could only sigh helplessly. After all, it seems that it is his daughter who is sorry to Chu Ji, although he doesn't know whether Su Ryukshuan had a relationship with Xiao Han in Paris. However, anyone with a discerning eye could still see that Chu Ji and Su Ryukshuan were not in harmony at the time. And Su Ryukshuan almost lost the European market because of Bali's mistake. Fortunately, she made a prompt decision and took Chu Ji to London to turn the situation around. Now the sales report is up. As expected, the clothing styles endorsed by Chu Ji were extremely popular. However, the product endorsed by Xiao Han was mediocre and had no highlights at all. If it was Chu Ji instead of Xiao Han who walked the runway in Bari, I believe Hongai's performance would be even more impressive. Unfortunately, there is no if. Thinking of this, Father Su's expression eased a little. At least this son-in-law was a down-to-earth, honest and capable man, much better than that Xiao Han. Those who came this time are relatives and friends. Keep in touch with them more often. It will help your future development, said Chu's father. Chu Ji nodded and responded with a few words. Seeing Chu Ji's well-behaved appearance, Su's father was even more satisfied. For the first time ever, he patted Chu Ji on the shoulder and left. Su Ryukshuan was a little surprised by the change in Su's father's attitude. He looked like he was going to blame someone a few days ago, but why is he so kind now? After a while, Su Ryukshuan was also pulled aside to talk. Chu Ji strolled around the manor casually. At this time, a young man with a very elegant appearance came to Chu Ji. "Are you Ryukshuan's husband? Hello, my name is Li Ping." The young man stretched out his hand to Chu Ji. The other person's hands were white and slender, not like a man's but more like a woman's. Chu Ji politely shook hands with the other party and said, "Hello, should I call you brother-in-law?" Li Ping said, "Haha, that's right, it seems that you have recognized most of the Su family members. Unlike me, I still haven't recognized all of them." Chu Ji didn't see Li Ping the last time he attended the banquet. He guessed that either the other party was very busy, or his relationship with his cousin Su Xin was not very good. He had also seen Su Xin. She was a beautiful woman, but there was a hint of sadness between her brows, making her look a little mean. But the other person is not a very scheming person, and everything is shown on his face. Although the other party also said a few insults to me, I still have a good impression of her. At this time, Su Wan came over and said, "You two brothers-in-law seem to be having a good conversation." "Wan Wen, long time no see." Su Wan said, "That's right, I can only see you brother-in-law during major festivals. I can't see you normally." Li Ping was slightly embarrassed, but still maintained his gentle demeanor. Su Wan then continued, "I will bring my brother-in-law Chu Ji to pay New Year's greetings to the old man. Brother-in-law Li Ping, please do as you please." Seeing Chu Ji leaving, Li Ping waved to Chu Ji with an enthusiastic look. Su Wan took Chu Ji aside and whispered, "Stay away from this person from now on." Why? Chu Ji was a little confused. Because some people say he's the one. That, Chu Ji was stunned, then seemed to think of something and rubbed his hands unconsciously. Seeing Chu Ji's disgusted look, Su Wan giggled and was very charming for a moment, attracting some people's attention. Su Ruoxian strode over at this time, pulled Chu Ji and said, "Let's go and wish Grandpa a Happy New Year first." Seeing Chu Ji being dragged away, Su Wan curled her lips. At this time, Su Ruoxian's stepmother came to Su Wan and said, "Wanner." Su Ruoxian's smiling face suddenly turned gloomy. "Mom, are you going to introduce me to another person?" When the stepmother saw Su Wan's gloomy face, she trembled in her heart for some reason and said, "If you don't like it, forget it." She never thought that her always gentle daughter would be so resistant to the blind date she arranged for her. In order to prevent herself from being controlled by her mother, she actually deprived herself of all the forces she could rely on within a month. She was frightened by the cruelty of the means. If it wasn't for the last bit of friendship, who knew what her daughter would do? Thinking of the few old subordinates she brought from her hometown standing in front of her in fear and begging for mercy, she shuddered again for no reason. Chapter 70, Self-Righteous Su Pin. At this time, Chu Ji was pulled in front of the old man by Su Ruoxian. After paying his respects, he left without saying a few words. The main reason is that the old man's energy is not as good as before, and he doesn't have enough time to deal with all these worldly affairs. Stay away from Su Wan in the future. She is not as simple as she seems. You are so stubborn. Don't let her fool you, Su Ruoxian said in a low voice. Chu Ji turned his head and glanced at Su Ruoxian, frowning. Then his face darkened and he said, "How you feel about Su Wan is your business. The Su Wan I know has always been very good. How I treat Su Wan is also my business." Su Ruoxian stamped her feet in anger. "I was reminding you with good intentions, but you don't know how to appreciate kindness." Chu Ji was too lazy to pay attention to Su Ruoxian. "I hope they can get a divorce as soon as possible after this party." Su Ruoxian was so angry when she saw Chu Ji's look. Su Wan looked like a little white flower, but she was so cruel and ruthless that even she was a little afraid of her. I don't know what went wrong with him a few days ago, but he suddenly attacked her mother's forces. The extent of the cleanup is shocking. The usually arrogant stepmother was so frightened that she didn't even say a word. Not only that, after that cleanup, she completely controlled the power brought by her stepmother, and now she has set her sights on the Su family. Every family has some secret forces to a greater or lesser extent. Su Wan asked for her help and wanted to target this force, and Su Ruoxian had no way to stop it, because she had been arranged to be in the open, so she could not interfere with things in the dark. Su Wan will get that power sooner or later. Helping her is just bringing the process forward. It will be really scary when Su Wan completely integrates these forces. Chu Ji had no idea that he had been staying with a poisonous snake. Chu Ji took advantage of the free time and called Nan Shu. It took a long time for the call to be connected. "Hey, boss." Nan Shu's tone sounded strange and a little breathless, as if he was doing some kind of exercise. Did I disturb you?" Chu Ji asked cautiously. "A little bit. I'm really busy now," Nan Shu grunted. Chu Ji quickly hung up the phone, his face a little red. Meanwhile, Nan Shu was struggling to lift a box onto the car, only to find that the phone beside her ear had been hung up. "What's wrong?" He hung up in the middle of his sentence. Nan Shu didn't bother to care, but said to the driver, "Remember, it's Unit 3, Building 1, Xingtai." "Okay, I'll make sure to deliver it." The driver waved his hand and left. If I had known that the New Year period would be so busy, I would never have let that boss go home to enjoy his retirement, Nan Shu said angrily. At this time, Zhan Bo also wiped his sweat and said, "Who would have thought that these old customers would ask us to order food when they treat them to a meal? Why not come to the restaurant to eat? It's Chinese New Year now, and everyone cares about the atmosphere. Eating in a restaurant doesn't have that atmosphere." "Hey, you two, do you want to tire me, the chef, to death?" Boss Jiang shouted loudly. Coming, Nan Shu quickly agreed. "Nan Shu, can't you ask the other chain stores to work harder and take more orders?" Nan Shu said depressedly. "You think I don't want to? We are near the school and there are many residential areas here, you know that. I have transferred all the people who can be transferred here. Although other chain stores are not as busy as us, they are not idle now either." Boss Jiang turned around and looked at the chef who was waving the spoon vigorously in the kitchen and shook his head speechlessly. Why didn't he have such good business when he was the boss? But only a top student like Chu Ji could make his business so popular, right? Master Jiang turned his head and looked at the deserted restaurant across the street, which made him more convinced of this idea. Nan Shu said at this time, "We must not do this next year. Next year we will continue to expand the chain stores and strive to cover the entire Jinghai. That would probably require at least several hundred chain stores, said Jan Bo next to him. That's right, this is our goal. Nan Shu was ambitious. She glanced coldly at the restaurant across the street, hatred flashing across her eyes. It was that guy who caused me and my best friend to fall out, although my best friend also had her own problems. But if that guy wasn't there, would my best friend treat me like that? At this time at the Su family, Su Ruoxian looked at Chu Ji and said, "Who were you talking to on the phone just now? Why do you look so weird?" "No, nothing." Chu Ji shook his head quickly. Su Ruoxian became even more suspicious when she saw this. She wanted to go forward and ask carefully, but suddenly she heard a quarrel not far away. Su Ruoxian turned her head and found that Su Zin and Li Ping were arguing. I don't know what Su Zin said, but Li Ping walked away in anger without giving Su Zin any face at all. Su Zin was very angry. She threw the thing in her hand away, then turned around and ran into the villa. Father Su's face was livid as he watched from a distance. The Li family and the Su family didn't get along, and he thought it would be better if the two families got married. But now it seems that he was just taking it for granted. I saw Su Zin turn around and run upstairs. Father Su came to Su Ruoxian and said, "Go and comfort your cousin and ask Su Wan to go with you." Su Ruoxian didn't want to go, but seeing that Su's father insisted, she reluctantly agreed. No matter how much she disliked Su Zin, she and Su Zin still had the closest sisterly relationship. When Su Wan passed by Chu Ji, she raised her eyebrows at Chu Ji. Chu Ji got goosebumps all over his body when he thought of what Su Wan had just said to him. At the same time, he also felt sorry for Su Zin's experience. Who would have thought that Li Ping actually doesn't like women, but likes men? Thinking of the smiling look the other person had given him just now, Chu Ji wiped his hands again. "I feel uncomfortable all over." Just then, a young man came to Chu Ji. It was Su Ruoxian's cousin, Su Pin. "Chu Ji, I want to ask, how did you get close to my sister?" Chu Ji raised his eyebrows, thinking that this person did not have good intentions. He knew very well that the two brothers of the Su family did not like him. Because Su Pin is relatively young, he has not yet started working for the Su group. "Now I do nothing all day long like a second-generation rich kid. Why do you think I'm trying to curry favor with your sister?" Chu Ji asked Su Pin curiously. "Haha, do you need to think about this? What is my sister's identity? What is your identity? Yes, you are Jinghai's student, but other than that, what else do you have? Last time when we went to Europe, if Xiaohan hadn't been the agent for our Su's clothing, we probably wouldn't have been able to sell a single piece of clothing in Europe, right?" Chu Ji really didn't know what the European market's reaction was after the last trade fair. Now hearing Su Pin say this, he felt that this was probably the case. After all, I am not famous, so it is reasonable that I have no achievements. Thinking of this, Chu Ji said, "Then it's my fault. It's okay as long as you know you're wrong. If I were you, I'd feel ashamed. How could I have the nerve to attend a family gathering like this? Boy, be smart and get out of here quickly, or we will all be embarrassed in the end." Chapter 71, Lonely Chu Ji. Chu Ji raised his eyebrows and asked, "Is this what you meant, or your sister's idea, or someone else's idea? What's the difference? Boy, don't be ignorant. You have earned your reputation yourself, don't refuse it. My sister thought you were still useful, so she brought you here with great reluctance. My uncle was too embarrassed to say it, but he meant it, so be sensible and leave," Su Pin said coldly. Chu Ji was speechless, feeling like he really wanted to come here. Chu Ji looked at Su's father. Su Pin said, "Don't look at it, just leave if I tell you to." At this time, Su's father was talking to someone not far away. Seeing Chu Ji looking at him, he nodded at Chu Ji. Su Pin showed an excited look on his face, then looked at Chu Ji and said, "See, Uncle also agrees with my idea." Chu Ji didn't notice it. However, since Su Pin said it was Su's father's intention, then it was probably the same. Su Pin would not drive me away privately, but he still wanted to make sure. He couldn't just leave in such a confused state. Chu Ji walked towards Su's father. When he came to Su's father, Chu Ji was a little hesitant about how to start the conversation. "Su Pin has told you everything, just do things according to his arrangements." Father Su spoke first. It seemed as if he wanted to say something next, but a man came over and started talking to Su's father. Su's father turned around and left, still talking and laughing with that man. Chu Ji stood there in a daze for a moment, then a bitter smile appeared on his face. "In that case, there is no need for me to stay here any longer." He put down the wine glass in his hand and walked out of the Su's manor. Su Pin looked at Chu Ji's back and said, "What the hell?" Walking out of the Su's manor, Chu Ji felt a little self-deprecating, but at the same time he was also puzzled by Su Ruoxian's attitude. Did she bring herself here from her hometown just to humiliate him? I don't think it's necessary. Or was he venting his anger on Zyro-han? As I walked out of the Sue's manor, I saw Zyro-han walking towards me, dressed very formally. Seeing Chuji, Zyro-han came up to him with a haughty attitude. Do you know the gap between you and me now? Chuji was silent. Chuji, you'd better be more sensible and know what to do and what not to do. I have made such a great contribution to the Sue family this time, and it is time for me to take the position. As for you, go back to where you came from. Zyro-han walked into the Sue's manor with a dignified manner. Chuji seemed unable to do anything except smile bitterly. It didn't matter, as long as Su Ryukshuan could divorce him. Chuji turned and walked out of the villa. The villa was very big, and it would take a lot of time to walk out. Chuji walked step by step, looking a little lonely. Inside the manor, Suzy came to Su Pin and asked, "Have you done what I asked you to do?" Su Pin said, "Don't worry, it's done. Uncle asked me to take this opportunity to hold a celebration party. It's a recognition of me. How can I not be attentive?" Suzy said, "Okay, just keep it in mind. The celebration party will start soon. Just behave well and I won't disturb you." Suzy and Su Pin said a few words and then walked to the side with their wine glasses. Su Pin is full of confidence. Just now, his uncle asked him to congratulate the European heroes for their achievements, and he was flattered. My uncle has already let my eldest brother, Suzy, join the group. If I do this well, I may also be able to join the Su group. Taking up a small position is better than hanging around. At least I don't have to beg for pocket money. What surprised him was that Zyro-han didn't come, but Chuji, whom he disliked, came. How could this be possible? He immediately contacted Zyro-han and asked him to come over. He didn't want to bother with Chuji. But no matter how I look at him, I just don't like him. He's so handsome, but you can tell at first glance that he's not a good person. So just kick him out. This time, Su's progress in Europe was indeed good. He originally had no expectations. But who would have thought that he would see Zyro-han acting as the agent for the Hongai brand at the critical moment? Only then did he have some confidence. Later, when Su's financial report came out, it was indeed good, so he became more and more convinced that Zyro-han was the biggest contributor. As for the specific sales data in the report, he was too lazy to look at it. As for Zyro-han, he was also a little confused when he received Su Pin's call. In fact, he was not very clear about Su's sales situation. However, he was very dissatisfied with the fact that Su Ryukshuan left without saying a word, and left him in Bari. I had wanted to have a good relationship with Su Ryukshuan after the new year, but I never expected to receive a call from Su Pin at this time. Su Pin praised him highly for his contribution to Bari, and he was inexplicably excited. So I rushed here after receiving the call. He felt that he had reached the pinnacle of his life. He had already imagined Su Ryukshuan being tender and affectionate towards him, and also imagined Su's father apologizing to him sincerely. Thinking of this, a smug smile appeared on his face. "Oh, our great hero is here," a voice sounded in my ears. Zyro-han looked up and saw Su Pin walking towards him with a happy look on his face. "I just did my bit, it can't be considered a credit," Zyro-han said modestly. "No way, if it weren't for you turning the tide, how could our Su group be so successful in Europe?" "Mr. Zyo, you are really too polite," Su Pin said hurriedly. They spoke very loudly, and all the relatives and friends of the Su family around them looked over. When they saw that the person coming was Zyro-han, a strange look appeared on their faces. Zyro-han had done something good for the Su family. When did it happen? How come they didn't know? There was one incident where Su almost fell into Zyro-han's hands. Suzy raised his eyebrows slightly when he saw Zyro-han coming over from a distance. What is this guy Su Pin doing? Why did he let him come over when he knew that uncle didn't like this Zyro-han? Suzy subconsciously looked towards the place where his father had just been, but did not see his father. His father and uncle were also nowhere to be seen. They probably went to ask about Su Zin's condition. At this time, the relationship with the Li family was their biggest concern. Suzy muttered in his heart, "Why did my uncle leave at this time? Was he doing it on purpose?" Suzy looked around again but didn't see Chuji. Did Chuji know that Zyro-han was coming back, so he left early? Chapter 72, I don't know what went wrong. At this time, Su Pin and Zyro-han were praising each other. Zyro-han said at this time, "In fact, as long as Ryukshuan can praise me in person, I will be very satisfied. There is no need for this celebration party." "How can that be? You have helped Su's company a lot. You helped us open up the international market and directly brought our Su's company to a higher level. Such a great contribution must be made public. Mr. Zio, no, I should call you brother-in-law Zio Han. You can't refuse brother-in-law. I'll go find my sister right now. My sister promises that she will be happy to pour you a glass of wine in person. Thinking of Su Ryukshuan pouring wine for him tenderly, Zio Han couldn't suppress a smile on his face. But Zio Han still said with some reserve, "Hey, don't call me that. My brother-in-law should be Chu Ji." "Chu Ji? I sent that peasant away a long time ago. How can he compare with you, my brother-in-law? He looks so poor and he still wants to marry into my Su family. It's just a daydream," Su Pin said loudly, fearing that the people around him couldn't hear him. But he didn't notice that the surroundings had become quiet. Su Pin was very proud and thought his words had achieved their effect. He clapped his hands and said, "My dear relatives, some of you are my elders, some are my brothers and sisters, and of course there are younger generations. Here I would like to solemnly introduce to you the great contributor to our Su family, Mr. Zio Han. Mr. Zio Han is the spokesperson for our Red Leaf in Europe this time. I think everyone knows about this. Our Su group has achieved very good results, and Mr. Zio has made an indelible contribution to this. Of course, Mr. Zio is also my sister's suitor. I think he and my sister are a perfect match, ha ha ha." Su Pin laughed and then continued, "Brother-in-law, wait a moment. I will go find my sister and pour you some wine personally." Zio Han nodded with a smile. He really enjoyed the feeling of being the center of attention. Zio Han held up a glass of wine and toasted with the Su family members around him. Those Su family members who were toasted had strange smiles on their faces and were a little confused. Su Pin came upstairs at this time. Here he saw Su Ryukshuan, Su's father, and others. "Uncle, I am now celebrating the great hero of our Su family. He wants my sister to personally pour him a glass of wine to celebrate. Should I take my sister downstairs first?" Father Su nodded and said, "Okay, young people should have more fun." Su Ryukshuan was somewhat surprised that he actually asked her to pour him some wine. Was he just trying to get close to me? HMPH, I'll agree to it reluctantly. Su Ryukshuan felt a little arrogant in her heart. But the whole person has already walked downstairs. Su Wan was a little stunned. Would Chu Ji make such a suggestion? Did something happen between him and his sister last night? Su Wan felt a little blocked in her heart, but she still stood up and walked downstairs. Su Pin said to Su Ryukshuan at this time, "Sister, please wait a moment. You have to let your brother-in-law feel the solemnity. Wait for me to arrange it." Su Pin pulled Su Ryukshuan behind the screen next to them. Su Ryukshuan did not refuse. Instead, she was a little shy. This made Su Pin even more proud. He felt that he could rest assured in the Su company from now on. After Su Pin arranged for Su Ryukshuan, he squeezed into the crowd and pulled Zio Han to the high platform of the stairs in the living room. He said to the people below, "Okay, now let us witness this important moment and let our President Su personally pour wine to congratulate our hero." After saying that, Su Ryukshuan walked out gracefully from behind the screen next to her, holding a glass of red wine that had been prepared in her hand. Su Ryukshuan raised her head lovingly and looked at the people in the field. But the smile on his face froze instantly. "Why is it you?" "Ryukshuan, we meet again," Zio Han said gently. Someone below took a picture of the two of them standing together and posted it on WeChat Moments. For a time, the news that Zio Han became a hero of the Su family and was expected to become Su Ryukshuan's husband spread instantly. Su Wan, who was walking downstairs, happened to see this scene. Her lips opened slightly, and suddenly she revealed a teasing smile. Why does this scene look so familiar? Upstairs, Su's father was discussing how to deal with the relationship with the Lee family. Suddenly, I heard Su Pin's voice downstairs, but the expected noisy congratulations did not appear, and it was very quiet. At this moment, his cell phone vibrated. He took out his phone and looked at it. It was a video sent by Su Wan. He also asked if this was what he meant. Father Su thought Su Wan was asking about holding a celebration party, so he answered yes. He wanted to turn off his phone, but accidentally clicked on a video, which showed Zio Han looking at Su Ryukshuan affectionately. Father Su's face suddenly darkened and he stood up abruptly. "What's going on, you bastard?" Father Su went downstairs angrily. The two brothers of the Su family were a little suspicious, and then they also opened their mobile phones. When the second son of the Su family saw the content on the phone, he was in tears and laughed. However, the third son of the Su family was already furious at what his good son had done. He also went downstairs angrily. The third son of the Su family arrived at Su Pin's side first. Su Pin was still smiling at this time, not knowing how big a mistake he had made. He opened his mouth to report his achievement, I did this. Banged. The third son of the Su family slapped Su Pin and made him spin around twice. You bastard, you can even do something like this wrong. Are you a pig? Su Pin looked up blankly at his father, whose face was ashen. He looked at Su's father again, and Su's father's face looked even uglier. He looked at Su Ryukshuan again. Su Ryukshuan was looking at him ferociously, as if she wanted to tear him apart. Su Pin shuddered. Only then did he realize that he seemed to have done something wrong. But what went wrong? Not to mention the lively scene at the Su family. Chuji was still walking alone in this huge community. It is called a community, but it is actually a mountain with a very large area. It is full of manor like villas like the Su families. It is a real wealthy area. At this time, he glanced at his mobile phone and opened his circle of friends. It shows the scene where Su Ryukshuan is pouring wine for Zaya Han with affection. And the picture above. It turns out that the real hero is this person, and the current head of the Su family has personally confirmed it. Chapter 73, Recovering Spirit. Chuji sighed slightly. If that was the case, why did Su Ryukshuan have to humiliate him once? Chuji really couldn't understand. Chuji also hated himself. Why was he so soft-hearted again and again? She must be laughing at me, a clown, in front of Zaya Han right now. Chuji sighed. His face was full of loneliness. Only then did Chuji realize that he was actually a little moved. Otherwise, why would he feel sad? This time Su Pin did remind him, and he felt he should thank Su Pin. Make yourself face the reality, and don't have any unnecessary thoughts. Just then a car slowly stopped beside him. The car window rolled down, revealing Zhu Wongking's delicate and charming face. Chuji, why are you here? Chuji showed a bitter smile on his face. Sister Wongking, I didn't expect to meet you here. Seeing Chuji's slightly embarrassed look, Zhu Wongking's expression instantly turned cold. Get in the car first, we'll talk about anything when we get back, Zhu Wongking said. And at this time in the Su's manor. After learning the whole story, everyone looked at Su Pin as if he were an idiot. When Su Ryukshuan learned that Su Pin had driven Chuji away, her face turned pale, and she felt a little unsteady on her feet. The relationship that had finally eased has returned to the starting point, and is even worse than before. Why does it always happen? Su Ryukshuan rushed out of the manor and drove to chase Chuji. But until we drove out of the community, we didn't see Chuji. Call up the community's surveillance footage and see where our son-in-law has gone. Father Su looked at Su Ryukshuan, who had returned in a daze, and immediately gave the order. Soon the surveillance footage of this time period was retrieved. It starts from the moment Chuji leaves the gate of Su's manor. He was first ridiculed by Zaya Han, which could be seen from the way Zaya Han pointed fingers at Chuji and his arrogant attitude. Chuji's expression didn't change much, but his lonely look still hurt Su Ryukshuan's heart. In the surveillance video, Chuji turned his head to look at the Su's manor, then turned and walked out of the community. A person walking on the road in the community looks lonely and desolate. A meritorious official who made significant contributions to the Su family was expelled from the family, also met with ridicule. From beginning to end, no one in the Su family noticed that Chuji had left. It seemed that no one really cared about this dispensable person. Su Wan looked at Chuji's lonely back on the surveillance camera and clenched her hands tightly. There was a slightly ferocious look in his eyes when he looked at Su Pin. In the surveillance video, Chuji turned a corner and walked out of the surveillance range. No one knew where he went. At this time, happy community. Chuji walked into Zhu Wongking's house here. He sat on the sofa, looking a little tired. It's not that I'm physically tired, but that I'm mentally tired. After being teased by Su Ryukshuan again and again, he really felt exhausted. Zhu Wongking placed a cup of tea in front of Chuji. Chuji forced a smile on his face and said, Sister Wongking, I'm sorry to make a fool of myself. Zhu Wongking asked, What happened? That's right, what happened? You're not in a good condition now? Zhu Moyu sat next to him, showing her long white legs in front of Chuji without any hesitation. The fullness of the chest also pressed against Chuji's arm. Chuji's face turned slightly red, and he quietly distanced himself a little. Zhu Moyu seemed slightly dissatisfied. Zhu Wongking smiled. Chuji briefly explained what happened. So I didn't bring any benefits to the Su group, but instead caused them to suffer losses. It is reasonable for me to be treated like this? Chuji was not angry when he was driven out. After all, in his opinion, he did not bring any benefits to the Su group, but rather brought troubles. He could not say anything about being treated like this. Zhu Wongking frowned and said, But from what I understand, that's not the case. But Chuji couldn't listen anymore. Maybe. Regardless of whether this is true or not, it is true that he was kicked out, and it is also true what Sue's father admitted. I won't try to verify anything, so as not to bring shame upon myself. Okay, let's not worry about those things. It's time to eat. You haven't eaten yet, right? I'll go cook, Zhu Wonking said. Chu Ji said, Sister Wonking, let me be the chef. Chu Ji stood up and took out his cell phone. He checked it and found that it was out of battery, so he put it on the table in the living room. Then she naturally took the apron from Zhu Wonking, put it on herself, and went into the kitchen. Looking at Chu Ji busy in the kitchen, Zhu Wonking made a phone call. Report everything that happened to the Su family today to me in detail, Zhu Wonking said coldly. Also, we will not give up the piece of land that the Su family wants. By the time Chu Ji finished cooking, he had returned to normal. I never wanted anything from the Su family, so I shouldn't care how they treated me. A smile appeared on his face, and during the meal he accidentally got 2 more glasses of wine from Yunmo, that clever girl. Then he fell asleep here again, and in a half-asleep state, he seemed to see Sister Wonking's charming face again. The next day, Chu Ji felt refreshed, as if all the negative energy had been released last night. It's just that I felt a little uneasy when I slept, and the sheets were a little messy. When I walked out of the room, Sister Wonking had already gone to work. He is really self-disciplined, which Chu Ji thinks he should learn from. After being dazzled by Zhu Moyu's jumping white thing, Chu Ji decisively chose to leave. It happened to be the 5th day of the Lunar New Year this year, so the Chinese New Year was over. Chu Ji came to the company. The company was very quiet, and Chu Ji thought there was no one there. But he didn't expect that when he walked into the office, he would see Nan Shu sleeping on the sofa covered with a blanket. Chu Ji was slightly stunned. When he walked closer, he found that Nan Shu looked a little haggard, as if she hadn't combed her hair and dressed up for several days. Because the sound of calling came from Nan Shu's mouth, he was sleeping very soundly. Chu Ji did not disturb Nan Shu. He could guess that Nan Shu looked so haggard because she was too busy with business recently. Chu Ji sat down in his seat, took out a piece of paper, and began to list out this year's development outline. Just like Nan Shu thought, he felt that he should open chain stores all over Jinghai within this year. In the second year, we expanded to nearby big cities. He plans to open chain stores across the country within 5 years. He knew this was difficult, but it was also his dream. Nan Shu was awakened by hunger. She opened her eyes, looked around the room, and sat up suddenly. Oh no, I actually slept until the evening. It's only noon now, and I've drawn the curtains, so the room seems a little dark. A clear and peaceful voice sounded in Nan Shu's ears. Nan Shu suddenly looked up in the direction where the voice came from, and met Chu Ji's warm and peaceful gaze. Nan Shu blinked, and it took him a while to realize that it was Chu Ji who came back. Ah, Nan Shu screamed. Chu Ji was shocked. Then he saw Nan Shu rushing out of his office like a gust of wind. Chu Ji was speechless. He touched his face and muttered, "Am I that scary?" After a long while, Nan Shu came back in. Nan Shu, who came in, seemed to have dressed up from head to toe, changed her clothes, and seemed to have taken a shower because her hair was wet. "Boss, when did you come?" "Morning," Chu Ji replied. Nan Shu froze and said angrily, "Why didn't you call me? And what did you see?" Chu Ji felt that the last sentence was the key point. "Well, I've seen everything I should see, and I even heard snoring." Ah, Nan Shu screamed again and stomped his feet. She felt that Chu Ji had seen her ugly appearance, which was so embarrassing. Chapter 74, You Don't Realize How Excellent You Are. Chu Ji felt a little dizzy and quickly lowered his head and looked away. Thank you for your hard work these days. I have learned a little bit about the situation. Fortunately, you are here, otherwise we really can't handle such a heavy workload. Hearing this, Nan Shu raised her head proudly and said, "It's good that you know. Don't worry, I promise I won't let you down. I will remember everything you do," Chu Ji said. "Huh, that's what you said," Nan Shu said with a blushing face. "I'll give you a few days off, you should hurry home," Chu Ji said. "I'm not going back," Nan Shu said. Chu Ji was stunned, then asked, "Why, can you tell me?" Nan Shu was silent. Chu Ji shook his head when he saw this. "If you don't want to say it, forget it. You can treat this place as your home. By the way, why are you sleeping here? Aren't you living with Yu? I was dating someone, so it's a bit inconvenient for me to go there," Nan Shu said in a low voice. Chu Ji thought for a moment and said, "Let's go and rent a house." Nan Shu looked up and asked, "Are you renting a house for me?" "Of course, you are my president. As your boss, shouldn't I care about you and provide you with a place to live?" Chu Ji smiled. Chu Ji said at this time, "Let's go, it's noon, I'll treat you to a meal, and then we'll go look at the house." When they arrived at the restaurant, Nanshu casually ordered 2 side dishes and started eating without caring about his image. Chu Ji felt a little embarrassed. He made others so tired, and yet he went back to celebrate the new year. It seemed like he was doing a job that was not worth doing. "Slow down, no one is trying to snatch it from you," Chu Ji said jokingly. Looking at Nanshu, who was busy eating, Chu Ji shook his head and looked away to the window. The phone in his hand rang. Chu Ji looked at it and hung up. It was Su Ruoxuan calling. There were already many missed calls, but he didn't answer any of them. He didn't know what to say, and he didn't want to talk to anyone in the Su family except Su Wan before he thought it through. Nanshu looked up at Chu Ji and asked, "Why don't you answer the phone?" Chu Ji said, "I don't want to answer it." Chu Ji looked at Nanshu, was slightly stunned, then took out a napkin next to him and wiped the corner of Nanshu's mouth naturally. After wiping it, Chu Ji was stunned. He often wiped the corners of his sister's mouth in this way. When he was at Zhu Wonking's house, he also wiped the corners of Yunmo's mouth in this way, because he also treats Yunmo as his own sister. But now it seems that the person opposite him is not his sister, but Nanshu. Chu Ji quickly withdrew his hand, looking a little embarrassed. Nanshu was blushing so much that she almost buried her face in the plate. That, Chu Ji wanted to explain. Nanshu suddenly stood up and said, "I'm full, let's go find a house." After saying that, he turned around and left, looking like he was escaping in a panic. Chu Ji quickly got up and followed. He was speechless. He was actually affected by Su Ruoxuan's phone call. For a moment, he treated Nanshu as his own sister. Wouldn't Nanshu think that he was frivolous? Chu Ji was a little worried. Nanshu here seemed to have completely forgotten what had just happened. She appeared very natural and happy, jumping around and looking very lively. Seeing this, Chu Ji put aside his worries. After looking at several houses in succession, Chu Ji was not very satisfied with any of them. Either the price is too high, or you have to share the house with someone else. Until I saw a small 3-bedroom apartment in a residential area with a good price and good environment. But the price is a little bit expensive. At this time, Nanshu said, "Boss, why don't you rent with me? This way you can save rent and protect my safety." Chu Ji subconsciously wanted to refuse. At this time, Nanshu suddenly said, "Boss, you don't want me to be kidnapped again, I'm a little scared. I don't even dare to trust my best friend now, I only trust you." Chu Ji didn't say the words of refusal, but nodded for some unknown reason. Nanshu was very happy. Chu Ji thought that he would wait until Nanshu calmed down, and then find an excuse to leave. Chu Ji signed a contract with the landlord. This place is a little far from where they work, and it takes more than half an hour to walk there. If you want to save time, you can only take the bus, but seeing that Nanshu likes it, I decided to rent it. Chu Ji directly signed a 1-year contract. He believes they will move to a bigger house in a year. Nanshu gave its employees a few days off. Chu Ji also took advantage of these few days to move. At this time, Su Wan called. Chu Ji directly invited Su Wan to dinner to congratulate them on their successful move. After all, Su Wan is the second boss. Su Wan arrived very quickly, and her first words were, "I want to move in too." What else could Chu Ji say? Of course, he prepared a room for Su Wan as well. Su Wan moved in that same day. It was already evening when he finished the work. Chu Ji bought some groceries and then cooked a few side dishes himself. After dinner, Nanshu went to bed early as she was already tired after a whole day. Su Wan found an opportunity to talk to Chu Ji alone. "Actually, there is something I should have told you a long time ago." "What?" "In fact, what happened that day was Su Pin's own decision, and my father and sister were unaware of it." Su Wan recounted what happened that day in detail. As she spoke, she observed Chu's expression, but Chu Ji's face appeared calm from beginning to end. "Don't you believe what I said?" Su Wan asked. Chu Ji said, "Believe it, of course I believe it. But why do you have no expression at all?" Chu Ji said, "It's very simple. No matter whether this matter is as you said or not, it can't change the fact that I come from a humble background. If this matter can happen once, it can happen a second time. We are not the same kind of people, and although I am unwilling to be mediocre, I am not conceited. I am very aware of the reality. I will work hard step by step to improve my own value and gain respect. It is definitely not because of my relationship with your sister that I am valued by others." Chu Ji continued, "I have let go of that matter. Now I just want to divorce President Su." Chu Ji's words were calm and firm. Su Wan was slightly stunned and looked at Chu Ji for a long time. "You are actually very good. I just found out that you were also the one who made the company's sales plan. Do you know how much benefit you have brought to the company?" "Mr. Su paid for it," said Chu Ji. Su Wan was stunned. Chu Ji's words still meant that his talent was worthless in front of money. This is not the reason why the Su family values him. Because they have money, they can buy more and better suggestions, and they don't need him. Su Wan shook her head and said, "You really don't realize how good you are. Su's has been established for so many years. Why hasn't anyone come up with a plan as good as his?" Chu Ji had no idea how much the Su family paid for this. That value is calculated in billions. What the Su family tried their best to do but still couldn't do, Chu Ji did it just so casually. Chu Ji's plan directly helped Su's company break through and advance. How outstanding a person must be to be able to do this. Chu Ji's planning proposal can be said to have laid the foundation for Hongai's high-end brand. With such an excellent plan, his sister only gave Chu Ji 500,000 yuan. Is this just treating a beggar well? Chapter 75, I Need an Excuse. Su family. Father Su was looking at Su Pin coldly. Who told you that Europe's achievements were due to Zyro Han? Didn't I show you the financial statements in Europe? Aren't it clearly written who achieved the results, and which model achieved the results? What's in your mind? How could you think that was Zyro Han's achievement? Su Pin said timidly. I thought that Zyro Han is a well-known artist after all, and he still has some influence in the country, while Chu Ji is just a mud-legged peasant, a country bumpkin. How could he achieve such good results? I still think it was Zyro Han who brought us benefits, not Chu Ji, and I think I am right. Father Su sighed speechlessly. Su Pin's father also said at this time, Brother, Su Pin is not suitable for the company. His thinking is too immature. You should withdraw your appointment. This sentence cut off the possibility of Su Pin taking power. Su Pin's face turned slightly pale. If he couldn't hold power outside, he would be a second-generation rich man. Although he has no worries about food and drink, no one will look up to him if he really meets an important person. Why, Dad, do you also think I'm wrong? Su Pin's father said speechlessly. You are the only one here who thinks you are right. Su Zi, tell your good-for-nothing brother about the situation in Europe. Su Zi looked at Su Pin and said, A Pin, you really should take a good look at that report. The report not only shows the achievements of our Su's various clothing brands, but also the achievements of other brands represented by Chuj. Not only did he represent the products of his rival company, he also doubled their sales in Europe. He is also the agent of the most famous international brand, Louis Vuitton, and is highly regarded by the boss of the brand's European general agent. Louis Vuitton's profit that month almost crushed our Hongai's profit for the whole year, and this was all brought by Chu Ji. Do you still think that Chu Ji is just a peasant? When did you learn to judge a person's ability by his background? Su Pin opened his mouth but didn't say anything. The facts hit him in the face like loud slaps. If he continues to be stubborn, he may not even be qualified to be a second-generation rich. He wanted to slap himself now. He had just ruined the perfect opportunity to join the Su group, but he was too lazy to look at the reports. But the news I got doesn't seem to be like this, Su Pin still said. Who gave you the news? Asked Su's father. Yes, I heard it from my great-aunt. My great-aunt said that Chu Ji is a guy who is more likely to cause trouble than to accomplish anything, so I subconsciously thought. Father Su narrowed his eyes. He knew that his wife had never liked Chu Ji, but he didn't expect that the other party would be so prejudiced against Chu Ji. Because Chu Ji was falsely accused of stealing, she kept talking about it after she found out. Even if Chu Ji was proven to be falsely accused, she pretended not to know. Unexpectedly, Su Pin heard it, and Su Pin was also very concerned about Chu Ji's background. That's why I subconsciously thought that Chu Ji was a waste and could not be compared with Zyro Han at all. That's why this misunderstanding occurred. Su Pin's views also represent the views of a large number of Su family members. Chu Ji understood it very well and saw it clearly, so he said that to Su Wan. No matter whether I have talent or not, it is the same in the eyes of the Su family. Unless he has the strength to match them. Su Ruoxuan returned to the villa. She sat on the sofa motionlessly. The door rang. Su Ruoxuan turned her head suddenly and said, Aj, go back. When he saw that it was the old face of the butler who came in, the joy on his face faded again. The old butler sighed speechlessly. He had also heard about what happened at the master's side. Now it seemed that he could do nothing except calling Su Pin a fool. I haven't been able to contact my son-in-law since he left the Su family. It's been a day. If he doesn't come back at this time, it obviously means he has no intention of coming back here. Miss, it's getting late. You should rest, the old housekeeper advised. Su Ruoxuan finally got up and went upstairs. She subconsciously came to Chu Ji's room and lay down on Chu Ji's bed. She hugged Chu Ji's quilt tightly, took a deep breath and fell asleep. She didn't know when she started to like this taste. I feel empty if I don't smell it for a day. Chu Ji had a good rest. He did not go to the company either, but started looking for locations for new chain stores. Nanshu earned $1 million this holiday, and he wanted to invest all the money. At this time, Chu Ji was in a factory. The seasoning for which Chuj has applied for a patent is produced in this factory. The boss of the factory was a bald, middle-aged man, fat, and he looked at Chu Ji and said, "Brother, don't tell me that your seasoning has been well received since it was launched. Now I have 2 production lines producing your seasonings. Brother, I'm not afraid of you laughing at me, but I'm really envious of you now." Chu Ji said, "It's a pleasure to cooperate with Boss Wang this time. I also recognize Boss Wang's character. This time I came to discuss a business with Boss Wang." Boss Wang was stunned and said, "Business? Tell me about it, brother." "Boss Wang, I want to buy 60% of the shares of your factory." Chu Ji went straight to the point. Chu Ji initially outsourced the processing, but now he wants to have his own factory, but he does not have enough time to manage it. So he came up with this idea. He only wanted shares, and Boss Wang would still be in charge of the management. The reason why he chose Boss Wang was because he found out through investigation that Boss Wang was short of money, because his money was taken away by his lover. This is actually not a secret, and you can find out by asking around, so he made this suggestion. Sure enough, Boss Wang did not refuse at the first time, but fell into deep thought. Suddenly, Boss Wang said to Chu Ji, "Wait a minute, I'll make a phone call." Chu Ji was not in a hurry. After a while, Boss Wang came back and said, "Okay, I agree to your terms, but not 60%. I'll sell it all to you." Chu Ji finally closed the deal at a price of $2 million. $1 million upfront payment. This money came from his fashion show in Europe, the money Su Ruoxuan paid for his planning proposal, and the money he made from the recent chain stores. All of them were invested. Chu Ji promised to pay back the remaining money within 2 years. The reason why Chu Ji wanted to have a factory was to independently produce his own special seasoning. He wants to sell the Sanwei Yatang brand seasonings all over the country. Chu Ji took the contract and left. At this time, Boss Wang's phone rang again. Boss Wang answered immediately. Yes, they are all sold. I only asked for 1 million in advance. Don't worry, I don't have any bad intentions. It's just that the money I owe." "Oh, thank you. At this time, Zhu Wongking's housekeeper hung up the phone. Then he came to Zhu Wongking and said, "Miss, my son-in-law has bought the factory and all the formalities have been completed." Zhu Wongking nodded. "That factory is still a little small. I remember we have a piece of land next to it, right?" "Yes, miss, it's next to that factory building. Let's find an opportunity to sell the land to my son-in-law," Zhu Wongking said. The old housekeeper said, "Okay, miss. It's said to be for sale, but I guess it's almost the same as giving it away for free. Otherwise, the lady would be unhappy. Gotta find a good excuse, it's a headache." Chapter 76, Drifting Away. Chu Ji was so busy that he forgot about time. By the time Chu Ji finally calmed down, he realized it was already March. Everything is developing in an orderly manner. The Zhang family has also been much quieter recently. Su Wan is worthy of being a member of the Su family. She made the Su family's legal team insist that Zhang Bo framed Sanwei Yatang, which made the Zhang family so anxious that they had no time to deal with Chu Ji. Zhang Bo has now lost more than he gained, and the Zhang family's stock market has even caused some fluctuations. It was not until this time that the Zhang family found out that the Su family had shares in Sanwei Yatang. "I heard that Zhang Bo was beaten badly by his father, but I don't know if it's true." Su Wan was sitting in front of Chu Ji at this time. "It's unrealistic to really do anything to the Zhang family, but after this incident, the Zhang family must think carefully if they want to deal with us." Chu Ji said, "Thank you for your hard work this time. I toast you a glass." Chu Ji picked up the wine glass and poured it for Su Wan. Su Wan's lips curled up slightly, looking very happy. Su Wan has been living here almost all these days, and she and Chu Ji are getting along more and more harmoniously and naturally. At this time, the door opened, and Nan Shu came back. "Oh, I'm so tired," Nan Shu complained as soon as he entered the door. Seeing Chu Ji and Su Wan drinking, he pinched his waist and said, "Your boss is so leisurely. How can you let me fight so hard in the front?" "Thank you," Chu Ji nodded. "Oh, I'm so angry. When did you become so shameless, boss?" Nan Shu stamped his feet. Although her figure is slightly petite, she has everything she should have. Chu Ji's face turned red as he stomped his feet and looked at her tremblingly. Chu Ji quickly looked away and scratched his head. Didn't you say that I was an impersonal capitalist? I can't let you call me that for nothing, right? Nan Shu's cheeks puffed up when he heard that, looking extremely adorable. Su Wan smiled and said, "Okay, I know you're working hard. Aren't we already recruiting people to be your assistants? We're going to find 2 for you. What do you think?" Nan Shu said, "How about I recommend someone?" Chu Ji said, "It's up to you." Nan Shu said, "It's not that I need someone, but now we have nearly dozens of chain stores, and by the end of the year we hope to have more than 200 stores. I really can't take care of it all by myself." Chu Ji patted his head and said, "This is my problem. I will find time to give you a complete set of company organizational structure. You also need to learn management knowledge. It's not easy to be a president." At this time, Chu Ji's cell phone rang. Chu Ji looked at the caller ID and frowned slightly. Su Wan glanced and said, "My sister." Chu Ji nodded. "It's no use hiding like this. You have to resolve the issues between you 2, Su Wan said. Chu Ji looked at his phone and fell into deep thought. On the other end of the phone, Su Ryukshuan dejectedly put down the phone in her hand. He still didn't answer. On the opposite side, Ning Rongrong had an expression that said, "As expected. This is a private room in a bar. There are only Ning Rongrong and Su Ryukshuan." Ning Rongrong said at this time, "Sister Ryukshian, I'm not saying anything bad about you, but if the matter between you and Xiao Han is not completely resolved one day, there will be no good result between you and Chu Ji. It's obvious that every misunderstanding seems to be because of Xiao Han. Don't you think this is too much of a coincidence?" Su Ryukshuan frowned when she heard that. "What do you think of Xiao Han?" Ning Rongrong asked. "I have no idea." Ning Rongrong rolled her eyes. "But I am sure of one thing, I like Chu Ji. From the first moment I saw him, the feeling I had was completely different from Xiao Han. When I am with Chu Ji, I feel warm in my heart. It is a kind of happiness, a kind of obsession, and a kind of dependence. When I am with him, I feel very happy no matter what I do. This is something I didn't have when I was with Xiao Han." Ning Rongrong's expression changed slightly. "When you were with Xiao Han, so you really had feelings for Xiao Han. How far have you and Xiao Han gotten?" Su Ryukshuan was silent. Ning Rongrong's heart sank, and she shook her head slightly. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Ning Rongrong was suspicious. Who had come to disturb them? She opened the door and saw Xiao Han's face. "It's you. How did you find this place?" Ning Rongrong asked curiously. Xiao Han did not answer, but looked in the direction of Su Ryukshuan. "Ryukshuan," Xiao Han called out affectionately. Su Ryukshuan looked at Xiao Han with a cold look in her eyes. "How did you find this place?" "A friend saw you and I came here because I was worried about your safety," Xiao Han explained. "Are you worried about my safety? Do you think anyone can do anything to me?" Su Ryukshuan chuckled. "You are drunk. Let me take you home." Xiao Han walked into the private room and walked towards Su Ryukshuan. Su Ryukshuan stood up and said, "No, I will go back by myself." Xiao Han said, "I'm worried. Have you forgotten that you got drunk on the day of graduation? If I hadn't arrived in time, the consequences would have been disastrous." Su Ryukshuan was stunned when she heard this, and thought of the scene that night when Xiao Han desperately stood in front of her and confronted several thugs. Her sharp eyes softened. When Xiao Han saw this, a hint of joy flashed in the depths of his eyes. He walked forward and held Su Ryukshuan's hand. "Ryukshuan, remember, I am devoted to you wholeheartedly, and everything I do is for you. Maybe I did something wrong, but my feelings for you have never changed," Xiao Han said. Ning Rongrong behind him watched the scene speechlessly. As expected of a male artist, his expression was simply perfect. But Su Ryukshuan just fell for it. Ning Rongrong edited a text message and sent it out. At this time, Su Ryukshuan had already pulled her hand out of Xiao Han's hand. She said to Xiao Han, "Go back." Xiao Han was stunned, a little confused. He seemed to be wondering why his affectionate performance did not have the desired effect. "Ryukshuan," Xiao Han called out again affectionately. Su Ryukshuan said, "I need to drink for a while, you go." Xiao Han said, "No, I won't leave. I told you I'm worried about you. Since you want to drink, fine, I'll drink with you." Ning Rongrong rolled her eyes. It was just a dog's skin plaster. If Chu Ji had half the initiative as Xiao Han, wouldn't he have won Su Ryukshuan long ago? Ning Rongrong didn't plan to intervene this time. No matter where Su Ryukshuan went, it was her own choice, and she couldn't control it even if she wanted to. Ning Rongrong said, "Sister Ryukshuan, since Xiao Han is here, I will go back." Hearing Ning Rongrong's words, Xiao Han was secretly happy. Su Ryukshuan frowned and said, "Rongrong, what's wrong with you?" It's okay, I think Sister Ruoxian doesn't need me anymore, so I won't keep you any longer. Ning Rongrong got up and walked out of the room, sighing helplessly. She really couldn't understand why Su Ruoxuan was so indulgent towards Xiao Han. In this case, it doesn't seem like a good idea for me to match Chu Ji and Su Ruoxuan. Chapter 77, It's Time to End It. Xiao Han and Su Ruoxuan were the only ones left in the room. Ruoxuan, do you want to drink more? Xiao Han made his voice sound more attractive. Su Ruoxuan picked up the wine glass in front of her and drank it all. There was a hint of heat in Xiao Han's eyes, and his gaze wandered over Su Ruoxuan unscrupulously. Before she knew it, Su Ruoxuan was already a little drunk. In a drunken state, she tugged at her clothes in front of her chest, ruffling them. But it made her even more charming. Xiao Han also pulled her collar, and her eyes looked at Su Ruoxuan more and more passionately. He stood up and walked towards Su Ruoxian and said, Ruoxian, let me take you back. Su Ruoxuan did not answer. Xiao Han approached Su Ruoxuan and reached out his hand towards her chest. At this moment, Su Ruoxuan suddenly stood up and said, I don't want to drink anymore. I want to go back. Xiao Han was slightly stunned, then said, Okay, then I'll take you there. Su Ruoxuan took a few quick steps and opened the door of the private room first. Just as I was about to walk out, I saw Chu Ji raising his hand to knock on the door. Chu Ji? Su Ruoxuan asked with surprise. Chu Ji frowned and looked at Su Ruoxian's messy collar, then looked behind Su Ruoxian. It seems that I came at the wrong time. Su Ruoxuan was stunned when she heard this, and suddenly turned her head to look at Xiao Han behind her. Her face turned pale. No, it's not what you think. I just asked Rongrong to come drink with me because I was feeling uncomfortable. Xiao Han was worried about me. Chu Ji shook his head and said, Boss Su, you don't have to explain to me. I'm relieved to see that you are okay, so Boss Su, I'm leaving now. Chu Ji looked at Xiao Han deeply. At this time, Xiao Han showed a contemptuous smile to Chu Ji. Chu Ji's eyes dimmed slightly and he said no more. Chu Ji, listen to my explanation. It's really not what you think. Nothing has happened between Xiao Han and me, either in the past or now. Su Ruoxuan tried to explain. Haha, a bar, a private room, a man and a woman alone with their clothes in disarray. You say it's okay. Tusk, will anyone believe it if I tell them? Su Wan came out from the side without anyone noticing. Su Ruoxuan's body shook a little when she heard this. At this time, Chu Ji had already walked away. Su Wan glanced at Su Ruoxuan sarcastically, then chased after Chu Ji. Su Ruoxuan walked out in a daze. Xiao Han wanted to help. Su Ruoxuan suddenly shook his hand away. Don't follow me. After saying that, Su Ruoxuan took a taxi and left alone. Xiao Han's face turned grim, and then he sneered. A man walked over and said, You didn't succeed again. Haha, can she still escape from my palm? I took pictures of her. Of course, a single man and a single woman in a bar room is enough to create a lot of topics. Now if you say outside that you and Su Ruoxuan have no relationship, no one will believe it. A smile of success appeared on Xiao Han's face. The other side, Chu Ji and Su Wan also got in the car and drove towards the community. What does it feel like? Chu Ji shook his head and said, I don't feel anything. I came here originally to tell him about the divorce, but I didn't expect Xiao Han to be here too. I was a little abrupt. Su Wan looked at Chu Ji and found that Chu Ji had a calm face, with a hint of embarrassment. Su Wan narrowed her eyes slightly. Aren't you sad at all? Sad? Why? The engagement between President Su and I was fake. It was like that from the beginning and it is still like that now. She has the right to pursue her own happiness. To be honest, I don't think I'm that important in her heart. Similarly, in my heart, President Su is at most a friend. Of course, even if we can be friends, I'm still too high for her. Su Wan said, Such a beautiful woman, and you are still a nominal couple. Seeing her drinking alone with a man in a secret private room, you really won't be jealous. Ha ha, Chu Ji laughed. He looked at Su Wan and said, Why do you have to test me? If I really had that kind of feeling towards President Su, why would I want a divorce? Su Wan turned around and drove, saying, Actually, I want to say that you are too rational. I would rather you be more emotional so that you can at least look more humane. Chu Ji was stunned, not knowing what Su Wan meant by this. Isn't it good to be clear about your position and identity at all times? After returning to his rental house, Chu Ji went into the bathroom to wash up after the two women had finished washing up. Then I found that the shampoo was gone again. Then Nan Shu or Su Wan would come to give it to him with a blushing face. There are even soaps, towels, and other things. Chu Ji seriously suspected that these things were taken away by them on purpose. After a good sleep, Chu Ji had a rare day of relaxation. He got up, washed, and ate the breakfast that Nan Shu left for him. Then he went to the car shop. Nan Shu must have gotten up very early because she had to catch the bus. Chuji thought about it. Nan Shu is his president, so it shouldn't be excessive to give him a car, right? Chuji did it as soon as he thought of it. He went directly to the 4S store and picked up 2 cars worth hundreds of thousands of yuan. One red and one black. He asked someone to drive the car to the downstairs of the company. Then I came to the company and walked into Nanshu's office. Nanshu was busy processing documents and did not notice Chu Ji coming in. Nanshu looked very attractive at work. She was pretty to begin with, and now in her professional attire, she looked beautiful and capable at the same time. Chu Ji was a little dazed looking at her. It seemed that she had noticed Chu Ji's fiery gaze. Nanshu looked up and met Chu Ji's eyes. Nanshu's cheeks suddenly turned pink, and her eyes looked a little flustered. Boss. Chu Ji came back to his senses and smiled awkwardly. I have given you a car so that it will be more convenient for you to go to and from get off work. Here are the keys. Chu Ji handed over the car keys. Nanshu was very excited, took the key and asked, You gave it to me. Well, it's not a nice car, just a few $100,000. Nanshu pulled Chu Ji's hand and said, Let's go and look at the car. When he arrived downstairs at the company, Nanshu saw the beautiful red car. Buick Series. Although it only costs tens of thousands, it looks nice, and the festive red color makes it suitable for girls to drive. Nanshu jumped up and kissed Chu Ji on the face. This made Chu Ji stunned for a moment, but he felt relieved when he realized that Nanshu was just reacting out of excitement. Nanshu got into the car at this time, touched his hot face, and then touched his beating chest. Glancing at the figure outside the car window, a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Seeing that Nanshu was able to move freely, Chu Ji felt relieved. Then he drove the black car he had just bought towards the Su building. He felt that it was time to put an end to the relationship between him and Su Ryukshuan. Chapter 78, So Much Drama. The car drove to the bottom of Su's building, and Chu Ji entered the lobby. Arriving at the front desk, Chu Ji said to the front desk, I want to see your CEO, Su. Can you help me convey that? Yes, Mr. Chu, you can go up directly. This is what General Manager Su ordered, said the receptionist. Chu Ji was stunned for a moment, then said, Thank you. Seeing Chu Ji leave, the 2 receptionists looked at each other and said, You said Mr. Chu is so outstanding. Why did President Su cheat? Who knows? Could it be that first love is unforgettable? I think Mr. Chu is quite wronged. I heard that Mr. Chu and President Su still sleep in separate rooms. Really? Oh my God, she sleeps in a separate room from her legal husband but spends time alone with a mistress in a bar. Ms. Su is really. Stop talking. No matter what, it's boss Su's business. If we're heard, we're done. As Chu Ji walked along, he found that the people from the Su family looked at him strangely. Some showed pity, some wanted to say something but stopped themselves, and some simply sighed and walked over to pat Chu Ji on the shoulder. Chu Ji was a little puzzled. The head of the advertising department was slightly stunned when he saw Chu Ji and stepped forward and said, Brother, I know this is not your fault. Don't worry, brother supports you. After saying that, he walked away. Chu Ji was really confused. He looked around and found that everyone was looking at him with either pity or ridicule in their eyes. At this time, the leader of the design department came over quietly and said, From your appearance, do you not know what happened? Chu Ji shook his head. The head of the design department said, You can check your phone. Don't blame me for not reminding you. He had a really good impression of Chu Ji. When Chu Ji was a model here, he worked hard and never lost his temper. Unless there are special circumstances, don't be late or leave early. More importantly, he made many suggestions but was never arrogant. He really admires Chu Ji for being humble and helpful. Chu Ji took out his phone suspiciously and opened the news app. After seeing the overwhelming news about Su Ryukshuan, Chu Ji's mouth twitched. So this is what was going on. They feel that they have been labeled with a discriminatory label. The phone is now full of images of Zyro Han and Su Ryukshuan in the bar. Su Ryukshuan, with red cheeks, blurred eyes, and messy clothes, came out of the private room with Zyro Han. Zyro Han looked at Su Ryukshuan with eyes full of love and even desire. How could this situation not make people think wrongly? The title on the mobile phone is also eye-catching. President Su's passionate night with his first love. 2 or 3 things that President Su and his white moonlight have to say. So the purpose of getting married is to cheat. Some titles are quite explicit. Surprise, President Su's cheating this crazy night. In fact, Chu Ji also thought so. This is also the reason why he came here. Shaking his head, Chu put away his phone and came to the door of Su Ryukshuan's office. He knocked on the door. After getting permission, Chu walked into Su Ryukshuan's office. Su Ryukshuan was processing documents with her head down at the moment and did not look up to see who came in. "What's the matter? Tell me," Su Ryukshuan spoke. Chu said, "Boss Su." Hearing Chuji's voice, Su Ryukshuan's body trembled violently. She looked up at Chuji, a hint of panic in her eyes. "You're here?" Su Ryukshuan's smile was a little forced. "Boss Su, I'm here this time to go through the divorce procedures with you. As I said before, I don't want a penny of yours." Su Ryukshuan quickly said, "Chuji, there is a misunderstanding between us. Is it because of Zyro Han?" Chuji shook his head. "No, President Su, you know after such a long time that there is still a huge gap between us. We are really not suitable for each other." "Who said that? I think it's quite appropriate. The incident at the last banquet was also a misunderstanding. I have already reprimanded Su Pin." Chuji waved his hand and said, "I don't care about that matter anymore. Besides, what Su Pin said at that time might not be wrong. He just made me more aware of the gap between you and me. To be honest, I actually have to thank Su Pin." Chuji was stunned for a moment and said, "Boss Su, it's no use for us to be entangled like this. Let's just get a divorce." "No, no way, I won't leave." Su Ryukshuan's whole body showed rejection. Chuji frowned. "Boss Su, I don't think we need to maintain this marriage in name only. As long as you are willing, we can make this marriage a reality," Su Ryukshuan said. Chuji was stunned. Then he looked at Su Ryukshuan with some confusion. "Doesn't she like Zyro Han? Why would she say such a thing?" Then Chuji's eyes turned into disgust. He was not the kind of person who would accept a piece of junk. At this moment, the door opened. "Ryukshuan, I brought you the clothes you left behind." Zyro Han walked in and looked at Su Ryukshuan with tenderness in his eyes. Chuji frowned. Did Su Ryukshuan spend the night at Zyro Han's place? This was his subconscious thought. Zyro Han seemed to have just seen Chuji and said a little embarrassedly, "Ah, sorry, it seems that I came at the wrong time." Chuji said, "It's really not the right time." Zyro Han's expression changed when he heard this, and his eyes became gloomy when he looked at Chuji. Chuji looked at Su Ryukshuan and said, "Boss Su, do you have anything else to explain?" Su Ryukshuan looked at Zyro Han with a gloomy face and said, "I told you, I'll have someone get it." Zyro Han's expression became uglier. "Ryukshuan, I just wanted to send it to you as soon as possible. You know, I'm worried about you." Chuji was speechless. He had no interest in eating dog food here, but he would not give up easily this time. Chuji looked at Su Ryukshuan and said, "Boss Su, there are some things that everyone understands, but it's not nice to say them out loud. In order to avoid the situation where we no longer even have the ability to be friends with each other in the future, I think we should get things done today. I have brought everything with me, so I won't waste much of your time, Mr. Su. And Mr. Zyro happens to be here too, so he can be a witness." Su Ryukshuan's body swayed slightly, her face pale. "No, I won't divorce you." Chuji frowned, a little angry. Zyro Han's eyes flickered, but there was a hint of secret joy in them. Zyro Han then said, "Ryukshuan, it seems that Mr. Chu also thinks he is not worthy of you." "Shut up, Zyro Han, what does our relationship have to do with you? And who asked you to come? Did I promise to see you? Get out of here," Su Ryukshuan said sternly. Zyro Han's face changed when he heard this. "Ryukshuan, Get out," Su Ryukshuan said again. Zyro Han put the clothes on the sofa next to him and said, "Well, I put your clothes here." Chuji looked at Zyro Han. Zyro Han also glanced at Chuji, with a hint of provocation in his eyes. Chuji also looked at Zyro Han with disgust. To be honest, Zyro Han and Su Ryukshuan really disgusted him today. Whether it is Zyro Han or Su Ryukshuan, there is so much drama. Chapter 79, Going to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Su Ryukshuan's eyes were always on Chuji. When she saw Chuji's eyes, her face turned paler and her eyes became flustered. "I accidentally left this dress at the bar yesterday. It's definitely not what you think." Chuji pursed his lips and said, "Mr. Su, you don't have to explain to me. I don't want to know this and I am not qualified to know it." "No, you are qualified, you are my husband," Su Ryukshuan said loudly. Su Ryukshuan's body was shaking slightly, and her face became paler. But she still looked at Chuji stubbornly. Chuji said, "After the divorce, I no longer have the qualifications, right?" Su Ryukshuan's breathing was a little rapid. "Do you really want to divorce me so much?" "Yes, Mr. Su, you should know that it is difficult to eliminate prejudices between people. You may think that I am being unreasonable, but think about it carefully. Am I really a good match for you?" I won't tell you how your relatives and friends see me, but I know it in my heart and you know it too. This is the naked reality. We got married because of a misunderstanding. Now I am of no help to you and have even become a shame to you. Why don't you let me go? Su Ryukshuan walked out of her seat and came in front of Chuji. I never said you were a shame to me. Chuji's eyes softened a little. I know you've never looked at me like this, but I don't want them to look down on you while mocking me. Mr. Su, I feel that I really don't deserve you. At least I don't deserve you now. Compared to Mr. Zio, I am indeed much worse. Don't deny it, otherwise that incident would not have happened. This time it was Su Pin who unscrupulously drove me out. Who do you think will be the next time? Finally, what I want to say is, Mr. Zio, do you think it is convincing for you to tell me that you and he are innocent? Why do you let me get in the middle to satisfy your perverted fetish? Su Ryukshuan asked, what do you mean by this? Chuji rubbed his forehead helplessly and said, Mr. Su hasn't had time to look at his phone yet, right? You can look at it now. Upon hearing this, Su Ryukshuan quickly turned on her cell phone. When she saw the news about her and Zio Han all over the place, Su Ryukshuan froze in place. It's not like that, it's obviously not like that, Su Ryukshuan murmured. Chuji looked at Su Ryukshuan quietly. After a while he said, Boss Su, let's get a divorce. It will be good for both you and me. Since it has already spread like this and has been regarded as an unchangeable fact, why don't you just marry Mr. Zio? Su Ryukshuan said blankly, it's not like that, it's not like that, it's obviously not like that. At this time, there was another knock on the door. Suzy opened the door and walked in. He glanced at Chuji and saw a hint of guilt in his eyes, but it only flashed away. It's a pity that the Su family did not see such a talent. But things have come to this point, and the Su family must respond. Suzy took out his household registration booklet and handed it to Su Ryukshuan, saying, Uncle means that since things have come to this, you should divorce Chuji. Su Ryukshuan suddenly raised her head and looked at Suzy. How could it be? Suzy shook his head and said, I'm actually very curious, Ryukshuan. Why are you always entangled with Zio Han? Uncle fainted when he saw the news today, which means he is disappointed in you. Su Ryukshuan said, I have never taken the initiative to provoke him. Suzy said, but you didn't refuse, did you? Su Ryukshuan froze in place. No wonder Ning Rongrong left at that time. The situation today was doomed the moment she did not explicitly reject Zio Han. It turned out that everything was her own fault. Suzy said, Uncle means that since you love Zio Han wholeheartedly, he will not stop you. Even if you marry Zio Han or anyone else in the future, it will have nothing to do with the Su family. But there is one thing. From now on, you will only own 10% of the shares of Su's company, and your uncle will let someone else take the position of president. Chuji remained silent beside him. This is the Su family's family affair, and it is not his turn to interrupt. At this time, Suzy looked at Chuji and said, Mr. Chu, I'm sorry to cause you trouble. I apologize to you on behalf of my brother Su Pin. Chuji said, it doesn't matter, I don't care anymore. Suzy took out a card and said, there is 2 million on it. It's an apology and also compensation for you. This is what you deserve. Your agency in Europe is very successful, and this is also your service fee. Chuji didn't want to accept it, but if he didn't, would the Su family think that he still had some intentions towards Su Ryukshuan? Thinking of this, Chuji took the card. Don't worry, I will never bother President Su, Chuji said. Suzy shook his head upon hearing this. I actually hope you'll keep pestering me. Chuji laughed dryly twice. Boss Su, let's go. Su Ryukshuan stayed where she was without moving. Chuji frowned and said, Boss Su, things have come to this. This is no longer just your problem. I don't want to be pointed at by others when I go out. This bothers me a lot. Su Ryukshuan trembled all over when she heard this and whispered, I'm sorry. Chuji shook his head. I don't mean to blame you, I just hope that Mr. Su can think about it for me. After all, no man can accept this kind of thing. Although nothing happened between us. If I don't make some statement, I'm afraid I won't be able to hold my head up in front of my family and friends. Su Ryukshuan held on to the table with her hands, trying her best to support her body. Okay, I agree, let's get divorced, Su Ryukshuan said. Chuji showed a hint of joy on his face when he heard this. Suzy next to him shook his head slightly. They had been married for several months but had not had sex. This was only Chuji. Anyone else would probably not be able to accept this. Walked out of the office. It was quiet outside the office. The door was not closed tightly when Suzy came in. Some of their conversation was also leaked out. Seeing Chuji coming out, everyone sighed. It was a pity that such an outstanding person could not even get into President Su's heart. They have also known Chuj for some time. Chu Ji had more or less contact with these people when he was a model at Sue's. They all thought that Chu Ji was much better than Xiao Han in every aspect. His personality, temperament, and even knowledge are much better than Xiao Han's. But Mr. Su actually didn't like such an outstanding talent and didn't even let him touch him. Until now, Chu Ji still calls Su Ruoxuan President Su. There is only one explanation. That is, there is really no friendship between them and they are not even friends. Amid the regretful gazes of everyone, Chu Ji and Su Ruoxuan left. When he arrived at the hall, Chu Ji found that Xiao Han had not left yet. Ruoxuan, Xiao Han called out affectionately. Su Ruoxuan mechanically raised her head and looked at Xiao Han, without any light in her eyes. Chu Ji raised his eyebrows and said sarcastically, "Since Mr. Xiao is here too, let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau together and witness my divorce with President Su." Xiao Han's eyes showed joy when he heard this. Chapter 80 Bloody Plot. "I'll drive," Xiao Han said excitedly. Su Ruoxuan was a little dazed and did not object. Chu Ji laughed at himself when he saw this. The other party was too lazy to even pretend now. It seems that Su Ruoxuan has never cared about her feelings. The car sped all the way and soon arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Chu Ji and Su Ruoxuan got out of the car. Chu Ji was about to walk into the Civil Affairs Bureau, but when he turned around, he found Su Ruoxuan standing there motionless. "Mr. Su," Chu Ji frowned. He was really worried that Su Ruoxuan would go back on her word. "Ruoxuan, let me help you." Xiao Han held Su Ruoxuan's arm attentively. Looking at them, Chu Ji shook his head slightly. No matter how he looked at it, he looked more like the mistress. With Xiao Han's support, Su Ruoxuan walked forward, but her steps seemed a little mechanical. She didn't even know how she got to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Finally, it was their turn to process the divorce. Chu Ji handed in all his documents. The staff member looked at their marriage certificate and said, "It's only been half a year. Are you sure you want to get a divorce?" Chu Ji said, "Sure." The staff member asked, "What's the reason?" Chu Ji said, "Well, it's not appropriate." The staff member looked at Su Ruoxian and asked, "Is that what you mean?" Su Ruoxuan didn't say anything. The staff member was stunned and said, "Madam, do you also feel that you and this gentleman don't get along well?" Xiao Han, who was following behind Su Ruoxian, said anxiously, "Why are you asking so many questions? Since you're here to get a divorce, can't you just stamp it?" The staff looked at Xiao Han. "Who are you?" Xiao Han was stunned and asked, "What does this have to do with you?" The staff member frowned and said, "I'm just performing my duties normally, please leave." Xiao Han's eyes turned gloomy. "Believe it or not, I will complain about you." The staff member said, "Please go ahead." Xiao Han pointed at the staff member and said, "You." Then he snorted coldly and walked away unwillingly. The staff member ignored Xiao Han and looked at Su Ruoxian again. "Madam, please answer my question. Why do you want a divorce?" Su Ruoxuan's eyes trembled slightly, and she turned her head to look at Chu Ji. She had been in a daze since she arrived in the office, so much so that she didn't even notice Xiao Han following her. All this further deepened other people's wrong impression that Su Ruoxuan liked Xiao Han, not Chu Ji. Otherwise, how could such a ridiculous thing as letting the mistress come to watch them divorce happen? This is simply a naked insult to Chu Ji. Su Ruoxuan looked at Chu Ji, but Chu Ji's eyes were not on her. The staff shook his head helplessly and said, "It seems like they really don't get along." The staff unfolded their marriage certificate and took out the seal. "Once I stamp this, you will no longer be husband and wife. You need to think it over. This is your last chance." Seeing that the two were indifferent, the staff sighed helplessly. "They have only been married for half a year, what a pity." Su Ruoxuan looked at the seal dropped by the staff and felt dizzy for a moment. She suddenly covered her chest with her hands. She felt a severe pain in her heart, real pain. She breathed deeply, but still could not get rid of the oppressive breath. At the same time, Su Ruoxuan's face was as pale as paper, and her body was shaking. Su Ruoxuan extended her hand to Chu Ji. Chu Ji also looked at Su Ruoxuan at this time, frowning slightly. At this moment, Su Ruoxuan fell straight backwards. Chu Ji was slightly startled, and stretched out his hand to pull Su Ruoxuan into his arms. "Mr. Su, what's wrong with you?" Chu Ji looked at Su Ruoxuan in his arms with a little anxiety. Ruoxuan, what's wrong with you?" Xiao Han came back to his senses from the surprise and rushed over. He pushed Chu Ji away and held Su Ruoxuan in his arms. Chu Ji was stunned for a moment, shook his head slightly, and did not move forward. At this time, the staff member seemed to have realized something. It was obviously the story of the mistress and the original wife. I didn't expect the mistress would follow them so arrogantly and watch them get divorced. This was the first time she had seen such an arrogant mistress in all her working time. She looked at Zio Han with disdain. Su Ruoxuan looked at Chu Ji steadily and extended her hand to Chu Ji again. The staff member said to Chu Ji, "She is very emotional now, you should go up and comfort her." Chu Ji frowned and thought, why was Zio Han reaching out to him when she was clearly here? Seeing Chu Ji's hesitation and refusal, Su Ruoxuan's tears rolled down her eyes. It turns out that for such a long time, I really have never entered his heart. Even if I am about to die, the other party seems too lazy to even look at me. Why? Chu Ji said at this time, "Boss Su, Mr. Zio Han is next to you. You can talk to Mr. Zio Han if you need anything." The staff were also stunned at this time. Are they really a couple? She looked at their marriage certificate. It was them, right? But they had been married for half a year and they were still so unfamiliar. It felt like they had just met. It was really strange. At this time, Zio Han hurriedly said, Ruoxian, I'm here, I'll take you to the hospital." Zio Han wanted to pick up Su Ruoxuan, but it seemed very strenuous. Chu Ji shook his head slightly when he saw this, and he stepped forward to take Su Ruoxuan. He picked her up and walked out the door. The staff member didn't come to his senses until Chu Ji walked away. I was a little dazed, looking at the 2 marriage certificates in my hand. When Chuj walked to the door, a puzzled voice sounded, "Chuj." Chu Ji was stunned and turned his head to see that the person who called his name was actually Su Zin. Chu Ji looked at Su Zin's hand and saw that she was holding a divorce certificate. She was actually divorced, and yet she came here on the same day as him. A car drove away not far away, and through the window Chu Ji saw that the man seemed to be Li Ping. At this time, Su Zin looked at the person in Chu Ji's arms and was slightly surprised when she saw it was Su Ruoxuan. "What's wrong with her?" "She fainted, I want to send her to the hospital," Chu Ji said. Su Zin said, "Then I'll go drive, my car is right there." Chu Ji thought about it and turned to walk towards Su Zin's car. Chu Ji put Su Ruoxuan on the back seat of Su Zin's car and stood aside. Zio Han, who followed closely, got into the car. Su Zin didn't look closely. She stepped on the accelerator and the car sped away. Chu Ji watched the car leave with an uncertain expression. He didn't go to the hospital to see Su Ruoxuan either. With Zio Han there, he wouldn't be a third wheel. Su Zin realized halfway through the journey that Chu Ji did not get on the car at all, and it was Zio Han who got on the car. She was a little surprised. Why didn't Chu Ji get on the car? What's going on with this Zio Han? The plot is so bloody. Looking at Zio Han, Su Zin seemed to know why Chu Ji and Su Ruoxuan appeared in the Civil Affairs Bureau. Chapter 81, Trouble Again. Hospital. Su Ruoxuan looked at the ceiling of the ward with lifeless eyes. Su Zin stood in front of her bed. "What's going on between you and Chu Ji?" Su Ruoxuan's eyes trembled slightly. "It was clearly Chu Ji who carried you out, but he didn't get in the car. It was Zio Han who got in. Tusk, the relationship between you two is quite bloody," Su Zin said sarcastically. Unfortunately, Su Ruoxuan didn't have the strength to fight back this time. Su Zin then asked, "Is Chu Ji unwilling to divorce?" "That shouldn't be the case. He is just a peasant. You can just give him some money and he will be fine. Why does he make you so angry?" Su Ruoxuan closed her eyes. As expected, the people in the Su family had never looked down upon Chu Ji. Su Pin is one, and Su Zin is also one. She didn't even ask the reason, and naturally thought that Chu Ji wanted to pester her. No wonder Chu Ji wanted to divorce her. He must have felt very depressed being with her, right? Does everything he does get looked at with strange eyes, like a gigolo? But he never spent a penny of her money, and all the money he got was earned by his own ability. To some extent, the Su family even owes Chu Ji. Even so, others would think he was just a gigolo, right? But that's obviously not the case. At this time, someone walked in from outside the door. "It's Su Wan." Su Wan looked at the pale Su Ruoxian and raised her lips slightly. "When did you become so fragile?" In Su Wan's impression, Su Ruoxuan has always been strong, and this strength is all round. Not only is he physically strong, he also has a strong personality. From childhood to adulthood, she had never seen Su Ruoxuan so weak. Su Wan was really surprised to see Su Ruoxuan in such a state this time. "What about him?" Su Ruoxuan spoke in a hoarse voice. Su Wan was stunned for a moment and said with a slight curl of her lips, "He said that Zio Han is here, so there is no need for him to come, and he doesn't want to be a light bulb." Su Ruoxuan closed her eyes in despair. Su Wan said, "I remember I gave you all the information about investigating Zio Han, right? Tusk, in this situation you can still drink with him. And in a private room, a single man and a single woman, it is obvious that you truly love him. In that case, why are you still pestering Chu-ji? Don't you think you are going too far? Su Ruoxian's heart trembled slightly. Yeah, don't I deserve it to have come to this? Su Zin's eyes flickered at this time. Why did Su Wan not say that Chu-ji was entangled with Su Ruoxian, but that Su Ruoxian was reluctant to part with Chu-ji? She thought for a moment and asked Su Ruoxian, "Did you succeed in your divorce?" When Su Ruoxian heard this, tears welled up in her eyes. Su Zin was slightly stunned. It seems that the divorce was successful. Ha! I didn't expect that my sister and I would get divorced on the same day. Su Wan turned around and looked around. Where's Xiao Han? He won't give up such a good opportunity. Su Zin said, I chased him away. That guy doesn't look like a good guy. His eyes were lingering on the nurse's butt. Su Wonki sneered. According to her investigation, Xiao Han's private life is more than just chaotic. Su Wan really didn't know why Su Ruoxian was so tolerant of Xiao Han. Su family. When Su's father heard that Su Ruoxian and Chu-ji had divorced, he sighed. He still values Chu-ji very much and has plans to train Chu-ji. Because Chu-ji is really talented and his character is down to earth and reliable. Especially the sales plan, which really surprised him. That's why he temporarily added a commendation meeting to the gathering that day, with the purpose of expressing his attitude. As long as I express my intention to train Chu-ji, I believe Chu-ji will soon have a place in the Su company. With his talent, perhaps the Su group could move to a higher level. Unfortunately, his wishful thinking was ruined by Su Pin. A good hand of cards played badly. But this is just a misunderstanding after all, so just explain it clearly. But when the scandal between Su Ruoxian and Xiao Han reappeared, he realized that it was too late. This incident has happened once before, and that time it could be said that the other party was spreading rumors. After all, Xiao Han had just returned, and the incident happened several years ago. But then Su Ruoxian took care of Xiao Han in the hospital all night. Then Su Ruoxian and Xiao Han were drinking alone in a bar. It would be fine if you did it in a secretive way. But what about the fact that everyone knew about it the next day? What else can he say? How could he still have the nerve to say anything to Chu-ji? He was even a little ashamed to see Chu-ji. In that case, why not just part ways amicably? At least don't become enemies. Father Su pondered for a moment and said, Go find a good manager. Ruoxian is no longer suitable to stay in that position. This was his insistence. Since Su Ruoxian chose Xiao Han, he would give up Su Ruoxian and inherit the family business. He doesn't like Xiao Han. He didn't like him from the beginning, and he still doesn't like him now. Not to mention the Su family's reaction. Chu-ji finally understood something that was on his mind. He devoted himself wholeheartedly to his career. Time goes by day, and summer has arrived unknowingly. Chu-ji returned to school, and he had to submit his graduation thesis. He also met Su-jai, who had returned from another place. When the two met, they had to drink to celebrate. When Su-jai learned that Chu-ji had owned hundreds of chain stores and had an annual income of several million in just 1 year, he opened his mouth in shock. If I had known there was such a big, thick leg here, I would have gone crazy and worked so hard in other places. Su Jisheng felt hopeless. You can come and help me now, said Chu-ji. Su-jai shook his head and said, Forget it, I should go my own way. Chu-ji said, It's up to you. My door is always open to you. Just ask if you need any help. Su-jai said, Okay, I'll remember this. At this moment, a quarrel suddenly came from not far away, accompanied by the sound of wine bottles breaking. Chu-ji and Su-jai subconsciously looked towards that location. When Chu-ji saw the figure in front of him, he was slightly stunned. He recognized that person. Wasn't that person Su Ruoxian's cousin Su Zin? At this time, Su Zin seemed to be in a bit of a bad state, and he looked confused. Several men pulled her, as if trying to pull her into the private room next door. Although Su Zin was in a bad condition, she still struggled hard. Was she the one who pushed over those bottles? Chu-ji frowned and looked towards the direction of the private room. He vaguely saw Li Ping's figure. Su-jai then asked, Why do you know him? Chu-ji nodded solemnly. Su-jai looked at the other side's formation and said, I'm afraid this time it will be a bit troublesome. Chapter 80, Two-Bar Fight. Chu-ji patted Su-jai on the shoulder and said, Since you've seen it, you can't just ignore it. Call the police now and take out your phone to record it. Su-jai watched Chu-ji walk over and quickly called the police, then turned on the camera on his phone to record the scene. At this time, Chu-ji had already walked up to those people, pulled Su Zin behind him, and then faced the three people face to face. Su Jin was stunned at first, but when she saw that the person coming was Chu Ji, her struggling body calmed down. She stared at Chu Ji's profile with a dazed look in her eyes. Chu Ji looked at the people opposite him and said, "Everyone, we all come out to have fun. It's not good to force others to do something, right? Boy, do you want to meddle in other people's business?" A person on the opposite side looked at Chu Ji viciously. Chu Ji said, "It's not a trivial matter. I know this person. I wonder if you know her identity." "I don't give a FCK about her identity. She has to satisfy me now, otherwise she won't be able to leave here today." A man on the opposite side spoke drunkenly. Chu Ji said, "What if I don't agree?" "Then you're looking for death." One of them actually picked up a wine bottle next to him and smashed it at Chu Ji. Chu Ji narrowed his eyes and let the wine bottle hit him on the head. Snap, the wine bottle broke. Blood was flowing down Chu Ji's forehead. "Ah, you're bleeding." Su Jin seemed to be more sober and couldn't help but scream when she saw Chu Ji was injured. Su Jin quickly took out a handkerchief and wiped Chu Ji's head. The whole person was a little unsteady on his feet and just leaned on Chu Ji. The fullness of her chest rubbed against Chu Ji's arms. Chu Ji felt the hot breath from Su Jin. He turned his head to look at the shaking Su Jin, frowning slightly. He found that Su Jin was not simply drunk, because he noticed that Su Jin's eyes looked a little dazed, which didn't seem like she was drunk. Sure enough, Su Jin simply wiped it a few times and then hung her whole body on Chu Ji. The hot breath sprayed on Chu Ji's neck. The plump and charming body twisted on Chu Ji. Su Jin is naturally beautiful, and her looks are no less than Su Ryukshuan. It's just that she usually speaks in a rather harsh way, which undoubtedly lowers other people's impression of her. Now in her intoxicated state, Su Jin's charm fully exploded, making the men around her feel dry in their mouths. Chu Ji quickly controlled Su Jin and pulled her behind him again. At this time, Su Jin grabbed Chu Ji's clothes tightly, as if she was afraid that he would run away. The people on the opposite side couldn't hold back when seeing such a charming Su Jin, and they all rushed towards Chu Ji. Chu Ji said at this time, "Everyone, you have almost let out your anger. Ha ha, you think you can be a hero and save the damsel in distress. What will it take for those people to be satisfied?" Chu Ji asked. At this moment, another person walked out of the private room that Su Jin ran out of. He was holding a bottle of wine in his hand. "Drink this, and I will consider letting you go." Chu Ji narrowed his eyes. Just then, a few more people walked by, and they didn't look like good people. They have surrounded Chu Ji and Su Jin. Chu Ji's face was gloomy. It seemed that today's incident would not end well. But he had to buy time until the police arrived. At this time, Su Jin leaned softly on Chu Ji's back and muttered something about not drinking. But Chu Ji didn't hear it clearly. "Boy, do you want a drink or not?" Chu Ji looked at the man, then looked at the private room. He saw Li Ping's figure flash by. Chu Ji frowned. Was this Li Ping's idea? What is the Li family going to do? Aren't they afraid of retaliation from the Su family if they take action against the Su family? Before Chu Ji could think about it, the man opposite him said, "Boy, I don't have the patience to wait for you. Do you want a drink or not?" Chu Ji took a deep breath, took the bottle and said, "I'll drink it." Now, every minute you can delay is a minute. Seeing Chu Ji take the bottle of wine, the man showed a hidden smile at the corner of his mouth. He looked Chu Ji up and down, his eyes actually somewhat fiery. The other party's eyes made Chu Ji very unhappy, but now the situation was difficult, and he could only endure it. Chu Ji raised his head to drink, gulped down 2 gulps, and then started coughing violently. "He's really not good at drinking." "Haha, that's good. Since you've given us face, then go in and have a couple more drinks with us." The man who came over with the bottle of wine waved his hand. Several people nearby grabbed Chu Ji and Su Jin. Chu Ji cursed inwardly and kicked one down. Su Jai next to him also joined the battlefield. There was chaos in the place for a moment, and the onlookers scattered like birds and beasts. After all, there were 2 Chu Ji, and Chu Ji also had to protect Su Jin behind him, so he was quickly knocked down. Chu Ji could only protect Su Jin under him and withstand their beatings. Su Jin lay under Chu Ji, staring at him blankly with complicated eyes. Just then, several people suddenly rushed over. They are all big and burly-looking guys. He pulled out a baton and rushed towards the people who were beating Chu Ji. The baton hit them on the head mercilessly. He knocked down several people in an instant, and then dragged them away like dead dogs. Chu Ji was a little confused. He didn't know what was going on. They didn't look like police officers. Chu Ji also vaguely saw several people rushing towards Li Ping's private room. After a while, Chu Ji saw Li Ping running out with blood all over his face, and he disappeared in a flash. Before Chu Ji could figure out what was going on, he vaguely heard sirens sounding outside the door. Then he became a little confused, not because of the beating, but because he felt drunk. He tugged at the clothes around his neck. He felt his body getting hot and his eyes became unfocused. At this time, Su Jin was even more unbearable. She squeezed in his arms and twisted her body. That proud and delicate body made Chu Ji unable to control himself. Su Jin was very beautiful at this time, really very beautiful. Chu Ji quickly shook his head, not caring about anything else, and walked out while holding Su Jin, who was twisting in his arms. While calling the emergency number, he turned into a hotel not far away. When he came to the room, he threw Su Jin into the bathtub in the bathroom. Then I turned on the shower. The cold water poured over her head, made Su Jin sober up a little. Su Jin's clothes were also stuck tightly to her body because of the water. Chu Ji's eyes turned red as he watched. He tried his best to stay awake and walked out, but his foot slipped and he fell backwards. Vaguely, he seemed to fall into a soft embrace. Chapter 83. Chu Zu arrives. It was already noon the next day when Chu Ji woke up. Found out it was in the hospital. "Are you awake?" A cold female voice sounded beside him. Chu Ji turned his head and saw that it was Su Jin. At this time, Su Jin didn't seem to have any problem, which made him breathe a sigh of relief. He was really afraid of what he had done to Su Jin. "Did you send me here?" "Who else besides me?" Su Jin snorted coldly. Chu Ji said, "I wanted to help, but I didn't expect that I was overestimating my abilities." Su Jin said, "Not bad." I don't know what she meant by "it's okay." The scene became somewhat silent. Chu Ji was stunned for a while, then looked at Su Jin and said, "I don't have any major problems here. You can go back if you are fine." "What, are you chasing me away?" Su Jin raised her eyebrows. Chu Ji quickly said, "No, it's nothing. I think since such a big thing happened yesterday, you should at least report to your family that you are safe. Just call." Su Jin was as cold as ever. The scene became quiet again, a little awkward. Chu Ji knew that Su Jin had never liked him very much, so she should have just left him in the hospital. Who would have thought that she would stay and guard him? "Why are you in the bar?" Chu Ji made small talk. Su Jin raised her eyebrows and said, "Of course I'm going to ask the scumbag for compensation." "What? Do you think I'm going there for fun?" No, Chu Ji was speechless. "Is it possible that he wants to get rid of me with such a small amount of money after I divorced him?" Su Jin sneered twice. Chu Ji rolled his eyes and said, "You almost couldn't get out. What's the difference between this and a sheep walking into a tiger's mouth? Who's coming later? Of course he is mine. Do you think my Su family is a vegetarian?" Chu Ji secretly said to himself, "Okay, if I had known this earlier, I wouldn't have been so stubborn." "What, do you regret standing up for me?" Su Jin's tone became sarcastic, and she looked at Chu Ji coldly. Chu Ji thought about it, then shook his head. "If it happens again, I will still do the same thing." Su Jin was stunned for a moment, and looked at Chu Ji quietly with a flickering look in her eyes. The field became quiet again. Chu Ji struggled and sat up, and the quilt covering him slipped off, revealing his muscular chest. Only then did he realize that he was naked. He quickly covered himself with the quilt and asked a little embarrassedly, "Where are my clothes?" Su Jin's cheeks flushed. "I'll get it for you." Su Jin stood up and walked to the side. When he got the clothes, they were not his own, but a brand new set of clothes. "The suit you had was torn during the fight. I prepared a new one for you. You can wear it as it is." Su Jin answered Chu Ji's doubts. Chu Ji thought about what happened yesterday and thought that maybe it was torn. Su Jin pulled up the curtain on the hospital bed to separate a space. Chu Ji quickly put on his clothes and even prepared his underwear, which made Chu Ji blush. I didn't expect the clothes to fit so well. After putting on his clothes, he felt that apart from feeling a little weak, there was nothing unusual. When the curtain was drawn, the doctor came over, checked carefully, and said, "It's all right now. The toxins have been almost cleared. You can be discharged after a rest." "Toxin?" Chu Ji thought of the bottle of wine he drank. Seeing Chu Ji's doubt, Su Jin sneered and said, "I warned you, but you still drank it." Chu Ji was speechless. He did hear what Su Jin said at that time, but he didn't hear it clearly. Su Jin took out a new cell phone from her bag. "This is probably the most expensive mobile phone on the market. Your phone is broken, so I bought you a new one with my number on it. Keep it." Chu Ji subconsciously refused. "No, this is too expensive." Su Jin raised her eyebrows and said unhappily, "What? Do you mean that I, Su Jin, am not as expensive as this phone?" "That's not what I meant," Chu Ji explained. Seeing Su Jin looking at him intently, Chu Ji took the phone helplessly and said, "Okay, thank you." Su Jin's face relaxed. She stood up again, and her slim figure was fully revealed in front of Chu Ji. Chu-ji's face turned red when he thought of how she hung on him yesterday. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. Call me if you want any compensation. Su-jin walked out of the ward with her long legs, walking a little hurriedly and looking a little embarrassed. Chu-ji turned on his phone and found that his cards had been installed, but he really couldn't remember how his original phone broke. When they returned to school, Su-ji came up to him. What happened? You lost contact for a whole night. If I hadn't actually seen you taking someone away, I would have called the police. Su-ji's eyes showed a spark of gossip. Why not leave given the situation at that time? Chu-ji said. Yeah, it's a mess now. We don't know who is the good guy and who is the bad guy. I heard that the police have arrested some people and that people from the Lee family are involved, said Su-ji. The Lee family? Yeah, it feels very serious. After you left, 2 police cars came and searched the bar thoroughly. Su-ji was still a little frightened when he thought of what happened last night. It's probably a gang involved in organized crime, Chu-ji guessed. Su-ji said, not really, but who cares? It's none of our business. After Su-ji finished speaking, he suddenly stared at the clothes on Chu-ji. He reached out and touched it, his mouth wide open. Fuck, this dress is not cheap. Chu-ji was stunned, looked at the clothes on his body and asked, is it expensive? Expensive? It's simply a luxury item, Armani, a world-famous brand. Your piece costs at least tens of thousands, Su-ji said. Chu-ji looked at the clothes he was wearing and found that they were indeed quite comfortable. But were they really that valuable? A high imitation, Chu-ji blurts out. Su-ji said, really? The workmanship and materials used are the high-quality imitations so good. What can our people make? That's right, Su-ji nodded, agreeing with Chu-ji's point of view. However, Chu-ji felt a little uncomfortable. He was not used to wearing clothes worth tens of thousands of dollars. I haven't been to the school dormitory for a long time, and I miss it a lot. I wanted to lie down on the bed I hadn't seen for a long time and have a rest. But unexpectedly, the phone rang. It's my sister's call. Chu-ji slapped his forehead. He almost forgot that his sister said she wanted to come over and play with him. Chu-ji also intends to bring his younger sister over and let her go to school in Jinghai. My sister's grades are good, but her admission to Jinghai University is a little uncertain. Chu-ji wants to let her come to Jinghai in her last year to help her improve her scores. I quickly answered the call. Aksu. Brother, I've already arrived in Jinghai. Ah, we're already here. Why didn't you call me in advance? Chu-ji hurriedly pulled Su-ji out. Hee, I called you, but the call didn't go through, so I called my sister-in-law. I'm at her place now, and she's going to take me clothes shopping later. Chu-zu's voice came from the other end of the phone. Chapter 84. Meet Su Ryuaxian again. Sister-in-law. Chu-ji was puzzled, and then he thought of Su Ryuaxian. Oh no, I don't think I told my family about my divorce. Hey Aksu, please don't bother Mr. Su. Where are you? I'll pick you up, Chu-ji said. I'm here, I'm in the community near Guanlin City, Chu-zu said. Chu-ji said, then you wait there, I'll be there soon. Chu-ji took Su-ji and drove the car they bought towards Guanlin City. Su-ji said in the car, you didn't tell me in advance that my sister was coming so I could prepare a gift for her. Chu-ji said, what gift or not, how about you treat me to a meal? Okay, but let me make it clear, I'm doing this for my sister, not for you, Su-ji said. Chu-ji rolled his eyes and said, okay, I'm just going to eat for free, okay. Chu-ji drove to Guanlin City. At the beginning, he was blocked outside Guanlin City and beaten by the security guards there. That time can be said to be deeply memorable. In order to prevent such things from happening again, Chu-ji called Chu-zu directly and asked her to leave the community now, and he would not go in. When the call was connected, Chu-ji said, Zyroxu, I'm almost at the gate of the community, please come out, I can't get in. A familiar and cold voice sounded from the other end of the phone. Just drive in. I've entered your license plate number into the system. Those were Su Ryuaxian's words. Mr. Su, I won't go in. Zyroxu is ignorant and has caused you trouble, just let her out, Chu-ji said. Su-ji rolled his eyes and said, go ahead. I want to see what's so different about this rich neighborhood. Su Ryuaxian said again on the other end of the phone. Zyroxu is going upstairs to take a shower now. It may take a while. You should come in and wait. Chu-ji had no choice but to drive towards the entrance of the community. Before I even walked into the gate of the community, the gate railings rose automatically. Chu-ji drove to the door of Su Ryuaxian's villa. Su-ji got out of the car and looked at the surrounding environment and the independent villa with his mouth wide open. As if I had a villa like this, my life would be worth it, Su-ji sighed. Chu-ji was speechless. Taking Su-ji towards the door of the villa opened automatically. Although Su Ryukshuan and he were divorced, she never deleted Chu Ji's facial information. Chu Ji didn't think there was anything wrong, but Su Jai next to him looked at Chu Ji in shock. As you can come and go as you please. Oh my God, are you the owner of this villa? No. You can come and go as you please, even the main gate. Doesn't that mean you can come and go as you please? Su Jai looked at Chu Ji in shock. Chu Ji paused and frowned. Indeed, no, I must ask President Su to delete all my facial information. Su Jai was stunned when he heard this and rolled his eyes. He slapped him on the mouth with a slap and muttered, "Tell you to keep talking. Let's not talk about Su Jai's depression." Chu Ji came to the door of the living room. He knocked on the door, although he could still get in by face recognition. The door opened, revealing Su Ryukshuan's face. Chu Ji was stunned when he saw Su Ryukshuan. The other person looked much thinner and a little haggard. He no longer has the high-spirited look of the past. Chu Ji said, "Boss Su, excuse me, I brought a friend with me this time. I wonder if it's convenient for you." Su Ryukshuan said, "Come in, I know Su Jai too, and he is not a stranger." Su Jai was inexplicably excited when he heard this, but he also felt a little sad when he thought that Chu Ji and the other party had already divorced. At this time, Su Jai slapped his head and said, "I left my phone in the car. Ji, give me the car keys, I'll go get my phone." Chu Ji did not doubt him and handed the car keys to Su Jai. Su Jai nodded to Su Ryukshuan and left. Chu Ji walked into the living room, which still had familiar decorations. Sitting on the sofa, Su Ryukshuan personally poured a cup of tea for Chu Ji. "How are you doing recently?" Chu Ji said, "It's fine, but Mr. Su looks a little thinner. Is it because he is too tired from work?" Su Ryukshuan looked at Chu Ji's face with a dazed look in her eyes. "I've really been having a hard time lately." Su Ryukshuan spoke, her voice soft and completely different from usual. "It's not because of work, but because of a cruel man," Su Ryukshuan said to Chu Ji. Chu Ji frowned. "Is it because of Mr. Zairo?" Su Ryukshuan was so angry that she wanted to pounce on him and bite him. But it's normal for two people to have some bumps in their lives. "Mr. Su, don't take it too seriously. If there are any conflicts, discuss them calmly," Chu Ji comforted casually. Su Ryukshuan's eyes darkened. "When did I say that the reason I'm the way I am now is because of Zairo Han?" Chu Ji was stunned. He looked at Su Ryukshuan and met Su Ryukshuan's tender gaze. Chu Ji frowned slightly. He really didn't like this feeling. Ever since he learned about the relationship between Su Ryukshuan and Zairo Han, he has been deliberately keeping his distance from Su Ryukshuan. Thanks to his strong rationality, he never had any improper thoughts about Su Ryukshuan. It was like this before, and it is like this now. They had been husband and wife in name only before, and now that they were divorced, he would not have any inappropriate thoughts about Su Ryukshuan. The scene fell silent, and he had nothing to say to Su Ryukshuan. It's enough to just show some simple concern about whether they are doing well, but if you say anything more, it's too much. Their relationship hasn't reached that stage yet. Dang ding dang, there was a sound on the stairs and Chu Zu walked down. "Brother, you're here." Chu Zu was very happy. "My sister-in-law picked me up at the train station," Chu Zu said. Chu Ji looked at Su Ryukshuan and said, "Thank you again, President Su." Chu Zu looked up at Chu Ji, somewhat puzzled by Chu Ji's attitude towards Su Ryukshuan. It seemed as if her brother had never called Su Ryukshuan by any intimate name. She is not even as good as Su Wan. At least Chu Ji would call her by her name, but he always called Su Ryukshuan President Su, President Su. She had felt strange on the phone just now, and now the feeling was even more obvious. Is it possible that my brother is a son-in-law? Does he have no status in the Su family? Thinking of this, Chu Zu became a little nervous. Would her arrival cause displeasure to the Su family? But my sister-in-law was very nice to me and even planned to go clothes shopping with me. She didn't seem like a mean person. Chu Ji stood up and said, "Boss Su, if there's nothing else, I'll take Chu Zu away. I'm deeply sorry for the trouble I've caused you." Chu Zu was stunned and said to Chu Ji, "Brother, don't you and sister-in-law live here?" Chu Ji tapped Chu Zu on the forehead and said, "What sister-in-law? You should call her General Manager Su from now on." Chu Zu opened her mouth, not knowing what to say. Su Ryukshuan said at this time, "Are you so distant with me? Besides, isn't it right for Chu Zu to call me sister-in-law?" Chu Ji said, "It's easy to cause misunderstandings, which is not good." Su Ryukshuan's face turned slightly pale when she heard this. "Brother, what's wrong with you? What happened between you and sister-in-law?" Chu Zu looked at Chu Ji in confusion. Chapter 85, Chu Zu's Assist. Chu Ji didn't know whether he should tell Chu Zu about his divorce with Su Ryukshuan. "I was afraid that my parents would come from the countryside to kill me if they found out." In their opinion, marriage is sacred. As long as two people are together, they should stay together for life no matter what happens. This is what they thought and what they did. That's why they were so angry when they found out that he and Su Ryukshuan got married casually. But since they are already married, according to their way of thinking, they must spend their whole lives together. Even if there are any misunderstandings or other things, it cannot change the fact that they are husband and wife. That's why he didn't tell his family about his divorce with Su Ryukshuan. If I tell my sister now, she will definitely tell our family, and I will be miserable then. Thinking of the power of his father's belt, Chu-ji shuddered, a trauma from his childhood. It's better not to tell Chu-zu about this for the time being. Boss Su and I are doing fine, why are you asking that? Chu-ji replied to Chu-zu. Chu-zu is already in her 3rd year of high school and is no longer a child. She saw at once that her brother was not being sincere. Brother, do you know that you are not good at lying? I can tell whether you are lying or not without even looking at you. Tell me what's going on. Did you have a quarrel with your sister-in-law? Chu-zu asked. Chu-ji was stunned and didn't know what to say. Su Ryukshuan next to him said, "We just had some disagreements. He doesn't even live with me now." Chu-zu immediately said to Chu-ji after hearing this, "Okay, brother, you actually committed domestic violence. You are done. I will tell Dad right now you are done." Chu-ji snatched Chu-zu's phone and said, "Oh, it's not what you think." "What's that? I don't care. I'm going to stay at my sister-in-law's place today anyway," Chu-zu said. Su Ryukshuan smiled and said, Okay, I'll arrange a room for you right away. Sister-in-law is still the best." Chu-zu threw herself into Su Ryukshuan's arms and acted coquettishly. Chu-ji scratched his head speechlessly. What should he do? Or should I tell you the truth? Just as he was about to speak, the image of his father waving his belt came to his mind, and he closed his mouth again. It would be fine if my family didn't know about it, but now my family, relatives, and friends all know about it. What should I say? Even if he told the truth and his engagement with Su Ryukshuan was fake, there would still be people who believed it. Su Ryukshuan seemed to have discovered something, and her eyes sparkled. "I have also arranged a room for you. You can rest here today," Su Ryukshuan said. Chu-ji said, "How can this be possible? Su-jai is still waiting for me outside." Chu-zu said, "Brother, ask Brother Su-jai to come here for dinner, and then you can send Brother Su-jai back and then come back, right?" No, I have something to do tomorrow, so I'll live on campus," Chu-ji said hurriedly. "Humph, I think you're just making excuses. You have a car too, so you can definitely make it to school tomorrow," Chu-zu said as she took out her cell phone. "If you dare to say no, I'll call home and tell them you're a traitor." Chu-ji felt his scalp tingling. Su Ryukshuan raised her eyebrows and couldn't suppress the smile on her lips. Under Chu-zu's eager gaze, Chu-ji gritted his teeth and nodded. Okay. Su Ryukshuan now really wanted to kiss Chu-zu on the face. Chu-zu looked at Chu-ji quietly, then looked at Su Ryukshuan. The mischievousness just now disappeared, and a thoughtful look appeared on her face. It was Su-jai's first time to eat in such a luxurious villa. It was such a great experience. Su-jai had also met Chu-zu. He had followed Chu-ji to his house to play before, and he liked Chu-zu very much. "Sister Chu-zu, you came too suddenly. If I had known you were coming today, I would have prepared some gifts for you. But it's okay. I just ordered a guitar for you online. Haven't you always wanted a guitar? Today your brother Su-jai bought it for you," Chu-zu said happily. "Thank you, Brother Su-jai. Brother, give Brother Su-jai a drink to express my gratitude." Su-jai smiled happily. "Old Chu, don't just stand there, let's have a drink." Su-jai happily picked up the wine glass and looked at Chu-ji. Chu-ji was speechless and could only pick up his glass and clink it with Su-jai. After eating and drinking, Su-jai prepared to leave. Chu-ji prepared to send Su-jai away. At this time, Su Ryukshuan asked, "How can you send someone off when you're already drunk?" Su-jai was stunned and said, "Yeah, how can you send me off when you're already drunk? Don't send me off, I'll take a taxi back." Su Ryukshuan said, "How can that be possible? Butler, please send Su-jai off." The old housekeeper came over immediately and said, "Mr. Su, I'll take you back." Chu-ji looked at the old butler who suddenly appeared and was a little confused. When did he come back? Shouldn't he be in the villa at Shanshui Manor? Su Ryukshuan smiled. Of course, she was the one who called the person back. She would definitely not give Chu-ji an excuse to leave today. And Chu-ji was drunk. Chu-ji didn't notice that Su Ryukshuan was looking at him with somewhat fiery eyes. Chu-ji wanted to send Su-jai off, but when Su-jai saw the old housekeeper driving out in a sedan, he pushed Chu-ji back into the house. "We are brothers, don't disturb me while I am riding in a sports car." Chu-ji rolled his eyes. Seeing Su-jai leave, Chu-ji also returned to the villa. He sat on the sofa and felt a little dizzy. "Brother, are you okay? You have been unable to drink since you were a child. I remember you could get drunk even after drinking fruit wine. It seems that you still can't do it now." Chuji said speechlessly, "You only know how to expose my shortcomings." That's right, Chuji has a good memory, and his rationality can definitely suppress his emotions. But the downside is that he is really not good at drinking. Once he drinks, he will quickly become drowsy. He doesn't remember things that others remember after drinking. This is what they call there is gain and loss. Chuji couldn't hold on any longer, so he went upstairs to wash up and fell asleep. Chu Zu and Su Ryukshuan were talking in the living room, but Chu Zu clearly felt that Su Ryukshuan was a little absent-minded, and her eyes kept glancing upstairs from time to time. Chu Zu laughed secretly in her heart. She then said, "Sister-in-law, you should go up and have a rest too. My brother is drunk and can't sleep well. You should keep an eye on him or he will definitely fall to the ground." Su Ryukshuan's face flushed slightly, but she did not refuse. She stood up and said, "Okay, then I'll go upstairs to see him and won't accompany you." Chu Zu said, "No need to accompany me. I want to watch TV here for a while longer." Su Ryukshuan nodded and walked upstairs, feeling a little excited. She quietly pushed open the door of Chu Ji's room, and sure enough, Chu Ji was sleeping soundly as usual. Su Ryukshuan quietly snuggled into Chu Ji's arms, just like she had done in the past few times. Chu Ji subconsciously hugged the person in his arms tightly, as if he was hugging a big pillow. Su Ryukshuan felt Chu Ji's embrace and smelled Chu Ji's scent, and she soon fell asleep. She hadn't slept so soundly in a long time. Chapter 86, Please Him. The next day, Chu Ji opened his eyes early. He looked suspiciously at the seat next to him, where he could smell a faint fragrance. "It's the smell of Su Ryukshuan." Chu Ji frowned, then felt relieved when he thought that this was Su Ryukshuan's room. When Chu Ji got up and walked out, he heard the voices of Su Ryukshuan and Chu Zu talking and laughing in the living room. When he came into the living room, he met Su Ryukshuan's eyes. Chu Ji was a little stunned. Su Ryukshuan looked radiant today, like a different person compared to yesterday. "You're awake, hurry up and have breakfast. I know you've been very busy lately," Su Ryukshuan said. Chu Ji was in a trance for a moment. Su Ryukshuan's words sounded like the tone of a wife talking to her husband. Chu Ji looked at Chu Zu. Su Ryukshuan said, "Don't worry, Chu Zu, I will take Chu Zu out for a walk later." Chu Ji said, "This is too much trouble for you, I'd better take her away." Chu Zu rolled her eyes and said, "I'm not following you, I'm following my sister-in-law. Sister-in-law, am I a nuisance?" Su Ryukshuan said, "Of course not, this is your home from now on, and the room you live in is yours." "Real?" "Of course," Su Ryukshuan said. Chu Ji frowned and sneered, "No." Chu Zu looked at Chu Ji and asked, "Why, you dislike me?" Chu Ji rubbed his forehead speechlessly. "Chu Zu, stop making trouble. You have disturbed President Su for a whole day. President Su is very busy every day. How can he have time to accompany you?" "I have," Su Ryukshuan said. Chu Ji said, "It doesn't matter if you have one. Zu, be obedient and follow me. I will find you a place to live that is closer to the school you are transferring to and convenient for you to study. If you fail to get into Jinghai University next year, I'll see what you'll do." Seeing that Chu Ji was really angry, Chu Zu had to leave reluctantly. Chu Zu snorted coldly and strode out the door. Su Ryukshuan wanted to say something, but Chu Ji spoke first. "Boss Su, I'm really sorry my sister is not sensible. I will find a chance to tell her about our situation." Watching Chu Ji leave, Su Ryukshuan suddenly smashed the teacup on the table to pieces. The old butler walked in at this time, shook his head slightly and sighed. "I thought their relationship had improved, but now it seems to be still the same as before. Miss, my uncle's birthday seems to be coming soon. Why don't you prepare a gift for him? Also, since your uncle's sister has a good impression of you, you can ask your uncle's sister to help you out. As long as you are willing to work hard, there will always be a turning point." Su Ryukshuan was slightly stunned. "Will this work?" "Miss, there is a saying that goes, if a man pursues a woman, there is a mountain between them. If a woman pursues a man, there is only a layer of gauze between them. Miss is so beautiful, I don't believe that my husband won't be moved. The reason why the uncle and you have a rift is nothing but some misunderstandings. As long as you clarify these misunderstandings and work harder, it won't be a problem to win the uncle back." Su Ryukshuan's eyes lit up. "Okay, let's do it." Chu Zu looked at Chu Ji on the road and said, "Tell me, what's going on between you and your sister-in-law?" Chu Ji asked, "What's going on? Are you and your sister-in-law divorced? I want to tell Dad." Chu Zu took out her cell phone. "No, don't talk nonsense. President Sue is very busy every day. If you live with her, she will have to distract herself from taking care of you. It's not appropriate. You don't live there. You and your sister-in-law are separated. Are you having a conflict? Chu Ji didn't say anything. Chu Zhu suddenly realized that she had felt there was a problem from the beginning. And after all this time, they had a conflict and separated. Brother, this separation is a big deal. If something goes wrong, you will get divorced. Whose fault is it? Is it your fault? So it's my sister-in-law's fault. Brother, if it's not a fundamental sexual issue, you shouldn't be so petty. Chu Ji was speechless and said, "Why do you think so much every day?" Chu Zhu said, "I'm not a child anymore. I know everything I need to know." Chu Ji brought Chu Zhu to where he lived. Let her live in her own room for the time being, and Chu Ji plans to move back to school. Then you can have time to look at houses and see if you can pay a down payment to buy one. Try to buy the house before Chu Zhu starts school. When Chu Zhu arrived at Chu Ji's residence, she saw Su Wan, who had just woken up. "Sister-in-law Su Wan." Chu Zhu stared, then turned her head and looked at Chu Ji with a weird look. "Brother, you turned out to be a big scumbag. You are finished. You are really finished." Chu Ji was speechless. "What do you mean I'm done? You actually live with sister-in-law Su Wan. No wonder you don't live with sister-in-law Ryu Xian. It seems that you have fallen in love with someone else. No, you are greedy and want to swallow an elephant." Chu Ji said, Okay, please stop talking. Su Wan is my business partner. Not only does Su Wan live here, but there is also a sister Nan Shu who lives here. We are just renting together." Su Wan was so delighted when Chu Zhu called her sister-in-law that she stepped forward and hugged Chu Zhu, saying, "Why didn't you tell me you were coming so I could pick you up? No more greetings." Chu Zhu and Su Wan could actually get along well, mainly because Su Wan was approachable and gentle, which made Chu Zhu feel very comfortable. Su Wan immediately took Chu Zhu out shopping. In the evening, Chu Zhu met Nan Shu, and then gave Chu Ji a cold look. 3 women in one drama. Chu Ji soon became a nobody and couldn't get a word in. Seeing that it was almost time, Chu Ji stood up and said, "Xiaoxu, you stay in my room today, I'll go to school." Chu Ji stood up and prepared to leave. "No need, Axu lives with me and you can still live here," Su Wan said immediately. Nan Shu also said, "Yes, you can live with me. What else can we do without a place for you here?" Chu Ji said, "No, I've been preparing for graduation recently. Su Jai is back, and we haven't been together for a long time. I want to go back to school." Chu Ji walked out of the room under the resentful eyes of Su Wan and Nan Shu. Chu Zhu's eyes rolled around, and she thought to herself, "My brother is really a scumbag." Chu Zhu returned to Chu Ji's room and saw a message on her phone, which turned out to be from Su Ruoxuan. Chu Zhu thought for a while holding the phone and said, "Sister-in-law Ruoxian is legitimate after all. Should I create some opportunities for them? But sister-in-law Su Wan is not bad either, and sister Nan Shu is not bad either. Oh, it's so hard to choose." Su Ruoxuan met Chu Zhu the next day and went on a shopping spree again. Chu Zhu was so scared that she didn't dare to take it. Su Ruoxian said, "We are all family. What is there to be afraid of?" Chu Zhu took the opportunity to ask, "Sister-in-law, is it because my brother did something to offend you that you two separated?" Su Ruoxian was stunned. "Did your brother tell you this?" "He didn't say, so I guessed it. But there's no need to guess, isn't it obvious?" Chu Zhu said. Su Ruoxian said, "Actually, this matter is not your brother's fault, it's my fault, so can you help me?" Chu Zhu asked, "How can I help?" "Tell me about your brother's interests and hobbies. I want to cater to his tastes," Su Ruoxuan said. Chapter 87, Chu Ji's Hobby. Chu Zhu raised her eyebrows and said, "Sister-in-law, you are too gentle. My brother is a big scumbag. He doesn't feel any pain when he has such a beautiful woman like you." Su Ruoxuan smiled and imagined Chu Ji loving her. She felt her heart melt. Unfortunately, it was just a fantasy, but she wanted to make that scene a reality. Chu Zhu said, "Actually, my brother likes music very much. Do you know why I like guitar? It's because of my brother's influence." Su Ruoxuan's eyes lit up slightly. She really didn't know that Chu Ji had such interests and hobbies. "My brother not only plays the guitar well, but also sings well. Unfortunately." "What a pity," Su Ruoxuan asked hurriedly. "Unfortunately, my brother has never played guitar since the only guitar in our house was deliberately damaged." "Why?" "My family was poor at that time, so how could we afford to buy a guitar?" Chu Zhu couldn't help but recall her brother's pale face when his guitar was broken that day. He stood alone at the back of the stage, holding his broken guitar. The broken guitar seemed to have drained all his energy. That figure looked so helpless and lonely. He stood until late at night and missed the performance. It drizzled that day. On that rainy night, She saw her brother looking at others playing guitar and singing with envy and longing eyes. He stood in the rain and in the darkness, just watching quietly. He was soaked to the skin, but he didn't move at all. But from that day on, Chu Zhu never heard Chu Ji say anything about music again. Chu Zhu came back to her senses from her memories and felt a little depressed. Music was my brother's only hobby, but it ended that summer and that night. Su Ruoxuan seemed to be able to imagine Chu Ji standing in the rain, and she felt a little stuffy in her chest. "Why did the guitar break?" she asked. Chu Zhu's face showed an angry expression when she heard this. "Because that person didn't want my brother to perform on stage. That guy deliberately broke my brother's guitar. I saw it with my own eyes. But because that person is from the city, and his family is said to be very rich, no one dares to offend him, not even the principal, so what can my brother do?" Su Ruoxian's eyes flashed with a sharp light. "What's that guy's name?" Chu Zhu shook her head. "I don't know, but I heard that his last name seems to be Zhao. No, it seems to be Zhao." What? For several days in a row, Su Ruoxuan took Chu Zhu out to play every day. Although Chu Ji knew it, he could do nothing about it. "My younger sister is grown up and not as obedient as she was when she was a child. She is difficult to control." That day, Su Ruoxuan came to a musical instrument store in a shopping mall in person. "Boss, please bring the best guitar you have here to me," Su Ruoxuan said. The shop owner's eyes lit up when he saw Su Ruoxuan. Such a beautiful woman is rare. "Ma'am, please wait a moment. I'll get you the best guitar we have," the shop owner quickly agreed. Su Ruoxuan was waiting there. Her slim figure and perfect face quickly attracted the attention of others. At this time, not far from the musical instrument store, a man with a mustache took a picture of Su Ruoxuan with his mobile phone and sent it to someone. "Zhao Han, your dream lover is in the mall now." Zhao Han looked at the graceful Su Ruoxuan on the phone, and a hint of greed flashed in his eyes. He saw the owner handing Su Ruoxuan a guitar. The next scene is Su Ruoxuan checking the guitar. The scene of her gently plucking the strings is so beautiful. Zhao Han licked his lips, and his breathing became a little rapid. But then Zhao Han became a little confused. Su Ruoxuan was not good at music, but she had made great achievements in martial arts. "Who is she buying the guitar for now?" "Zhao Han, you're doing well. You just took over a play and the other party has started preparing gifts for you." A voice came from the other end. Zhao Han's heart moved, and his eyes lit up instantly. He knew everyone around Su Ruoxuan, but it seemed that there was really no one else who liked music except himself. "Didn't you make your debut with just that guitar?" He still remembers the performance in the remote town. It was that performance that changed his destiny. He was noticed and entered Jinghai to study. The acquaintance of Su Ruoxuan was also due to guitar. It was also during his performance in the auditorium that he met Su Ruoxuan, who came to watch the performance. Now she bought a guitar. Is it to celebrate that she got a good script, a good role? This is a script that the company bought at a high price. A smile appeared on Zhao Han's lips. What? Soon Chu's birthday arrived. To be honest, Chu Ji has never celebrated his birthday before. After all, his birthday is during the summer vacation. All his classmates and friends had gone home, and he himself was not the type of person who wanted to attract rumors. So apart from the blessings from his family every year, he really didn't have a proper birthday. But now it's different. He has friends around him and business partners. Besides, my sister is here too, so it would be unreasonable if I didn't treat her to a meal. Disliking the hassle of hosting the banquet at home, Chu Ji directly booked the banquet at a restaurant. Su Wan personally greeted and booked a room at the restaurant. Chu Ji did not act pretentiously and accepted Su Wan's kindness. Although they also run a restaurant, the store is indeed a bit small. When Chu Ji arrived at the private room, he didn't expect that the entire room had been decorated with blessing slogans. Chu Zhu said, "These were all done by sister-in-law Su Wan and sister Nan Shu." Chu Zhu looked at Su Wan. He didn't know why Su Wan cared more about Chu Ji's birthday than her own sister. He took care of every detail, which made her envious and jealous. There is also Nanshu, who is no less impressive. The cakes are not bought but made by Nanshu himself. I heard that he started learning how to make cakes a month ago. Chu Zhu was dumbfounded when she found out. Just when Chu Ji and his group entered the private room, Zhao Han also came here with a group of people. It just happened to be next door to Chu Ji, and today was the day his company was holding a celebration banquet. Sitting next to Zhao Han at this time was the man with a mustache who took the photo of Su Ruoxuan in the mall. The man with the mustache said, "I didn't expect you could actually get that script. Haha, as long as you pay enough money, Nothing is impossible. I heard that you asked the guy from the Su family for 10 million this time, said the man with a mustache. Zio-hen nodded proudly. As expected, he is worthy of being your old lover. He is so good to you and gave you 10 million right away. A smile appeared on Zio-han's face. The man with the mustache curled his lips secretly when he saw this. Recently, no one was willing to ask Zio-han to film a movie without the support of the Su family. The main reason is that Zio-han has a high opinion of himself and likes to act like a big shot. After returning to Jinghai, Su Ryukshuan no longer provided Zio-han with resources. That's why Zio-han had no choice but to open his own entertainment company. But he had no money, so he could only shamelessly borrow from Su Ryukshuan. And Su Ryukshuan clearly told Zio-han that her 10 million was an investment. So in a sense, the big boss behind Zio-han's company is actually Su Ryukshuan. Even the two artists under Chuj's company who were still considered to be successful were signed by Su Ryukshuan. But this also explains a lot of things, indicating that Su Ryukshuan is still very optimistic about Zio-han. At this time, Su Ryukshuan was already driving here. Is Chapter 88 a coincidence? Chu Ji did not invite Su Ryukshuan, but don't forget that there is also Chu Zu. Chu Zu sent Su Ryukshuan her location. After Chu Zu sent the location, she came close to Chu Ji and said, "Brother, why don't you invite sister-in-law Ryukshian?" Chu Ji said, "Boss Su is too busy, why would he attend this kind of party?" Chu Zu said, "Really? But I feel that my sister-in-law still cares about you very much. She even picked a gift for you personally." Chu Ji frowned and said, "Zioxu, there is actually something I haven't told you yet." Chu Ji hesitated a little when he said this. "I don't know how you can tell that Mr. Su bought things for me, but I still have to tell you that I am not qualified enough to be valued by Mr. Su. Don't say such things in the future, so as not to cause unnecessary trouble to President Su." Chu Zu was a little dazed. She knew there was a problem between Chu Ji and Su Ryukshuan, but I didn't expect the relationship between them to be so tense. Chu Zu has been going shopping with Su Ryukshuan these days. Judging from Su Ryukshuan's attitude, she really cares about her brother. But why does my brother have such a big opinion about my sister-in-law? Hearing the tone of my brother's voice just now, I almost concluded that my sister-in-law would not celebrate his birthday. But what about those gifts? Chu Zu frowned. She felt that her brother had a prejudice against her sister-in-law. Just then, Su Ryukshuan also walked into the hotel holding a gift. Chu Zu had already told her the room number, so she went straight upstairs. Arriving at the floor, Su Ryukshuan calmed down and took a step forward. She came to the door of a room holding a gift. After looking carefully, I found that the room number was not the room where Chu Ji was. Su Ryukshuan turned around and prepared to leave. But just then the door opened, and Zio-han walked out. Looking at Su Ryukshuan in front of him, Zio-han's face suddenly showed joy. "Ryukshuan, I thought you wouldn't come, but I didn't expect you to come after all," Zio-han said in surprise. Hearing Zio-han's words, someone came out of Zio-han's private room. Seeing Su Ryukshuan, she was also surprised. "Boss Su, I didn't expect you to come in person. How can you talk like that? Don't you know what the relationship is between President Su and President Zio? How could President Su not come?" A young man looked at the gift in Su Ryukshuan's arms and exclaimed, "Oh my God, a Martin guitar. This guitar must cost hundreds of thousands." The man with a mustache looked at the guitar, then looked at Zio-han and made a tusk sound. Zio-han looked at Su Ryukshuan affectionately and said, "Ryukshuan, I didn't expect you still remember that I like guitar, thank you." Zio-han reached out to take the guitar from Su Ryukshuan's arms. Su Ryukshuan frowned and took 2 steps back to avoid Zio-han's hand. Su Ryukshuan frowned. Zio-han had indeed invited him to a party, but she didn't care. I didn't even look carefully at the message sent by the other party. I didn't expect that the other party's banquet venue was also here. Seeing Zio-han, Su Ryukshuan felt worried. She turned her head and glanced towards the next room. Zio-han was slightly stunned when he saw Su Ryukshuan dodged. "Ryukshuan," Zio-han took 2 steps forward. Su Ryukshuan said, "This guitar." Before he could finish, a voice rang out from not far away, "Sister-in-law." Su Ryukshuan turned her head and saw Chu Zu walking out of the private room next to her. She originally wanted to see if Su Ryukshuan had arrived, but she didn't expect to see this scene when she went out. Wasn't that guitar bought by Su Ryukshuan for her brother? What is going on? Why does it feel like Su Ryukshuan gave it to the person in front of me? When Su Ryukshuan saw Chu Zu coming out, her face became more and more flustered. "Aksu, I met an acquaintance here and said hello. Su Ryukshuan explained. When Chuji heard Chuzu's call, he frowned and walked out. I saw Su Ryukshuan and Zio Han sitting opposite Su Ryukshuan. Chuji was slightly stunned, then asked, Boss Su, Mr. Zio, are you celebrating anything? Zio Han looked at Chuji with disdain and said, Yes, my company was established to celebrate getting the first script. I have to thank Ryu Xian for all this. That's right, that's right. If it weren't for the 10 million yuan that President Su invested in us, how could we have gotten the script so easily? Two of our well-known artists were also signed by President Su. Zio Han's assistant spoke up at this time. Chu Zu was stunned when she heard this. As far as she knew, Su Ryukshuan didn't seem to have given her brother a penny when he started his business. It was because Su Wan supported her brother with 200,000 yuan that her brother was able to take over the store. But at this time, Su Ryukshuan gave so much support to an outsider at once. Chu Zu thought about what her brother had just said, and now she thought that it might be true. Maybe Su Ryukshuan really doesn't think that much of her brother. Chu Zu looked at the guitar, then looked away, and the smile disappeared from her face. She had always thought that the guitar was for her brother, but now it seemed not to be. Then why did she ask herself about her brother's interests and hobbies? Don't mention Chu Zu's doubts. Chu Ji was very calm at this time. He looked at Su Ryukshuan and Zio Han and said, Then we won't disturb you too. After saying that, he planned to take Chu Zu back to the house. Su Ryukshuan's eyes were flustered, and she shouted, Who said I came here to find Zio Han? I came here to find you, and this is also my gift to you. Su Ryukshuan walked quickly towards Chu Ji. Chu Ji was slightly stunned. He looked at Su Ryukshuan, who was approaching him with some suspicion. Behind Su Ryukshuan, Zio Han's face turned pale. At this moment, the man with the mustache suddenly smiled and said, Haha, is this possible? Why would Mr. Su give a guitar to someone who doesn't understand music? Zio Han's expression softened slightly when he heard this, thinking that Su Ryukshuan and Chu Ji were married after all. Su Ryukshuan felt a little embarrassed when she saw that the other party was celebrating his birthday here, and she thought it seemed reasonable to give the gift she had intended for him to him instead. Thinking of this, Zio Han pretended to be generous and said, Haha, in that case, Chu Ji, you can accept it. Just think of it as a birthday present for you. When he arrived, he heard the hotel staff say that someone was celebrating a birthday in the private room next door, but he didn't expect it was Chu Ji. Su Ryukshuan turned her head abruptly and looked at Zio Han and said in a cold voice, This is originally a gift from me to Chu Ji. Why do you need to say anything? Zio Han's face darkened when he heard this. The assistant next to him said, Mr. Zio, let's go back first. How can the other party accept the gift if you are here? Zio Han turned and entered the private room. Soon only Chu Ji and his sister and Su Ryukshuan were left in the room. As this is a guitar I personally picked for you. Do you like it? Su Ryukshuan said. Chu Ji frowned. He had never shown his love for guitar in front of Su Ryukshuan. Apart from his family, even Su Jai didn't know about his hobby, so he didn't think Su Ryukshuan would buy him a guitar. Chu Ji said, Boss Su, the gift is too expensive, I can't accept it. Su Ryukshuan looked at Chu Zu for help, hoping that Chu Zu could persuade Chu Ji. If it were not long ago, Chu Zu would have really persuaded her brother. But when she came out, she did see Su Ryukshuan seem to be giving the guitar to that person. Thinking about what her brother had just said, and hearing Su Ryukshuan's support for the other party, she really felt that her brother seemed really unimportant to Su Ryukshuan. He knew his brother's character well. Since he and Su Ryukshuan had come to this point, he must have been wronged, and the fault was probably really Su Ryukshuan's. And now it seems that Su Ryukshuan made the most fundamental mistake. Otherwise, her brother would not be so heartless. Thinking of this, Chu Zu forced a smile on her face and said, Sister-in-law, President Su, the gift is too expensive. It's really inconvenient for us to accept it. Chapter 89, Is It Impossible? Su Ryukshuan's face turned pale when she heard that. Zioxu, you should know that this gift was indeed chosen by me personally for your brother. Chu Zu was a little hesitant, because she did say that her brother liked music. Su Ryukshuan seemed to have kept it in mind as well. If it weren't for what happened just now, she would definitely find a way to make Chu Ji accept the gift. But Su Ryukshuan was able to give that man 10 million in support, but was so stingy to her brother. She didn't know who Su Ryukshuan's husband was. And the man just now called her sister-in-law Ryukshuan. And the intimate tone she used didn't sound like something an ordinary friend would say. And she could also see that the look in that man's eyes when he looked at her sister-in-law was not pure. However, his brother, as his sister-in-law's husband, showed alienation everywhere and called his sister-in-law Mr. Su. This is not the way a normal couple should get along. When Chu Zhu thought of this, she seemed to have a vague answer in her heart. Chu Ji didn't think too much and invited Su Ruoxian. Today is my birthday. Since we've met, please come in and have a drink, Su. Su Ruoxian walked into the private room. In the box, Su Wan, Nan Shu, Su Jai, and several old employees of the store were all there. In fact, Su Wan and Nan Shu heard the conversation outside just now. Even Su Jai, Boss Jiang, the barbecue chef, and others heard it, but none of them interrupted. When they saw Su Ruoxian coming in, they all smiled awkwardly. A sneer appeared on Su Wan's lips. Although she knew that Su Ruoxian's investment in Xiao Han's entertainment company was the Su family's decision, the Su family wanted to get involved in the entertainment industry. But Su Ruoxian chose Xiao Han, even though Xiao Han was also well known and was indeed suitable for investment. But she seemed to have forgotten that he and Chu Ji divorced because of Xiao Han. Couldn't he just let Su Zi do it to avoid suspicion? And Su's father doesn't like Xiao Han either. There are so many people in the entertainment industry, can't we just replace him with anyone? Even though Su Wan knew the inside story, she still felt that Su Ruoxian treated Xiao Han differently after all. If that's the case, why bother to provoke Chu Ji? The banquet became awkward because of Su Ruoxian's arrival. That's all. Soon Xiao Han walked in and sat next to Su Ruoxian casually. That position originally belonged to Chu Ji. No matter how stupid Chu Zhu was, she could see something at this time. She didn't say anything the whole time. She also wanted to question Su Ruoxian, but Chu Ji's words, Mr. Su, made her give up the idea. All the strange things were connected at this moment, as well as my brother's hesitation. They must have been divorced. She quietly asked Su Wan about the doubts in her heart. Got a positive answer. Chu Zhu finally gave up. The party ended halfway through. Chu Ji saw Su Ruoxian off, and of course, did not accept Su Ruoxian's gift, just like he didn't accept the mobile phone that Su Ruoxian bought for him. When I arrived at the hotel gate, I saw Xiao Han already waiting there. Xiao Han looked at Su Ruoxian and said, Ruoxian, I'll take you home. She looked at Chu Ji, but Chu Ji didn't show any reaction. Su Ruoxian's face was full of disappointment when she saw this. Then she looked at Xiao Han coldly and said, no need. She didn't drink alcohol but juice, so there was no issue of drunk driving. She got in the car and drove out with her foot on the accelerator. On the way, she looked at the guitar lying alone on the passenger seat, and tears rolled down Su Ruoxian's eyes. She felt there was no possibility between him and Chu Ji. On Chu Ji's side, Nan Shu drove Su Wan, Chu Ji, and others home. Chu Zhu seemed to be hesitant to speak in the car. She turned her head and looked at Chu Ji, who was sitting behind her, and said, Brother, is it because of Xiao Han that you and Mr. Su broke up? Chu Ji was stunned for a moment and said, no, it's because the gap between me and President Su is too big. I'm just a poor boy, and President Su is the president of the group. No matter how you look at it, Mr. Su and I are not suitable. We can be friends, but not husband and wife. Since Chu Zhu already knew it, there was no need for him to hide it. After all, he was ready to tell Chu Zhu about it. Chu Zhu looked at Su Wan. Su Wan was also a member of the Su family. According to her brother's wishes, she could no longer call Su Wan sister-in-law. Su Wan's expression also changed at this time. It seemed that Chu Ji's words were more for her than for Chu Zhu. Is Chu Ji trying to distance himself from her? Su Wan turned her head and looked at Chu Ji. At this time, Chu Ji's face was hidden in the darkness, and his expression could not be seen clearly. Chu Ji touched the car frame with his fingers. Look out the window. The night in Jinghai is very beautiful with bright lights and nightlife. But this is also a world where the strong prey on the weak. If you want to survive here, it's good to be ambitious. But if you are too ambitious, you will bring trouble upon yourself. The people in the Su family do not approve of him. Su Pin is an example. Although Su Zi didn't say anything harsh to him, the other party still looked down on him. In other words, most people in the Su family looked down on him. Even if Su's father wanted to cultivate him, it would still cause resentment among the Su family. Regardless of whether they have the ability or not, they will think that they have relied on Su Ruoxian to get to the top. In this situation, he could hardly take a single step in the Su family. Even if he went out on his own, he would probably be regarded as a vassal of the Su family and be sacrificed at will. So he put himself in the right position from the beginning and would never provoke Su Ruoxian. This is also the reason why he has always wanted to divorce Su Ruoxian. The same goes for Su Wan. They can be friends and partners, but they can't go any further. He Chuj has his own pride. Of course, his strong, rational thinking will always erase his unrealistic ideas. Sujai often lamented that Chuji was too rational, which was a good thing, but sometimes it was not necessarily a good thing. At least he doesn't have the unbridled youth that others have. Every step he took was calculated rationally, just like the relationship between me and Qin Wanshu. Qin Wanshu is the only person he has ever been attracted to. But when Qin Wanshu said, "He's just a friend you can talk to," he faced the reality and knew he should give up. The unrealistic idea in my mind had not yet grown and developed when it was wiped out by him that afternoon on that playground. Chapter 90, Love in the World. When Chuji returned to the dormitory, Sujai had already returned. Sujai looked at Chuji, who came in and was hesitant to speak. "What, you can't tell me what you want to say now?" Chuji asked in a relaxed tone. "I just think that Mr. Su came here today to celebrate with you. Aren't you a little too cold?" Chuji asked, "Are you sure?" Sujai was stunned for a moment and shook his head. If Zairohan wasn't there, he would be sure because the expression on Su Ruoxuan's face didn't seem fake. But since Zairohan was there and the gift he gave him was a guitar, he no longer thought so. Because in all the years he had been with Chuji, he had never heard that Chuji had any special talents in music. "Yes, you are a music idiot. Several beautiful seniors invited you to join the music club, but you rejected them all mercilessly. It's strange that you can play the guitar." Chuji touched his nose and said, "Actually, I know a little bit." What did you say? Say it again if you have the guts." Sujai's eyes widened. "I said I actually know a little bit. I'm not a music idiot," Chuji said with a smile. "Okay, you wait for me, Chuji, you wait for me." Sujai went out in a flash. Chuji was a little confused. What was going on? Were they looking for someone to beat him up? "I didn't hide it from you on purpose. Do you have to?" Chuji shouted. "As for Chuji, you're finished. You actually hid the truth from your dear roommate for 4 years. You're finished." Sujai's voice came from afar. Chuji touched his nose and asked, "Is it that serious?" After a while, Sujai came back. He was holding a guitar in his hand. "What do you want to do?" Chuji asked. "What, of course, to reveal your true identity. Pop it out. If you can't pop it out, I'll kill you," Sujai said. "Do you know how I managed to survive when you rejected those 2 seniors? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be single until now. What does it have to do with me? How is it none of your business? The seniors have already agreed that if you join the club, they will also allow me to join. Who knew you would reject me so decisively? My 4 years of happiness have been ruined in your hands." Sujai cried and wailed. Chuji's cheek twitched. He took the guitar from Sujai's hand, plucked the strings gently, and a familiar feeling from memory spread. Chuji sat down, and his thoughts seemed to go back to the past, back to the day when he met Qin Wanshu. That evening, white snow began to fall, and sadness filled the hills. A song of love in the world was softly sung by Chuji. The magnetic and clear voice slowly tells the days of believing in love. The perfect guitar playing spreads out like a pool of clear water, making people's hearts tremble slightly. Before he knew it, the entrance of Chuz's dormitory was already crowded with people. Even downstairs outside the dormitory, there were people stopping to listen. Some curious people had already recorded this scene and uploaded it to the internet. Spread quickly. Li Qing also returned to school and was lying on the bed chatting with Qin Wanshu, who was abroad. "When are you planning to come back?" Li Qing asked. Qin Wanshu on the opposite side fell into silence. Li Qing sighed and said, "Are you still concerned about that? I heard that he and the one from the Su family have divorced, being used by Zhang Heng, and then being used by the one from the Su family. I provided the Su family with marketing plans, served as a model for the Su family, and helped the Su family open up the international market, but in the end I was kicked out of the Su family. It was miserable." Qin Wanshu waited for a while and asked, "Is he okay?" Li Qing said, "Maybe any man would feel uncomfortable if he encountered such a thing. The Su family member went too far. Not only did he use him as a shield, but he also got entangled with Zairohan. You don't know, when I saw those news, I almost died of anger. Such an excellent person was treated so badly." Qin Wanshu bit her lip, and the hand holding the phone turned pale from the force. "Don't worry too much. Excellent people are excellent no matter where they are. I heard that he already owns nearly 100 chain stores. Once they are on the right track, he will have a revenue of several million per year." Qin Wanshu said with a dejected look. "Yes, he is very good. I knew it a long time ago." Li Qing sighed slightly. She had watched Chuji and Qin Wanshu from the beginning to now. To be honest, she really felt sorry. Chuji really likes Qin Wanshu. Anyone can see that. At that time, Chu Ji and Chin Wanshu went to class together, went to the library together, went to the cafeteria together, watched movies together, got caught in the rain together, and even went to see the sunrise together. Everyone thought they were a perfect couple. Until that afternoon, until that playground. Everything has changed. When she heard that Chu Ji had been standing in the playground for an entire afternoon, she didn't know what she felt. But at that time, Wan Shu said in person that they were just ordinary friends. Although she was anxious, she could do nothing. Who would have thought that all that was just a trap set by someone else? It was Zhang Heng who bribed his two roommates and started the commotion at that time. Chin Wanshu was a young girl at the age of falling in love for the first time and was a little reserved. For the sake of reserve and face, she subconsciously denied her relationship with Chu Ji. He also pushed Chu Ji away completely. Should we blame Zhang Heng? Of course we should blame him, but if Chin Wanshu had been more resolute, even just a little bit, things wouldn't have come to this. Because she could see that Chu Ji was trying his best to get closer to Chin Wanshu. Even though he already knew Chin Wanshu's family background, he still wanted to give it an effort. He overcame his inferiority complex and the strange looks others gave him, and he really tried hard to hold on to his friendship with Chin Wanshu. Unfortunately, all his enthusiasm was extinguished by Chin Wanshu's words. At that time, she saw Chu Ji's face was terribly pale, and the sadness in his eyes made her dare not look directly at him. He stretched out his hand to Chin Wanshu, but finally let it go dejectedly. Thinking about it now, she still feels a little sad. What if I had met Chu Ji in the library that day? Li Qing shook her head with a bitter smile on her face. Once missed, it's missed. There is no possibility between them. At this time, Li Qing saw someone sending her a message. She clicked it and found it was a video. A video about Chuj. Her heart was beating a little faster, and she clicked on the video. The sound of a soft guitar was heard, followed by Chu Ji's clear, gentle, and calming voice. That evening, white snow began to fall, sadness filled the hills, waiting for youth to end. The midnight movie was full of ancient love. Go, girl, go watch the red sunrise. It was the first confusion of my life. I believe in the age of love, the song I couldn't sing to you. Li Qing suddenly covered her mouth, her eyes feeling a little sore, because she found that Chu Ji was singing clearly about his past with Chin Wanshu. Chin Wanshu, who was video chatting with Li Qing, asked, "Qing, what's wrong with you?" Li Qing glanced at Chin Wanshu and said, "I have a video here. I think you should watch it." Li Qing clicked send on the video. Li Qing saw Chin Wanshu turn on the video. Then she saw the screen on the other end was shaking a little, and then the call was hung up. Li Qing put away the phone and sighed slightly. She clicked on the video again, covered her mouth, and listened to the song with tears in her eyes. Chapter 91 Zio Han is a piece of shit. Su family. An enchanting man sitting opposite Su's father was complaining at this moment. Director Su, I'm very optimistic about the script this time. There's no problem with me directing it, but based on my understanding, it's a bit of a stretch for Zio Han to play the current #1 male role. I'm not saying that Zio Han has problems with his looks or abilities, but Zio Han's temperament is a little gloomy, which is very suitable for the temperament of the second male lead, but not suitable for the first male lead. Father Su rubbed his forehead and said, "But the current situation is that our entertainment company has just been established, and apart from Zio Han, we really don't have any outstanding actors. Father Su doesn't like Zio Han either, but since he wants to enter the entertainment industry, he can't support artists signed by other companies, right?" The director on the other side was somewhat speechless. The other party was the investor, and he only had the right to make suggestions. If the other party disagreed, he could do nothing about it. What a pity for such a good script. Just then, the director's cell phone rang. The director apologized to Su's father and took the phone. "Boss, we found a great talent here. His style fits perfectly with the script you have in your hand. I've sent you the video. Take a look." An excited voice came from the other end of the line. The director hung up the phone and clicked on the video suspiciously. A handsome and sunny young man with slightly melancholy eyes appeared in front of the director. The sound of guitar started, and sincere and soul-stirring singing soon followed. The director stood up suddenly with excitement. "Yes, that's absolutely right. It's a perfect interpretation, and this song is tailor-made for this script." The director was shaking with excitement. Then he suddenly looked up at Su's father and said, "This time, this guy must play the leading male role. If he doesn't agree, I will quit my job. I will personally choose a new script for him." Father Su's eyes twitched. Are all these directors so sentimental? However, this director is indeed capable, and is his biggest bargaining chip in the entertainment industry this time. so he cannot lose it. If this person has not been signed by anyone, I can find a way, Father Su said in a deep voice. Anyway, he didn't like Zio-Han, so if there was really someone who could replace Zio-Han, even if Su Ryukshuan tried to stop him, it wouldn't stop him from getting Zio-Han out. The director was excited when he heard this. He is not an artist, so of course he has not been signed. He is still a student of Jinghai and will graduate soon. Jinghai, Father Su muttered. His daughter was Jinghai's, which made things easier. He clicked on the video pushed by the director. When he saw the person in the video, Father Su's pupils shrank. After a long time, Father Su sighed. It's my fault that I was so short-sighted. Although I had thought highly of him, it seems that I still underestimated his excellence. What a pity, what a pity. Father Su sighed. He sent the video to Su Ryukshuan and then sent a voice message. If possible, let him come back. As the head of a wealthy family, Su's father can be said to be a top tycoon. Along the way, he has seen all kinds of talents, but it can be said that there are almost no ones who have shocked him as much as Chu Ji. This is no longer something that can be described by the word talent. It is simply amazing. He has the ability, the talent, and the looks. It would be a pity if you missed him. At this time, Su Ryukshuan was sitting on the sofa in the villa, staring blankly at the guitar beside her. The old butler couldn't help but sigh. The lady put a lot of thought into Chu Ji's birthday. At least he had never seen the young lady care so much about anyone. Even when it came to Zio-Han, the young lady had never taken care of everything herself. At that time, the young lady was very good to Zio-Han, but he could see that her kindness was not the love between parents and children, but more of a gratitude and a compensation. The ladies at that time probably couldn't tell the difference between this kind of feeling and love. This time it was clearly different. The young lady was obviously attracted to Chu Ji and was deeply in love with him. But the young lady obviously still couldn't clean up the relationship between her and Zio-Han. So much so that the relationship with my brother-in-law has come to this point. It's such a pity. At this time, Su Ryukshuan's phone rang. She answered it mechanically. Ryukshuan, I'm just outside the villa. Can I go see you? I miss you a little. Zio-Han's deliberately lowered voice sounded. Zio-Han still firmly believed that Su Ryukshuan's gift this time was prepared for him. He felt that Su Ryukshuan had feelings for him. So he came. He even had a box of small umbrellas in his pocket. He felt that he would be able to win Su Ryukshuan today and completely capture her heart. Zio-Han didn't notice that Su Ryukshuan on the other end of the phone frowned, and a hint of disgust appeared in her eyes. This was the first time she had such a feeling towards Zio-Han. I don't have time to see you go away. Su Ryukshuan's voice was cold. Zio-Han was slightly stunned and asked, Ryukshuan, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere? Su Ryukshuan hung up Zio-Han's phone directly. It would be great if this call was from Chu Ji. Outside the villa, Zio-Han's face turned pale. Things seemed to be different from what he thought. Could it be that Su Ryukshuan really went to the hotel, this time to celebrate Chu Ji's birthday? No, it wouldn't. Su Ryukshuan obviously doesn't care much about Chu Ji. She didn't even support Chu Ji's entrepreneurship. It can be seen that Chu Ji is not that important in her heart. It's different if you start your own business. The other party directly invested 10 million yuan. That's 10 million yuan, which is enough for Chu Ji to open many chain stores. Thinking of this, Zio-Han felt a little more comfortable. At least he still had a certain position in her heart, which was incomparable to Chu Ji. Zio-Han thought about it and decided to go forward and ring the doorbell. But before he could go forward, a man who looked like a butler came out. The young lady said, Mr. Zio-Han, please don't come here to see the young lady again in the future, said the old butler looking at Zio-Han. Zio-Han's face froze and turned gloomy. The old butler looked at Zio-Han with some disdain. This kind of person just relied on the kindness he had shown to the young lady to make unscrupulous demands. His house and his car were all bought by the young lady. He didn't care at all about the trouble this would cause the young lady. You have to know that the lady didn't have a job at that time and only had so much pocket money every year. Even so, Zio-Han is still dissatisfied, and I don't know where his confidence comes from. Compared to Chu Ji, Zio-Han is like a piece of shit. Chapter 92, Pride and Inferiority. Zio-Han finally left unwillingly. The old housekeeper returned to the villa and said to Su Ryukshuan, Miss, I have asked Mr. Zio-Han to leave. Su Ryukshuan nodded. This is her and Chu Ji's home, and she doesn't allow Zio-Han to enter here, especially when Chu Ji is not around. Without the permission of him, the male owner, she would not allow any other men to enter here. Her eyes looked to the side. There, Chuji once sat there and concentrated on writing a plan for his chain store. Chuji looked really good when he was serious, just like when he first met him. At that time, he was sitting there reading quietly. She was fascinated by his tranquil temperament. It was that glance and that feeling that made her know that she could not let him go. She wanted to tie him to her side. She has always done this. During that period, she felt happy from the bottom of her heart every day when she thought about having such a man as her husband. At a certain moment, when Chuji called her name, she could clearly feel that Chuji had fallen in love with her. But everything was ruined by Zio-Han, who falsely accused Chuji of being a thief. Zio-Han also tried to kiss her, and although he avoided it, Chuji still saw it. She saw the dimness in Chuji's eyes. No one knew how panicked she was at that time. Everything seemed to have returned to the starting point. I thought I could still make him change his mind again, as long as he was still by my side, and we were still husband and wife. But she was wrong. Since that time, Chuji never called her name again, not even once. His heart, once moved, never moved again for her. I was so unfair to him. I protected Zio-Han. This was the greatest harm to him, right? However, one is her former lifesaver and the other is her husband. What should she do? What is the right thing to do? Su Ryukshuan reached out and touched the seat where Chuji had sat, and tears rolled down her beautiful eyes. Just then the phone lit up again, but Su Ryukshuan was too lazy to look. She got up and went into Chuji's room, hugging Chuji's quilt. The next day, Chuji got up early. He ran towards the playground. This is a habit he developed in school. When he arrived at the playground, he saw that there were already people running on the playground. The slender and plump body shows infinite vitality. Chuji had good eyesight, and he recognized the person as Li Qing at first glance. Unexpectedly, Li Qing also likes running. Chuji did not go forward to disturb him, and just ran on his own. But when Li Qing saw Chuji, she was slightly stunned, and then ran towards Chuji. "Long time no see," Li Qing said. Chuji said, "It's been a while since I last saw you. Are you doing an internship in Beijing?" Li Qing said, "Yes, I followed the school's assignment and was assigned to a different unit, but it's not bad." Chuji said, "Very good. What about you? What have you been busy with recently?" Li Qing asked. Although she knew the answer, she still asked. "I didn't leave Jinghai. I just bought the small restaurant outside our school. So whenever you go there to eat, I'll give you a 40% discount." Li Qing glanced at Chuji unhappily and said, "I thought you would give me a free meal, but it turns out you're only giving me a 40% discount." Chuji laughed and said, Free, put it all on my account." Li Qing smiled. Looking at Chuji's bright smile, Li Qing was slightly distracted. She now regretted more and more. Why didn't she follow Qin Wanshu to the library that day? After running for a while, Li Qing was already sweating. There was hair stuck to her forehead, making her look somewhat seductive. Chuji stopped and said, "Let's stop here today." Li Qing said, "I didn't expect you to have such good stamina. You've left me behind by more than 2 laps." Chuji said, "This is just the beginning. My strength has not yet exploded." Li Qing giggled, and the aura of an intellectual beauty filled the air. Li Qing had no intention of going back. She and Chuji strolled quietly outside the playground. Li Qing looked at Chuji and asked, "Have you contacted Wanshu?" Chuji was slightly stunned, then shook his head. Li Qing sighed and said, "Wanshu is still very concerned about you and asked me a lot of questions about you, I think." Chuji shook his head and interrupted Li Qing. "That's all in the past. Let's not talk about the past anymore. We should always look forward to life." Li Qing sighed when she saw this. She could tell that Chuji didn't want to talk about Qin Wanshu. That time, Wanshu really hurt him a lot. Li Qing changed the subject and said, "Do you know that you stole the show yesterday?" Chuji was stunned. Yesterday was there. Li Qing took out her cell phone and said, "Look, is this you?" Chuji turned sideways and looked at the phone in Li Qing's hand. Chuji's head was very close to Li Qing. Li Qing could clearly feel Chuji's breath. The breath fell on her, and Li Qing felt numb all over. She stood there in a daze, holding her cell phone in her hand. Li Qing didn't come back to her senses until the phone screen finished playing. She felt her face getting hot. Chuji didn't think anything of it. He just touched his nose and said, "I just sang a few lines casually. I didn't expect someone to post it online. I've never heard that you are good at music. When did you start learning it? It seems like you have been studying for several years," Li Qing asked. Chuji's eyes became deep, and his thoughts returned to the performance he had as a child. He thought of the guitar that was deliberately damaged, and also of the person who gave him a sarcastic look. Because he posed a threat to the contestant, he actually smashed his own guitar on purpose. What was even more unbelievable to him was that there were people who clearly saw it at the time, but they all remained silent because they did not dare to offend that person. He just wanted to win the award to reduce the burden on his family. Why can't you even give him such a simple hope? I still remember that when his parents found out, they actually wanted to buy him a new guitar. But even the cheapest guitar was beyond their reach at that time. He didn't want to see his father working hard for others because of him. So he said he didn't like music anymore and didn't like guitar. After that day, he never showed his love for music in front of his parents again. Li Qing looked at Chu Ji quietly. Seeing the sadness in Chu Ji's eyes, her heart trembled slightly. "I'm sorry, did it remind you of something sad?" Chu Ji said, "That's not true. These are just some things from my childhood. Playing guitar is just my hobby, that's all." Li Qing looked at Chu Ji quietly. "Is it just a hobby? Without the love for guitar, how can you play such moving music?" Thinking carefully about Chuz's 4 years of college life, it seems that Chuz spent most of his free time doing various jobs. Li Qing guessed that it wasn't that he didn't like it, but that he didn't have the time to like it, nor did he dare to like it. Thinking of this, Li Qing felt a little tight in her chest. She knew that Chu Ji was proud, but also had low self-esteem. He was so low self-esteem that he didn't dare to have hobbies or even fall in love. His feelings for Qin Wanchu may be the reason why he has all the courage to do this. Pity. Chapter 93, Su Zin comes to see you. When they reached the fork in the road, Chu Ji looked at Li Qing and said, "I'm going back. We'll talk again when we have time." Li Qing quickly said, "Okay, remember to come find me anytime." Chu Ji waved and went back to the dormitory. Li Qing looked at Chu Ji quietly until Chu Ji's back disappeared around the corner. Then she turned and left. Back in the dormitory, Su Jai looked at Chu Ji with strange eyes. Chu Ji was a little stunned and asked, "What's that look in your eyes?" Su Jai asked, "Were you running with Li Qing just now?" "Yeah, I met him on the playground. She actually ran 3 laps with you and walked so far with you," Su Jai said. Chu Ji looked at Su Jai speechlessly and said, "What do you want to say? That I have feelings for Li Qing?" "Bah, you have a heart filled with cement. It would be weird if you like Li Qing," Su Jai said. "Then what do you want to say?" Chu Ji was puzzled. "What I mean is, Li Qing seems to be interested in you," Su Jai said. Cough, cough, cough. Chu Ji almost choked to death on his own saliva. "Come on, Li Qing just said a few words to me because of my playing the guitar yesterday. Why is she interested in me?" Chu Ji said speechlessly. Su Jai scratched his head. "Really?" "Yes, it must be," said Chu Ji. Chu Ji packed up and left the school. His thesis was almost finished and he just had to wait for the defense, and then he would officially graduate. Thinking of this, he sighed a little. Fortunately, his restaurant is right here in Jinghai, so it would be nice to go to Jinghai for a visit if you want to reminisce about the past. Just as he walked out of the school gate, a white coupe drove up from a distance and stopped beside him. The car window rolled down, revealing Su Zin's face. "Miss Su Zin," Chu Ji greeted her in confusion. "Why didn't you tell me about your birthday?" Su Zin frowned and looked at Chu Ji. Chu Ji was a little confused. "I don't think I'm very familiar with her." But at this time, he still said, "The main reason is that I didn't think of what to do, so I didn't dare to alarm you." Su Zin's eyes showed an unhappy look. "You must tell me about this kind of thing in the future." Chu Ji rubbed his nose, not knowing how to answer. Su Zin tilted her head towards Chu Ji and said, "Get in the car." Chu Ji wanted to refuse and asked, "Ms. Su Zin, do you have anything to say to me?" Su Zin frowned again and said, "Get in the car. It's hard to talk here because there are so many people." Chu Ji had no choice but to open the car door and get in. The white coupe sped out at the touch of a button. Chu Ji looked at Su Zin, who was driving, and asked, "Ms. Su Zin." "Just call me Su Zin," Su Zin interrupted Chu Ji. Chu Ji said, "This is not good. Just scream when I tell you to. Are you a man?" Su Zin was a little angry. Chu Ji was speechless again. Well, it was still the same Su Zin he knew, just as mean as ever. Soon the car arrived at a residential area. The car stopped only after entering the community and arriving at the underground parking lot. Su Zin got off the car and Chu Ji followed suit. Chu Ji asked Su Zin in confusion, "Su Zin, why did you bring me here?" "I heard that you want to buy a house. I have one here and I'll sell it to you," Su Zin said. Chu Ji was stunned for a moment and asked in confusion, "How do you know I want to buy a house?" Su Zin said, "Is it hard to guess? Isn't your sister here? If you want your sister to study here, then buying a house is a must. This is a school district house. The school next door is also the best high school in Jinghai. How is it? Are you satisfied with it here?" Chu Ji said, "I am quite satisfied." Chu Ji told the truth, but he also knew that the houses here were very expensive. so he wanted to find an older neighborhood. Otherwise, even a small house would cost 1,000,000 yuan. He doesn't have that kind of money yet. Don't even think about it. Real estate here is very scarce. Even if you have money, you may not be able to buy one. You must buy one as soon as possible, otherwise admission will be a problem. Do you have time to look for one? Chuji said that he was directly controlled by Su Zin. Su Zin's lips curled up slightly. Let's go, I'll show you the house. Chuji hopes that the house is not too big, otherwise he really can't afford it. I took the elevator directly to the 20th floor. Chuji's heart sank. It didn't feel like a small house. After walking out of the elevator, Chuji was speechless. There was one apartment per elevator, and it was indeed a floor he could not afford. Chuji smiled bitterly at Su Zin and said, I'm sorry, I can't afford it. Su Zin asked, did I tell you the price and you said you couldn't afford it? How many? Come in first. Su Zin opened the door and walked in. Chuji also followed over and was a little surprised. This living room was too big. Su Zin pointed to a room next to her and said, your parents can live in this room. This room belongs to your sister. Su Zin pointed to another room. Then Su Zin brought Chuji to the other side of the living room and pointed to a room and said, this is a large suite, you live in it. Chuji was speechless. Have the rooms been assigned? Remember, this room is for you only, Su Zin emphasized again. Chuji said, Su Zin, I don't think I can even afford a room here. Let's not talk about who will live here, shall we? Su Zin said, as long as you do what I say, I will sell this house to you for 100,000 yuan. Without waiting for Chuji to ask, Su Zin said directly, I asked for this house from the Li family. I wanted to sell it to prevent the Li family from regretting it. But I'm not really selling it. Just consider it as you doing me a favor. No, 100,000 is not even enough for rent. How can I take advantage of you? Can you wait? From what I know, the admission of outsiders this year may be very strict. Can you wait? Besides, this is a mutually beneficial thing. Good for both you and me. It's a cooperation you have no reason to refuse. Chuji was silent. Seeing this, Su Zin's lips curled up slightly. Without waiting for Chuji to speak, she said directly, this matter has been decided. Now let's go to transfer the ownership. From now on, this place will be yours. Then Chuji went around and bought a large flat. I bought it for 100,000 yuan. Su Zin said that the 100,000 yuan was a deposit, and he would have to pay for it if the items were damaged. This made Chuji feel a little relieved. Otherwise, he always felt uneasy. After leaving the housing registration office, Su Zin said, move over as soon as possible. It's always inconvenient for you to live with that Nanshu. Chuji agreed with this point. Nanshu is a girl after all, and it is indeed inconvenient for her to live there all the time. Chuji said, then we should sign a contract, right? There should be a deadline, and I will move out automatically when the deadline comes. Chapter 94. Should we clarify the relationship? Chuji thought that he should first arrange for his sister's enrollment, and then find an opportunity to buy another house and move out after buying it. Su Zin said, there is no need to sign a contract between us. I have something else to do and I'm leaving first. Remember, I have conditions. You must move in as soon as possible. You can only live in the house I mentioned. After saying that, he got into the car and drove out without waiting for Chuji to say anything. Su Zin returned to the Su family villa. Su Zin's father looked at Su Zin, who came in and said, Zin, what do you think about the blind date I told you about? Su Zin frowned and said, no, I will never get married in the future, so just give up on that idea. If you think I'm in the way, I'll move out now. Su Zin's father said quickly, okay, then don't do it. Why did you rush out today? Someone saw you go to Jinghai University. Su Zin frowned and asked, you asked someone to follow me. How could it be? Su Pin saw your car and saw you driving past. There was someone in the car. Who was it? Su Zin said, you still say you didn't follow me? Humph, I'm moving out now. After saying that, Su Zin turned around and went upstairs, then came down carrying a bag. Su Zin's father was a little stunned. He scratched his head as he watched Su Zin drive away and said, why do I feel like this was premeditated? However, Su Zin has a lot of properties outside, and Su Zin's father is not afraid that she will end up on the streets. Okay, it's a good thing that you're willing to go out. Su Zin drove to the community where Chuji bought the house. Su Zin went upstairs and arrived at the 19th floor. Su Zin looked up at the roof above, and the corners of her mouth curled up in a perfect arc. Chuji then returned to his rental house. Nanshu was unhappy when she heard that Chuji was moving away. Didn't speak all day. Su Wan was not happy either. She could live anywhere she wanted in the rented house. But it's a different story when you live in the house bought by Chuji. Their relationship hasn't reached that stage yet, or to be more precise, Chu Ji's feelings for her haven't reached that stage yet. Su Wan clenched and unclenched her hands. His face looked a little ugly, and he was sweating slightly. Chu Ji seemed to have noticed something was wrong with Su Wan and asked with concern, "Su Wan, what's wrong with you? You look a little unhappy." Chu Ji subconsciously reached out and touched Su Wan's forehead. He didn't see the flash of red in Su Wan's eyes. Her eyes were full of desire as she looked at Chu Ji, the desire to possess him. She is now used to being with Chu Ji every day, and she finds it hard to accept that Chu Ji is leaving. In order to prevent her expression from being seen by others, Su Wan stood up and walked towards her room. She closed the door tightly and gasped for breath. She was afraid that she would imprison Chu Ji and keep him by her side forever. She had this impulse in her heart more than once, and she had always overcome it, but now it seemed that she could not control it. Chu Zu outside said, "Oh, I think it's good to live here. There's no need to change. I mean, I can live there when school starts. As for you, my brother, you don't have to move. There are only Su Wan and sister Nan Shu here. How can you live without a man? Let mom and dad come over when school starts, and you won't have to worry about me, so brother, don't move." Chu Ji said, "I still have to move there after all. Su Zin and I have an agreement, but I can go back and live there occasionally. It's far from the company and it's really inconvenient." Nan Shu's face looked visibly better. "That's right, I thought you didn't care about my life or death." Chu Ji said, "How could that be? But you should hurry up and find a boyfriend." Bang! Nan Shu slammed the table and turned to go into her room. Chu Ji was a little confused. "Did I say something wrong?" Chu Zu covered her mouth and laughed. She now feels that Nan Shu and her brother are a good match. They all came from poor backgrounds, were classmates, and are now struggling together. It's a perfect match. In this respect, Nan Shu has an advantage over Su Wan. Besides, looking at sister Nan Shu's figure, she must be a fertile woman and can give birth to a son. Chu Zu was fantasizing about the scene of teasing her little nephew. "It's a pity that my brother never seems to have thought about this. It's so difficult." In Su Wan's room, the madness in her eyes subsided after she heard that Chu Ji still lived here most of the time. After calming down, she opened the door and walked out. She would not waste every second with Chuj. She just wanted to keep her eyes on him. Seeing Su Wan coming out, her complexion looked much better. Chu Ji said, "Are you suffering from malnutrition recently? I will cook a good meal for you today." Su Wan looked at Chu Ji with a smile. Chu Ji didn't know that he was dancing on a tightrope at the moment, and if he wasn't careful, he would probably be swallowed by Su Wan, the beautiful snake. Zhu's building is also the tallest building in Jinghai. The housekeeper came to Zhu Wongking and said, "Miss, my uncle bought a house in Mingzhu. It was given to him by Su Zin from the Su family." "Su Zin?" Zhu Wongking's eyes flashed coldly. "Miss, this time it's my fault for being too slow. I haven't found a suitable excuse to sell the house to my uncle." "Don't blame you. All my houses are villas. I don't have an apartment like that. I should have thought of it earlier." Zhu Wongking was a little annoyed. She was very upset because her sister-in-law had to go to school, and she didn't contribute. "Miss, why don't you clarify your relationship with your brother-in-law? This way we can help your brother-in-law openly," suggested the old butler. Zhu Wongking was somewhat tempted, but after thinking about it, she shook her head and said, "No, I'm 9 years older than him. The gap is too big." The old housekeeper sighed, thinking that being older than her son-in-law was a hurdle in the young lady's heart. The young lady was too afraid that her husband would be unhappy after knowing the details. Zhu Wongking didn't think much of it at first, but now she cares more and more about Chu Ji. However, the more she cares, the less she dares to say it. She was afraid. Although Chu Ji was not that kind of person, she was still not confident. The housekeeper asked, "What should we do now, young lady?" Zhu Wongking thought for a moment and said, "Donate this year's charity donations to the school his sister attends and build a music classroom for them. Tell them that if my sister-in-law suffers any injustice, I will not agree." The butler nodded and turned to make arrangements. At this time the phone rang. "Mo Yue. Sister Chu Ji is here. He is tutoring Momo. Do you want to come back?" When Mo Yue finished saying this, Zhu Wongking had already left the room with hurried steps. Chu Ji stayed at Zhu Wongking's place again tonight. In his dream, he met Zhu Wongking again. This time was different from the past. Zhu Wongking was like a little tiger in her dream. He was chased all over the mountain. When he woke up the next day, he had a rare backache. Mo Yue looked at Chu Ji, who came out holding his waist, and asked, "What's wrong with you?" Chu Ji's face turned red. "No, nothing." He is now obsessed with this feeling, but he can't say it to others. Mo Yue covered her mouth and laughed secretly, then yawned loudly. Chu Ji asked, "Didn't you get enough rest yesterday?" Mo Yue glanced at Chu Ji with some resentment, and then said, "Yes, I sold goods until 1 in the morning yesterday." Chu Ji said, "It's very hard." Mo Yue shook her head, "I'm far behind you." Chu Ji was a little confused. What did this sentence mean? Seeing Chu Ji's eyes, it was Mo Yue's turn to blush. Chapter 95, Making a Movie. Su family. The director came over in a hurry. "Director Su, where is the person I want? It's been several days and there is no movement at all." The director was anxious. As Chu Ji's song was uploaded to the internet, the number of hits is now approaching 1 million. Talent scouts have already appeared frequently at Jinghai University. Fortunately, Chu Ji is now busy arranging admission for his younger sister. As for the chain store issue, it was already evening when I got back to school. Otherwise, it would have been blocked by someone long ago. In this situation, there has been no movement from the Su family. How can he not be anxious? Father Su also frowned and sent the video to Su Ryukshuan himself. Su Ryukshuan didn't move. Was it because she didn't want Chu Ji to enter the entertainment company and compete with Xiao Han for a position? Father Su said, "Don't worry, director, I'll ask about the situation now. 2 days, no, I'll give you a definite answer tomorrow night." The director said, "Okay, I'll wait for 1 day. Also, don't let Xiao Han harass me." The director walked away angrily. Walking out of the Su's manor, the director rubbed his forehead with a headache. He was very responsible for each of his works, and he would not allow any flaws in his works. If he didn't really like the script, he would not have served Xiao Han simply because of his arrogance. What a jerk, he really thinks he is a top celebrity. Even a top celebrity wouldn't be as arrogant as him. He is simply an idiot. At this time, the car door opened, and the assistant sat in. "Director, I just got the news that the Chin family is willing to let you direct a work. And they have already contacted Chu Ji and sent the script over. Would you like to take a look?" The assistant handed the script to the director. The director looked down. His eyes lit up slightly, and he read one page after another, his face becoming more and more excited. "Fuck this is probably tailor-made for that song, right? It's more in line with Chu Ji's temperament than the script I have in my hand. Perfect." At this time, in Chu Ji's office, Chu Ji was a little dazed when he saw Chin's mother walking in. "Aunt, why are you here?" Mother Chin looked at Chu Ji and sighed in her heart. She had also paid attention to Chu Ji's affairs. When he heard that Chu Ji's plan directly helped the Su family move up a level, he felt so upset that he couldn't express it in words. He is simply the perfect son-in-law. In terms of ability, character, appearance, and talent, they are all top choices. Even the issue of their origin is a bright spot for them, because their Chin family must recruit a live-in son-in-law. They don't dare to ask for a child from a strong family. Chu Ji's background might be discriminated against in the Su family, but it is the most valued advantage of their Chin family, or more precisely, their second branch. Unfortunately, such a perfect son-in-law was lost because of his daughter's momentary confusion. Thinking about it now, she still feels regretful. "What, not welcome?" Mother Chin looked at Chu Ji with a smile. It's true that the more the mother-in-law looks at her son-in-law, the more satisfied she is. How could that be? Chu Ji quickly invited Chin's mother to sit down. "Then make your own tea." Nan Shu looked at Chu Ji's attentiveness outside the office with some surprise in her eyes. She is Chin Wanshu's mother, and she almost became Chu Ji's mother-in-law, Yi Ayo said in Nanshu's ear at this time. Nanshu clenched his fists upon hearing this, appearing a little nervous. Yi Ayo laughed secretly when she saw this. Anyone could see what Nanshu was thinking, but Chu Ji couldn't see it, as if his heart was sealed with cement. "Don't worry, the Chin family definitely can't look for Chu Ji to be a son-in-law now. After all, Chu Ji is already married for the second time. Even if the daughter of the Chin family is worthless, she would not marry a divorced man," Yi Ayo said. Nanshu said, "You are so sure everyone knows that Chu Ji and the one from the Su family are only in formal marriage. There is no truth at all." Yi Ayo thought for a moment and said, "That seems to be the case. It is said that they have been married for more than half a year and they are sleeping in separate rooms. Tusk, is it Chuj who is not capable? If Zhu Wonking were here, she would definitely roll her eyes at Yi Ayo. He can't do it. He's as strong as an animal and you still say he can't do it." Nanshu said, "What nonsense are you talking about?" Yi Ayo said to Nanshu at this time, "Why don't you go and try it?" "Try it how?" Nanshu asked, blushing. Yi Ayo whispered in Nanshu's ear for a while. Nanshu blushed. He quickly said, "No, no, no." In the office, after Chin's mother finished sighing in her heart, she told the purpose of her visit. Chu Ji was a little surprised. Filming a movie. Yes, your image is very suitable for this casting. I came here specifically to invite you to participate in the filming of this movie, said Chin's mother. Chu Ji smiled bitterly and said, Aunt, I studied business administration at Jinghai University, not film, and I'm not an artist. Why would you let me make a movie? Mother Chin said, We at Chin's also want to enter the entertainment industry. In fact, we already have our own entertainment company, but we have never produced a decent work. We are very confident about this script this time. Don't think about rejecting it yet. I can show you the script. If you are not satisfied, it is not too late to reject it. Mother Chin took out the script and placed it on Chu Ji's desk. Chu Ji was a little hesitant. If it were anyone else, he would have refused without hesitation. But the other party was Chin Wanshu's mother. Although he knew that there was no possibility between him and Chin Wanshu was the only girl he had ever fallen in love with. He really couldn't refuse Chin's mother immediately. Since he couldn't refuse, Chu Ji could only smile bitterly and said, Okay, I can take a look at the script first. Mother Chin said, Okay, I will call you tonight. Seeing Chu Ji in a daze, Mother Chin smiled and said, Don't blame me for being anxious. You probably don't know how popular you are. Your video has already received millions of hits. There are many scouts who are looking for you. Fortunately, you haven't been back to school much these days, otherwise you would have been blocked by them long ago. Chu Ji was a little amused and confused. What was going on? Mother Chin said, Don't worry, I won't lower your price just because you are a newcomer. You have two options. One is that I will pay you directly 5 million and the other is that you get a commission. I suggest you choose the second one. Because I have confidence in this drama, your income will definitely be in the tens of millions. Chu Ji said indifferently, Aunt, I haven't told you that I want to perform yet. Mother Chin said, I believe you will be willing to participate after reading the script, so I will take the initiative to choose the second option for you. Chapter 96, Missed Opportunity. Chin's mother left. Chu Ji looked at the script on the table in confusion. At this time, Nan Shu walked in and said, The business is now on track. I will make sure nothing goes wrong with you here. If you have nothing to do, you might as well give it a try. You can earn at least 5 million. 5 million, how many chain stores can we open? With this money, I promise that Sanwei Yatang will be able to gain a firm foothold in Jinghai before the end of the year. What Nan Shu meant by standing firm on his feet was that other people would not have the confidence to attack Sanwei Yatang easily. Even if facing a wealthy and powerful family, they are capable of fighting and are not an object that can be bullied at will. This is not easy to do. Once Chu Ji has achieved this, he will be considered to have truly acquired the status of a rising star in Jinghai and will be eligible to attend the banquets of Jinghai's upper-class society. Chu Ji now owns more than 100 chain stores and a factory. But in front of the real upper-class people, they are still nothing. Chu Ji did not make a decision immediately because of Nan Shu's words. He picked up the script from the table. Su family. Father Su picked up the phone and wanted to call Su Ryuakshuan, but he called Su Wan instead. Wanner, did you know that I asked your sister to find Chu Ji to act in a movie? Ask your sister to come find Aj, Su Wan asked in a playful tone. But I didn't see your sister come here, nor did I see her call Aj. Father Su frowned. Aj, you're calling me that in a very intimate way. Su Wan's lips curled up slightly. Intimate? She didn't think so. She felt that she should call more intimately. Dad, wait a moment, I'll ask Aj when he comes back, Su Wan said. Father Su snorted coldly. He was really mad that his daughter was living with that guy and didn't even come back to live with him. Fortunately, it was just an ordinary roommate relationship. Otherwise, he would have come to the door long ago. After a while, Su Wan called and said, Aj doesn't know anything about that. It's okay, I'm hanging up. Aj, teach me how to make sweet and sour fish today. I bought some fish. After the call was hung up, Father Su's mouth twitched. His daughter actually took the initiative to learn how to cook. Oh my God, he, as a father, couldn't even see it. He was so angry. Suppressing the sour feeling in his heart, Su's father called Su Ryuakshuan. When the call was connected, Father Su said, Ryuakshuan, I know you want Zio Han to take the top position, but this is a crucial battle for our Su family to enter the entertainment industry, and I still hope you can put the overall situation first. Chu Ji is very suitable for this script in every aspect, and the director also wants Chu Ji to participate. If Chu Ji doesn't come this time, I'm afraid the director will quit. Su Ryuakshuan was a little confused. Dad, what do you mean? Father Su frowned. Didn't you read the message I sent you last time? Su Ryuakshuan asked, What information? Father Su sighed and said, Well, since you insist on choosing Zyro Han, I can't do anything about it. Father Su hung up the phone. Although Su Ryukshuan still works at Su's, she is no longer the president of Su's. But after all, she is my daughter, and I still feel a little distressed. That's why I decided to invest in the entertainment industry and give Ryukshuan an entertainment company, where she has the final say on personnel and everything. Sure enough, Su Ryukshuan still chose Zyro Han, which was within his expectations. But after all, it is Su's investment, so I still have to ask about it. He didn't believe that Su Ryukshuan didn't see his message. She was just pretending not to know. The purpose is, of course, to promote Zyro Han, and not let Chuji steal Zyro Han's limelight. In that case, I won't interfere anymore. Let Su Ryukshuan do whatever she wants from now on. I'm tired. Su Ryukshuan was a little confused when she heard her father hang up the phone. Su Zi was sitting opposite him. He was now taking over all of Su's work and preparing for his promotion to president of Su's in the future. This entertainment company incident is your chance to turn things around, so why are you giving it up? Su Ryukshuan looked at Su Zi in confusion and asked, "What do you mean by this?" Su Zi said, "My uncle asked you to contact Chu Ji. Why did you refuse? Isn't it because of Zyro Han? Giving up an excellent director like Feng for Zyro Han is not worth it." "What are you talking about? What happened to Chu Ji?" Su Ryukshuan asked angrily. Su Zi was slightly stunned. "Did you really not see the message your uncle gave you? Today, my uncle asked me to ask you about your thoughts indirectly, but I didn't expect that my uncle would call me before I could do so." Su Ryukshuan flipped through her phone and clicked on the conversation interface with her father. Sure enough, there were two unread messages. One is a video, and the other is a voice. Looking at the person in the video, Su Ryukshuan's pupils trembled slightly. She clicked on the video with trembling fingers. The sound of guitar slowly rang out along with Chu Ji's clear voice, making people's minds calm. She felt her whole body was affected by the singing, as if she had entered the world of his singing. After listening to the song, Su Ryukshuan burst into tears. Su Zi, who was watching from the side, shook his head repeatedly. He was also wondering what Su Ryukshuan's attitude towards Chu Ji was. In fact, if you really have feelings for him, why don't you take the opportunity to recruit him? You can even play the female lead. This movie will take some time to shoot. Is there any misunderstanding that can't be resolved after spending so much time together? This was Su Zi's advice to Su Ryukshuan, but of course he felt that he was being a little presumptuous. After all, this is Su Ryukshuan's personal matter. Although he is her cousin, he should not interfere too much. "I'll go find him now," Su Ryukshuan said. Just then Su Zi received a call. When he heard the content of the call, his face was slightly stunned, and then he smiled bitterly. "Ryukshuan, you don't have to go. Chuj has already agreed to go to Chin's film company to act in a movie. Also, director Feng also clearly refused to direct our play and went to Chin's company." Su Zi shook his head, not knowing what to say. A few days should be enough time for Su Ryukshuan to finish her work. It's a pity that such a good opportunity was wasted. It seems that this cousin of mine and Chu Ji are really not destined to be together. Su Ryukshuan's body swayed slightly, and she sat back in a daze. Su Zi shook his head and left Su Ryukshuan's office. It took Su Ryukshuan a long time to come back to her senses. She opened her cell phone and dialed Chu Ji's name. His finger pressed on the dial key. Chu Ji looked at the incoming call, frowned, and then hung up. Now that they are divorced, he doesn't want to have too much contact with Su Ryukshuan. When Su Ryukshuan heard the phone being hung up, she felt a little tight in her chest. His face gradually turned pale. She missed an opportunity again. Why is it really God's will? The opportunity is clearly right in front of you, right? What went wrong? Chapter 97, the heroine is Li Qing. Su Ryukshuan returned to the villa in a daze and walked into the living room. I subconsciously looked towards the sofa, but didn't see the familiar figure. I'm afraid he won't appear here again in the future. Su Ryukshuan stared at that place blankly, not moving a muscle. The old butler came over at this time and sighed helplessly. It's rare to see a young lady having someone she likes. How could it come to this? The housekeeper stepped forward and said, "Miss, you asked me to check on the person who kidnapped you that year. Now we have a clue about him. He is abroad." Su Ryukshuan came back to her senses. She had been kidnapped before, but no one in the Su family knew about it, because he was rescued not long after being kidnapped. That's right, the person who rescued her was Zyro Han. When she was in despair, he appeared. Perhaps only she knew how she felt at that time. But the information Su Wan gave her last time made her realize that the incident, or those incidents, didn't seem as simple as they seemed. Keep investigating at any cost, Su Ryukshuan said. The old butler nodded and went down to make the arrangements. However, this happened so many years ago, and it may take some time to find out the truth. Su Ryukshuan didn't eat and went upstairs to Chu Ji's room. She held Chuz's quilt in her arms and took a deep breath. Just then her phone rang, and Su Ryukshuan turned her head to look at her phone. He frowned when he saw the name. Hang up immediately. On the other end of the phone, Zio Han's face turned pale. Zio Han hasn't seen Su Ryukshuan since the celebration. Su Ryukshuan also seemed to be avoiding him, which made him very unhappy. Were all the previous guesses wrong? Su Ryukshuan no longer likes me. No, it's not possible. Why would you invest in yourself if you don't like yourself? Would you buy yourself a guitar? Zio Han still believes that the guitar was bought for her. Just when Zio Han was feeling depressed, a phone call came in. Zio Han answered the call